London time part 2. Good morning, everyone. Hope we're having a fantastic Sunday morning so far. It's going to be a great day. We have football starting in just about 40 minutes. I'm here to get us up to speed on everything we need to know for this Sunday. It's going to be a good day, guys. It's going to be fantastic day. Let me move this just a tiny bit. We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. And yeah, it's London time. Again, it's not going to be as crucial of London time as last week where Alvin Kamara was ruled out. A lot of people had him in. The start-sit decisions in this London game are pretty straightforward. We got the Giants playing the Packers. The Packers should absolutely dominate the Giants in this game. Obviously, you're starting Saquon Barkley. You pretty much can't start any other Giants player. Don't start any other Giants player not named Saquon Barkley. The receiving room for the Giants is an absolute joke right now. Without Saquon Barkley on the Giants might be the least talented NFL team we've ever seen on offense. I mean, it's actually insane how little talent they are working with in their skill positions outside of Saquon Barkley. Their top receiver today is Richie James, likely to be the top receiver today for the Giants. Obviously, that's not great, guys. That's not great. David Sills, maybe the number 2 receiver. Darius Slayton, probably number 3 receiver. I mean, it's an absolute joke what the Giants are trotting out there each and every week at this point. Happy Sunday, guys. It's London time. A lot to get through. As always, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. On the YouTube Live, you get more information than the TikTok Live. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position, and you can see all my picks against the spread, and you can see my DraftKings lineup too. It's because of injuries, bro. Yeah, I know. It is because of injuries, but that doesn't make it any less bleak for the Giants. I mean, that's just the reality they're in this week. Obviously, the injury bug has caught them yet again this season. Kadarius Toney, he hurt his other hamstring this week. He really does, at this point, look like Percy Harvin 2.0, and I mean that as a compliment in terms of his talent on the field, but also as a bad thing in terms of the injuries he's dealing with off the field. I mean, the guy just cannot get healthy. Kenny Golladay has looked like a statue when he's out there this season. He's hurt as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of injuries for the Giants, but I also don't think you can chalk it entirely up to injuries either. All right, let's get into it. So, in this game, so let's start out just really quickly because we are in London time this morning. There's a game starting in about 30 minutes. Start Saquon Barkley, bench every other Giants player. I would be starting A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones in most situations. Again, this is a very positive game script. Leonard Williams is out for the Giants. That was an unexpected out. The best defensive lineman for the Giants, or at least one of the best defensive linemen for the Giants, he's out. So that's even better for Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon, I think you can start Aaron Rodgers if you really need someone, but I don't trust Aaron Rodgers very much in fantasy. The Packers have been very run-heavy this season. The receiver I trust the most, the wide receiver I trust the most for the Packers is Romeo Doubs. I know Allen Lazard had a pretty big week last week as well, but to me, Romeo Doubs is the one that has separated himself in terms of having Aaron Rodgers' trust so far this season. So I trust him the most. I do think Allen Lazard can be played too. I wouldn't be playing any of the other Packers receivers, and I would not be playing Robert Tonyan. So there you have it. Pretty easy start-sit decisions on London time this morning. Start Saquon Barkley, start A.J. Dillon, start Aaron Jones. You can kind of consider starting Romeo Doubs and Allen Lazard, but they're definitely much riskier plays. Lamb or Olave. Are you starting London or Penny? Yeah, so I think you have to, guys, you kind of have to start Chris Olave this week. It's too good of a spot to be benching Chris Olave. And I love CeeDee Lamb as well. It's a pretty good matchup for CeeDee Lamb too. CeeDee Lamb had a really good week last week. I actually think if I pull up my wide receiver rankings really quick on the YouTube Live, again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. And on the YouTube Live, you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. And you'll see in these top 10 rankings, you won't find CeeDee Lamb and you won't find Chris Olave. And I think they're both probably top 15 this week. But guys, Chris Olave, he leads the entire NFL in air yards. There's no Michael Thomas this week. And we're still waiting on word about Jarvis Landry, who's dealing with his own injury. Sounds like he's on the right side of questionable, but we have not gotten confirmation about Jarvis Landry yet. And if he's out, I mean, Olave's in for a massive day against a really, really bad Seahawks secondary. They are still horrible. I know they had an insane win over the Lions last week, but also the Lions scored 42 points. The Lions scored 42 points. You have to be starting Alvin Kamara. You have to be starting Chris Olave this week. I don't think there's any way around it. Even CeeDee Lamb. There's only really 10 receivers I think I would be starting over Chris Olave. You can see them right here on the YouTube live. Again, link to the YouTube live right in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings every position. Cooper or Jeff Wilson? You gotta start Jeff Wilson this week. He's also in a really, really good spot. Actually, I like Jeff Wilson a lot on DraftKings this week. I feel like Jeff Wilson, for most people, the average fan, Jeff Wilson is just not a sexy name. It's not a sexy name that people are into. But Jeff Wilson, meanwhile, is getting a ton of touches on a really good run offense. We have Jeff Wilson in the WalterPicks app ranked number 10 running back this week because the volume is there and the matchup is there this week for Jeff Wilson, who's probably going to clear 15 carries again this week. So yeah, I do like Jeff Wilson a decent amount this week. I don't have him in my personal top 10 this week at the running back position because there's a lot of guys I felt like I needed to get into the top 10 at the end of the top 10 list. One of which is Dalvin Cook, who people are really starting to panic about. I don't think you can panic about Dalvin Cook, guys. Alexander Madison had 4 touches last week, and then James Robinson against the Texans. They're the dead last run defense in the NFL this season. I mean, James Robinson, I hope you're not going against him this week in fantasy. And then Jamal Williams, who's just seeing so much work behind a top 5 offensive line in the NFL, even in a somewhat difficult matchup against the Pats. I'm still, you got to start Jamal Williams. Irv Smith or Evan Ingram. This is Malik. I mean, these tight end questions, they get bleaker and bleaker every week, man. I personally would be going with Evan Ingram, though, because this Vikings-Bears game, in-division game, like every game the Bears are in, you just automatically is going to be low scoring with how their offense is operating, and their defense is actually pretty good too. What's up, Sam? Hope you're doing well, and hope everyone is ready for an amazing football Sunday. Kylo, that's the positivity we need on this live stream, man. Sunday ahead, should I do Elijah Moore, Thielen, or Romeo? I don't think I would play Romeo Doubs over Thielen or over Elijah Moore against the Giants. Elijah Moore is definitely an interesting one this week against the Dolphins. Anyone's best guess at this point who's going to lead the Jets in receiving any given week. My bet each week is going to be on Garrett Wilson because he's led the team in targets so far this season. After Garrett Wilson, I do like Elijah Moore still more than Corey Davis. Corey Davis had a fantastic week last week. And guys, the Dolphins defense hasn't been very good. So I actually am okay going with Elijah Moore over Romeo Doubs and over Adam Thielen this week. I do want to try to get to the start sit questions, by the way, that have to do with this game that's about to starting in 30 minutes. We're on London time this morning. This game's about to start 30 minutes. That's the Packers versus the Giants. I don't think there's very difficult decisions here, though. Like for this one, Ethan, pick 2, A.J. Dillon, Romeo Doubs, Deontay Johnson. I would sit Romeo Doubs in this one. I would start A.J. Dillon. This is just look at the game script for this game. The Packers are 7-point favorites, I think, in this game. Maybe it was even 10-point favorites. Let me pull this up. 8-point favorites. And I'm taking the Packers against the spread in this one. By the way, by far my worst week against the spread last week. I got 3 games right against the spread last week. I'm still over 50% because I started pretty hot against the spread, but this just goes to show how tough it is to beat the spread. I'm taking a lot more favorites this week than I did last week. I do have 3 locks against the spread this week as well. You can find all of those again for free right on the YouTube live. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio. Guys, if you're watching live for the first time, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. And if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, I post daily TikTok content. So hit the follow button on TikTok as well. Can I trust Amon-Ra? Yeah, you can trust Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is going to play. It sounds like he's playing. I think we actually got confirmation this morning that he is playing. And it's Among Us St. Brown. Like, you got to be trusting him. This one's interesting, though. Amon-Ra St. Brown or Ramondre Stevenson, because Mondre and Damian Harris, I mean, the wheels are up for Mondre and Damian Harris. This could be their best matchup of the entire season. The Lions are just built to have massive amounts of fantasy points scored in all of their games because their offensive line is top 5 in the league, and then their defense is bottom 5 in the league. And we saw it last week against the Seahawks when they lost 45-42. I mean, absolutely insane score. They're up against Bailey Zappi today for the Patriots, 4th-round rookie, who most people, by the way, didn't think Bailey Zappi would even get drafted in the NFL draft. They thought he would go undrafted, maybe find his way onto a practice squad. Patriots used a 4th-round pick on Bailey Zappi. He looked pretty good last week. I don't have so much confidence in him, though, and it seems like the Patriots didn't have so much confidence in him last week. I know he was thrust in there sort of unexpectedly last week, so it could be different this week. But last week, the Patriots, 1st and 2nd down, every single time they were running. I think 100% of the time, 1st and 2nd down, with Zappi out there, they ran. And it could be pretty similar against a really bad Lions run defense. I actually do like Mondre a lot this week. But, I mean, benching Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a losing strategy over the last year and a half. I don't feel good about benching Amon-Ra in PPR. I don't think that's something you want to do. And the Patriots secondary is not bad, but I don't feel good about benching Amon-Ra. I think you kind of have to start Amon-Ra. I got a lot of injuries, a lot of questions. I got you, Rice. Rashad White or Dontrell Hilliard. Yeah, I'd go White. I don't feel good about Dontrell Hilliard at all. For some reason, we're getting Dontrell Hilliard questions on this live every week. I don't really get it. I don't think he should be in starting consideration in basically any situation. Schultz or Will Dissly. Yeah, I'm still going Schultz over Dissly. It's a tough matchup for Schultz and the Cowboys this week, but I still think the Cowboys could beat the Rams. That's one of my locks this week. Cowboys plus 5.5 against the Rams. But Cooper Rush undefeated. I'm not going against the undefeated Cooper Rush. They're giving him 5.5 points this week. Devontae Parker and Marcus Callaway have a good Sunday. Yeah, I'd go Parker over Callaway. Even with Bailey Zappi, there's a pretty good chance we get Devontae Parker getting at least a couple deep targets this week. I think Callaway's pretty sketch. But you gotta wait and see if Jarvis Landry's playing, because if Jarvis Landry's not playing, I think Callaway's probably a little bit better. Hey, Sam, I know you usually like Dylan a lot, but be unbiased. Dylan or Curtis Samuel. Dotson is also out. Yeah, Curtis Samuel in PPR, probably a little bit better than A.J. Dillon. Though, again, I will say, I like A.J. Dillon a lot this week. Dillon has definitely underperformed. He's been pretty disappointing. He has back-to-back games under 10 fantasy points. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1. I won't be surprised at all, though, if that changes very, very soon in the next couple of hours, because we're on London time this morning, and that game starting in just about 30 minutes. Guys, A.J. Dillon, like, the volume has still been there. He had 17 carries last week against the Pats. He's played over 50% of the snaps for the Packers each of the last 3 weeks, and those are the 3 weeks he hasn't scored a touchdown. He still had 84 yards last week against the Pats. He hasn't been great for fantasy, but this is such a good matchup. 8-point favorites against the Giants. Leonard Williams is out. The entire Giants receiving room is out. David Sills and Richie James, the top receivers for the Giants. I honestly don't know if David Sills would make some other NFL teams. Kadarius Toney out, Kenny Golladay out, Wan'Dale Robinson out. Those are the top 3 talented receivers for the Giants. Daniel Jones also dealing with an ankle injury, and I was watching the pregame show a little bit this morning as I was prepping for this live. I've been up for 3 hours, by the way, prepping for this live, and they were talking about how Daniel Jones is going to be himself today, despite the ankle injury. It's like, you can say that, but Daniel Jones has run a decent amount this season, and it's tough to believe that isn't going to slow his running down a little bit. And that's even more concerning for the Giants. Daniel Jones has the 4th most carries, the 4th most rushing attempts at the quarterback position this season. He has the 3rd most rushing yards at the QB position. He has 193 rushing yards this season, and he has an ankle injury that I am worried about for him today, too, with the rushing. So we'll see how much he's able to run on this injured ankle. But that's even more concerning for the Giants. And all the concerns for the Giants offense, the Giants defense, dealing with some injuries too. You do got to like A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones this week. But again, I'm not benching Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think Curtis Samuel is in a pretty good spot this week too without Jahan Dotson. The other guy I think is in a really good spot though without Jahan Dotson is Terry McLaurin. Guys, Scary Terry, when you dive a little bit deeper into the numbers, Scary Terry actually has about 4 times the amount of air yards as Curtis Samuel, which actually isn't that surprising when you think about how they're being used. Curtis Samuel is getting schemed a lot of touches around the line of scrimmage, which is valuable and gives him a pretty good floor. But I think Terry McLaurin's ceiling is still like astronomically higher than Curtis Samuel's ceiling. And I think we could see it this week. I really like playing Terry McLaurin in DraftKings and FanDuel this week because I think people are pretty down on Terry. But with Dotson out and the air yards Terry McLaurin's seeing, I think it's only a matter of time until we see Terry McScorin score his first TD of the season. All right, Kittle or Higbee this week. Sam, Kittle has been awful. Full PPR. Yeah, I got to be honest. You can't really be benching Tyler Higbee right now. I actually have him as my number 3 tight end heading into week 5. And actually, rest of season, we're going to be launching rest of season rankings in the WalterPicks app. Hopefully this week. If not, it's going to be the week after. But we're already building that out. And Higbee ranks as a top 5 tight end rest of season. Guys, there's not a single player in the NFL that has more receiving yards without a touchdown than Tyler Higbee. He leads the league in yards without a touchdown. He hasn't scored a TD this season, and he's still been a top 5, top 6 fantasy tight end. I mean, we've seen some really encouraging usage from Tyler Higbee. We all saw it on primetime in their last game, where it was either Cooper Kupp or Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp or Tyler Higbee. This is all that's going through Matthew Stafford's head. I actually think Allen Robinson could surprise some people today. I don't think you could start him. I do think he could surprise some people today, though. And I'm also of the belief, like, there's no way they can't change how they're using Allen Robinson throughout the season. Like, they got to give him some pre-snap motion, get a little bit more creative with Allen Robinson. I bet that's going to happen at some point this season, but maybe not this week. But yeah, guys, Tyler Higbee, He's number 5 at the tight end position in fantasy points per game, and he hasn't scored a touchdown. I mean, that is really elite right there. Usually what we're talking about with these tight ends is, are they going to fall into the end zone or are they not going to fall into the end zone? That's 90% of your tight end decisions. That's why we started Taysom Hill last week, and Taysom Hill finished as the top 15 tight end just by touching the ball only 3 times and having less than 10 total yards. Taysom Hill still finished as a top 15 tight end because that's usually what it is. Do you fall in the end zone? Do you not fall in the end zone? But with Tyler Higbee, it's not like that. And yeah, George Kittle, he's been bad. He's actually a buy low for me. I actually did trade for him in one of my leagues this week. But yeah, I'm still starting Higbee over him. And I do think Kittle will have some big games. But yeah, Kittle's floor is just worse than what we thought. All right, I will try to get to as many of these start-sit questions, especially the ones that have to do with this game that's about to start. And I'm excited for this game. I feel like these Sunday morning London games, they make this live stream fly too. I feel like last week just watching that game made it fly. Hey, Sam, how are we feeling about Dameon Pierce? I like Dameon Pierce. He's pretty much a lock at this point for 15-plus carries each week. Little concerning that it feels like at the end of games, they keep putting Rex Burkhead in. Like, they trust Rex Burkhead to seal out the end of games more than Dameon Pierce. But I also think they could get blown out in this game. One of my locks against the spread is today the Jacksonville Jaguars -7 against the Houston Texans. I really think that this game is going to shape up really, really well for James Robinson and Travis Etienne. I like Robinson a lot more, though, this week. All right, full sub to the app. Jack, thanks so much. Yeah, guys, the number one way you could possibly support me. Now, basically 95% of what I do is give away free advice, give away free content. I do this live stream every single day morning, completely free. I post daily content on TikTok, weekly content on YouTube, all completely free. Trying to help you guys dominate your trades, start decisions, and ultimately win your fantasy leagues. But the number one way you could possibly support me is just by checking out the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android app stores and subscribing to one of the premium subs in the app. Even just checking it out helps out a ton. But the subscriptions are really why I'm able to keep doing this. So, Jack, thanks so much for subscribing in the WalterPicks app. Pick 2, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Jeff Wilson, AJ Dillon. Yeah, you got to bench DJ Moore, I think, in this one. And then it's between Garrett Wilson, Jeff Wilson, AJ Dillon. I probably would say Garrett Wilson and Jeff Wilson. Go with the 2 Wilsons, or go Jeff Wilson, AJ Dillon. I don't think you can bench Jeff Wilson. The 49ers are really big favorites this week. They match up so well against the Panthers. Guys, this might be the last game for Matt Rule. I'm not going to lie. It could be that ugly for the Panthers in this game. The 49ers defensive line has been one of the best, if not the best defensive lines in the NFL. And the Panthers have been so bad against defenses this season. Their offense has just been so slow. Guys, the Carolina Panthers right now, they are on pace. I think I brought this up on the Thursday Live. They're on pace to run the fewest plays in an NFL season ever. That's how bad this offense has been and how slow they've been and how often they're going 3 and out and not even getting a single first down. The Panthers are on pace to run the fewest plays in NFL history ever. I mean, this is going back a long time to times before offenses were as efficient as they are today. So, I mean, abysmal offense for the Panthers. Really good sign last week, though, that at least the Christian McCaffrey was still able to go over 25 PPR fantasy points despite, such a horrible offense. And that's exactly why we drafted CMC. Is St. Brown playing? Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing. That's why you see the guys that I have listed out here. By the way, Jacoby Myers, he's questionable. He's the only guy I've listed out on the screenshot I have me on TikTok that is actually maybe will play. But Bailey Zappi's starting, so I feel fine just putting him in the out list. Like, don't start Jacoby Myers. And there is still a chance, I think, that he's out this week. I separated out the sections on TikTok of guys that are out versus guys that I just won't be starting. That's the second list, is guys that I just won't be starting this week. By the way, I do have 2 player props for us today because we're on London time today. So I felt like I need to give out 2 props today because we got to have some prop to root for in the Sunday morning live. And my prop I am going with today is AJ Dillon over 55.5 rushing yards. Again, I don't think this means you need to start him in every situation. Like, I would be starting Jeff Wilson, for example, over AJ Dillon, but I do think he's a really good chance to go over 55.5 rushing yards against a Giants defense without Leonard Williams. And a game that favored by 8 points. AJ Dillon's played over half the snaps 3 straight weeks. He had 17 carries last week. Guys, if AJ Dillon comes close to 17 carries this week, he's going over 55.5 rushing yards, I think, pretty easily. So that's my prop for the London game. I will have another prop later in the stream for the Sunday live, the other Sunday games. Why not start Juju? Yeah, so Juju is a guy that I feel like I've actually like defended more than most people. Like I still think Juju's a pretty good fantasy asset. My big concern with Juju this week, and I've been relatively on the money with this type of analysis so far this season. This feels like maybe I'm overreaching a tiny bit here with this analysis. So you got to take this with a grain of salt and do with it what you will. But Juju is questionable this week. He is dealing with a knee injury that he picked up on Saturday. Like this was the he was a full participant in practice all week, and then he gets downgraded to limited in the last practice of the week, like this walkthrough type practice. We saw this happen with another player earlier this season where like they got hurt during the walkthrough. Quad and hamstring. Sorry, it wasn't knee. My apologies for saying it was knee. He's questionable for week 5. Andy Reid says, I think he'll be fine. But he's also playing in the night game this week, and that adds a lot of risk to starting him in fantasy. Because if he doesn't play, you got to have a backup plan. And it's Juju's like start guy either. So any of these additional concerns, I think, is enough for me to say bench Juju. Again, a quad and hamstring injury for Juju. Pick this up on Saturday. Like he was practiced. He's a full participant in practice this week until Saturday, when a hamstring injury forced a limited session. Rest of season, I think most people, like he's been out there the most for all of the Chiefs receivers, obviously other than Travis Kelce. I think he will score touchdowns. Doesn't have a single touchdown. This season, he has 8 targets in 3 out of his 4 games. But yeah, this injury is enough for me to bench Juju this week. I'm benching Juju this week because of the hamstring quad injury and because he's on a night game. I just think there's so much there. And you can find like decent options that aren't that much different than Juju, in my opinion. All right, Jamal Williams or Mike Williams. Yeah, this is a good one here, Aaron, because we got Keenan Allen out again this week, and Jamal Williams is, again, the starting running back. You got to start Jamal, I think. You got to start Jamal. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Does Weatherman Sam need to step in today? This is a great question. Let me pull up the NFL weather report. Thank you for the gift on the TikTok Live. That's one of my favorites on the TikTok Live. I appreciate it. Why not Ayuk? Yeah, so Ayuk just hasn't been very involved in this offense since Jimmy G has taken over. It's been a lot of running, and it's been a lot of Deebo Samuel doing both the catching and the running. Brandon Ayuk, in the last few weeks, let me pull up the numbers, then we'll do the weather report for today. He had 4 targets last week, 37 yards, 7.7 fantasy points, 8 targets the week before that. That's not terrible, 12.9 points. So he hasn't had more than 40 yards in back-to-back games now with Jimmy G. He has been out there a lot. I think 49ers are going to be extremely run-heavy in a game that they're going to win pretty easily against the Carolina Panthers because their defense is going to be so dominant against the Panthers. I mean, it's going to be insane. By the way, I'm live on TikTok and YouTube. On the YouTube Live, you get a lot more info. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. You can see my picks against the spread every game, and you can see my DraftKings lineup. Let me actually pull my DraftKings lineup right now. We did cash in DraftKings last week, which was great to see. There's a couple slight misses last week that really would have made that lineup absolutely smash. But like Josh Allen, for example, I did the Josh Allen Diggs stack last week, and it didn't really end up coming through. Josh Allen had a pretty average day in his terms, but we still cashed because we did have Austin Eckler in our DraftKings lineup last week. He scored 3 TDs, so that was an absolute money call. Thank you for the first gift, Cameron. Really do appreciate that. All right, let's pull up our weather report now. So let's look at the forecast for these games. Last week, really, it was the Eagles game that had the worst weather, but nothing bad. This Giants-Packers game over in London, nothing to worry about here. 62 degrees, sunny. Doesn't look like even a single ounce of rain today, not a single game. We have 4 dome games, by the way. The Cardinals are in a dome, the Rams are in a dome, the Saints are in a dome, and the Vikings are in a dome. So 4 dome games. So obviously those you can just ignore. And then all the other games are sunny today. The fastest wind we have today is in the Chargers-Browns game, 14-mile-an-hour wind. In that game, actually, the Steelers-Bills game, it looks actually like the windiest game, 17-mile-an-hour wind in the Bills-Steelers game. Not enough for me to be concerned. It's not 25-mile-an-hour winds, which is really what we get concerned about. So there's no weather. Weatherman Sam says no weather to be concerned about today. So we can feel good about not having to deal with any horrible weather today. There's not going to be any precipitation. No precipitation in the games today. You'd love to see that. I do really like, by the way, I have my DraftKings lineup up on the YouTube Live right now. Let me just talk through it really quick for the TikTok people. You can hear it as well. So I am going with the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack again. This is a tournament lineup, so I want to call this out. Tournament head-to-head contests, you got to have completely different strategies. In tournament contests, you want to take big risks to potentially get big rewards. Like in a tournament, when you're playing against tens or maybe even hundreds of thousands of other people, you need a chance to get to first place because that's where the real money is. That's what this lineup is for. Head-to-head contest, you're trying to be as safe as possible. You just need to beat one person in a head-to-head contest. All right, so I'm stacking Josh Allen with Steph Diggs, and the one guy I'm pivoting to really, really strongly this week on DraftKings is Khalil Shakir, who is the rookie slot receiver for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are dealing with so many injuries at the pass-catching positions. Dawson Knox out this week. We also have Jamison Elite Crowder on IR. He broke his ankle. He's out for a while. Isaiah McKenzie, he's one of these guys we still haven't got a report about if he's playing or not. It seems like he's on the right side of questionable, dealing with a concussion. Sounds like he's going to get out of the concussion protocol just in time. But even still, Isaiah McKenzie hasn't played more than 53% of the snaps in a game this season. I think Khalil Shakir is going to get some run today for the Bills. He was a rookie I liked. He's very fast. He got a lot of good reviews throughout preseason and training camp. So I'm excited for Khalil Shakir today, and he's basically minimum priced on DraftKings, and you can stack him with Josh Allen. So that's what I'm going with in most of my tournament lineups today is the Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, Khalil Shakir stack. I would mix in some Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, Isaiah McKenzie stack as well. I'm going with Alvin Kamara, James Robinson at the running back spots today. Guys, I have Alvin Kamara in every single one of my DraftKings lineups today against the Seahawks. Kamara's been out the past couple of weeks, but I think he's going to come back in a massive, massive way. This week, I think you have to start Alvin Kamara in all situations, and I'm starting him in every single DraftKings lineup. I'm going with a mini stack with Rondale Moore and Dallas Goedert. AJ Green's supposed to be the top receiver alongside Marquise Brown today, but I got no faith in AJ Green at this point. Rondale Moore did play a decent amount last week. He is questionable as well with an injury, but it does sound like he's going to play. So I'm going with Rondale Moore, stacked with Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is, I think, the safest tight end on the slate this week, and he's not the highest priced tight end. And then I'm going with Chris Godwin, Cowboys defense, to wrap up my DraftKings lineup for the week. Monty, yeah, so I'm not feeling great about David Montgomery this week. I'm not feeling great about Antonio Gibson this week. David Montgomery's coming back. He is going to play this week. But Khalil Herbert's been so good in his absence that why would Khalil Herbert not be more involved this week than he usually was with David Montgomery? It could easily be a 50-50 split. I could even see a 60-40 split in favor of Khalil Herbert. And if that happens, I mean, you really needed to bench David Montgomery. So I don't feel good about David Montgomery at all this week against the Vikings. Antonio Gibson, similar situation. And I've been shouting at you guys for weeks about this. Brian Robinson is back this week, just as they've been saying all along that he could be back as soon as week 5. I mean, shout out Brian Robinson, returning from literal gunshot wounds. Really impressive stuff. Excited to see that he's able to return. It was a really scary situation for the rookie before the season, and he's back. It sounds like he's not going to play his normal allotment of snaps that he would have before this injury. But what I read was he's going to see 20 snaps, and that's 20 snaps taken directly from Antonio Gibson, if we're being honest. All those snaps are basically just lost snaps. For Antonio Gibson, he can't be trusted at this point. Guys, Antonio Gibson, he played 33% of the snaps last week, and now he's going to see 20 less snaps. I mean, he cannot be trusted. He had 16 touches last week. I think it's probably going to be closer to like 10 to 12 touches this week for Antonio Gibson, who has not scored more than 12.5 fantasy points since week 1. I think the time to trade Antonio Gibson, it's come and it's passed. Like Antonio Gibson, I think is going to be completely untrustworthy in fantasy football moving forward with Brian Robinson back. Tony Pollard, by the way, I can't trust him this week at all against the Rams, who have been so good against the run this season. I think Zeke is still startable, but Tony Pollard is really tough for me to trust. Chase Edmonds has seemingly lost the lead back role to Raheem Mostert. I think Mostert is startable. I don't think Chase Edmonds is startable. Chase Claypool looks like a shell of himself. It seems like Kenny Pickett likes George Pickens the most, and that could make sense. They got a lot of work together in the preseason with the second unit. I do like the George Pickens, Kenny Pickett connection. I mean, Chase Claypool is just not getting nearly enough deep targets to be valuable. He's really, Chase Claypool is like playing the Juju role this season for the Steelers. He's playing most of his snaps out of the slot. He's getting really shallow underneath over the middle targets that just are really unlikely to turn into big plays. So it's really tough to trust on a week basis. I already talked about why I'm not starting Juju this week. Let me actually pull this up on the YouTube live. I will get back to some of the start sits. I know we do have, since we're on London time, a game starting in just 9 minutes. Let me just really quickly run through the guys that I think you have to be starting in this game. Start Aaron Jones, 100%. Start Saquon Barkley, obviously 100%. There's an argument that Saquon Barkley, rest of season, should be the number one overall running back ranked in fantasy football. I've ranked, I think, second or third this week in my running back rankings. Let me pull those up as well on the YouTube live. Again, link to that is in the TikTok bio. Those are the two guys I think you need to start. A.J. Dillon, I think, is close to a must start in most situations. Again, my favorite prop in this game is A.J. Dillon over 55.5 rushing yards. He had 17 carries. Last week, he's played over half the snaps in 3 straight weeks for the Packers, and the Packers are 8-point favorites in this game, and I actually like that, the Packers against the spread. I think they win this game by more than 8 points. I know the Packers have been a little bit disappointing. A lot of Packers fans pretty frustrated how close that game against the Pats was last week, but guys, the Giants are pretty bad. They might be one of the worst 3-1 teams I've ever seen. The Bears, by the way, like some of these teams that the records make no sense. I mean, how are the Giants 3-1 this season? And then you go back and you look at the games the Giants have played. The Giants beat the Bears. They lost to the Cowboys. They beat the Panthers, and they beat the Titans in week 1. I mean, they have no real wins. The Titans, I guess, is a real win. The Bears, Panthers, tough to say. Those are super real wins. Then they lost to Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. I mean, shout out Cooper Rush. I'm actually taking him plus 5.5 this week, but I think the Packers are substantially better than the Giants with all the injuries the Giants have too. I mean, so bad. Rodgers or Carr, yeah, I'm definitely playing Derek Carr over Rodgers. I don't think Rodgers is a must-start player. Again, this is a game that could get really out of hand for the Giants, and if that happens, the Packers have shown that they're willing to just commit to the run, and it makes sense because they have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So it makes sense that they can commit to the run, especially in games where they have a big lead. So yeah, I'm not feeling great about Aaron Rodgers this week. He hasn't had any huge games yet this season either, so it's not like we can look back and say you had to start Aaron Rodgers any game this season. Let me pull up my QB rankings on the YouTube live. Again, link to that is in the TikTok bio, where you can just get a little bit more information on my top 10 rankings, every position, DraftKings lineup, picks against the spread, all that's on the YouTube live. Jeff Wilson or Curtis Samuel. Yeah, I like both those guys a lot this week. Jeff Wilson's really safe, guys. Jeff Wilson's my number 10 running back this week. I think you have to start Jeff Wilson over Curtis Samuel. I think you have to start Jeff Wilson over Breece Hall. Jeff Wilson is seeing a lot of touches. And again, this game against the Panthers is just such a good spot for him. Let me pull up the numbers for Jeff Wilson. Last week, he played 67% of the snaps, 18 carries, 74 yards, and a TD. And that was against the Rams, who have a really, really good run defense. I mean, so much better than the Panthers' run defense. And then you just look at the other side of the ball in this game. The Panthers' offense versus the 49ers' defense, this is a scary spot for the Panthers' offense. And Matt Rule, this could be Matt Rule's last game. I don't know if you guys saw the report this morning, but there's some chatter already that Matt Rule could be out the door as soon as this week, as soon as next week. This week might be a little early, but it's definitely possible that it's definitely possible to see Matt Rule just be out of the Panthers coaching staff. He's had 3 straight losing seasons, or this will be, I think, his 3rd straight losing season. Obviously, he hasn't had that much to work with, but after 3 years, it's tough. 3 straight losing seasons, it's tough for any coach to overcome that. All right, let's get back to some of these start sits. Allen Lazard or Gabe Davis? Yeah, 100% go Gabe Davis. James, go Gabe Davis over Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard, I know he had a really big game last week, and Gabe Davis had a really bad week, back-to-back weeks, really back-to-back weeks. Gabe Davis has let you down if you have him in fantasy. I'm definitely betting on Gabe Davis, though, to have a bounce-back spot this through all the injuries that the Bills have at the pass-catching positions. Dawson Knox is out. We have Jameson Lee Crowder is out. Isaiah McKenzie is questionable. Even Jake Kumara, who sometimes gets in when these injuries pack up, he's out as well. It's going to be Steph Diggs, Gabe Davis out there every single snap. Gabe Davis played 97% of the snaps last week for the Bills. Are we really going to bench a guy that's out there every single snap with Josh Allen? And I've been one of the biggest Gabe Davis haters. He was on my do not draft list. I don't have him in a single league. I actually did send some trades for him this week because I think he's being really slept on at this point. I know he had a really bad week last week. He had 1 catch, 13 yards. I mean, absolutely brutal. But I think he's going to bounce back against the Steelers. The Steelers have been really bad in the secondary this season. And Gabe Davis supposedly hasn't suffered any setbacks with his ankle. I know a lot of people blaming this ankle injury that he suffered back in week 2. I think he actually suffered maybe week 1. He missed week 2 with that ankle injury. But yeah, I trust Gabe Davis a lot more than the average person. I would be starting him with over Allen Lazard for sure. Hey, Sam, who should I start? Duvernay, Darnell Mooney, or Rondale Moore? Yeah, so Rashad Bateman's out. And that does make Duvernay a legitimate start consideration this week. Rondale Moore against the Eagles is definitely an interesting one too. I personally don't really think you can be trusting Darnell Mooney, he is coming off his best game of the season, though. Last week, Darnell Mooney, 94 yards, still no touchdowns. But he still only had 5 targets because the Bears still just do not throw the ball. Darnell Mooney has not ran more than 22 routes in a game this season. I mean, that is an absolute joke. He routes this season than some guys have run in like a single game. I mean, it's crazy how little the Bears are moving the ball, how little they're throwing the ball, how little they're even on the field. I mean, it's just horrible to see for fantasy purposes. I don't think you can trust Darnell Mooney still. I wouldn't let last week convince you to start Darnell Mooney this week. I don't hate Devin Duvernay. I think it's between Duvernay and Rondale Moore. I would argue Duvernay probably has a higher ceiling, but he still has a really low floor. I mean, Duvernay's still more of a special teamer, in my opinion. Last time I said that, though, Yarjma, he returned a kickoff return touchdown on the first kickoff of the game. But yeah, I think personally I'd go Rondale Moore in this one. Terry McLaurin, Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, this is another one that Terry McLaurin, guys, like he has insane upside. I think this week in a pretty good matchup against the Titans. I was pretty surprised to see that the Commanders were underdogs at home against the Titans. What is this respect that the Titans are getting? I guess people just really are down on the Commanders, but the Titans have been, I think, pretty much equally as bad. They're also without Treylon Burks in this game. I think Derrick Henry has massive upside. I actually have him as a top 3 running back. I actually think the WalterPicks app, our AI algorithm that powers the entire WalterPicks app, that's the best place you can go for your start sit decisions, by the way. It's free in the iOS and Android app store. It has Derrick Henry as the number 1 running back this week. But outside of that, I mean, I don't feel good about the Titans offense at all. And I feel like the Commanders have a little bit more firepower, honestly, in offense than the Titans do. And I think the defenses are somewhat similar. But yeah, I like Terry McLaurin a lot without Jahan Dotson. But Mondre is also really safe against the Lions. Mondre, by the way, he's played over half the snaps for the Patriots in 3 straight weeks. Some of these pseudo backup running backs, like most people think of Mondre as the backup to Damien Harris. Most people think of A.J. Dillon as the backup to Aaron Jones. And that might be true when you look at the touches. But when you look at the snaps, actually, A.J. Dillon and Ramondre Stevenson, they played over half the snaps in 3 straight weeks. I like McLaurin, though. I would go McLaurin, especially if it's a PPR league. But if you're trying to play it safe, I think Mondre is a little bit safer. Generally, though, running back's just safer. Breece Hall or David Montgomery. Yeah, I'm benching David Montgomery this week in most situations. Again, I'm nervous that Khalil Herbert's going to be more involved. It just makes so much sense for Khalil Herbert to stay involved in this offense, even despite David Montgomery, returning from his injury. David Montgomery has been a workhorse back in this offense basically the entire time he's been a part of this offense. We've never really seen David Montgomery split carries, and so this is going to be weird to see. And it might be a little for me to say that Khalil Herbert's going to be involved, but the last we heard about David Montgomery is that they were optimistic he was going to play. We still haven't got confirmation he's going to play. I do think he's going to play. It seems like he's on the right side of questionable. He did have back-to-back limited practices to close out the week, and it's a good matchup. It's not a bad matchup against the Vikings. But guys, Khalil Herbert was so good in his absence. Khalil Herbert is so obviously very talented, like on the Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard level of backup running back talented. And that's not something I say lightly. Khalil Herbert averaging 80 yards a game this season, and that includes his first 2 games where he saw he had 13 total carries in his first 2 games. He's still averaging 80 rushing yards a game. I mean, he's very good. With David Montgomery still not fully healthy, I think Herbert's still going to be involved. So yeah, I'm not trusting David Montgomery at all this week. Hey, Sam, Hollywood Brown, Garrett Wilson, or Hunter Renfrow. I would probably go with Hollywood Brown. Out of these 3, it's not a great matchup against the Eagles. The Eagles' defense has been really good. I think Hunter Renfrow is probably a little safer. Garrett Wilson, honestly, might be the best combo of safety ceiling. There's a lot of uncertainty still, though, with the Jets and Zach Wilson. Garrett Wilson did, I think, still lead the team in targets last week. I do really like Garrett Wilson, actually, against the Dolphins, too. Let me actually pull this up. I bet these guys are pretty close in my rankings. My gut says Marquise Brown, though, because he's just seen so much volume for the Cardinals, and they're going to be behind in this game. Yeah, Garrett Wilson still had a solid 6 targets last week. He only caught 2 of them. I personally would go Marquise Brown, then probably Garrett Wilson, then Hunter Renfrow. And then should I start Taysom Hill or pick someone else off waivers? Yeah, so like paper, again, this is like not the worst spot to play Taysom Hill. The Seahawks run defense has been really bad, but Alvin Kamara's back this week, which makes me pretty nervous that he's going to get any carries. He only had, I think, 3 carries. Maybe it was 5 carries last week. He had like right around 10 yards, and he did score that 1 touchdown. But I actually would be looking elsewhere from Taysom Hill this week. I don't think I think you can find better options on the waiver wire. Actually, one of my very deep waiver wire options this guy's available in 99% of leagues that I would be playing over Taysom Hill is Cade Otton. I think Cade Otton is a really good sleeper. Kyle Rudolph is out this week for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cade Otton, I think, is better than Kyle Rudolph. Cameron Brate, who's out for the Buccaneers. And last week, after the Cameron Brate injury, Cade Otton ended up playing 68% of the snaps. He ran 24 routes, 4 targets, 3 catches. He had 29 yards. He's going to play the whole game, I think, be the primary tight end pass catcher against the Falcons, who've been pretty bad against tight ends. So yeah, I do like Cade Otton a lot. I actually think the Falcons have been the second worst team against tight ends this entire season. So Cade Otton is a really good sleeper in my opinion. Sam, stats and math. What's up, Brian? Hey, Sam, pick 2, Pierce, Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown, or Scary Terry in PPR leagues. Yeah, in a PPR league, I would not be starting Pierce out of these guys. I would probably go Curtis Samuel, Scary Terry out of those 4. Godwin or Big Mike and Hunter Henry, no Jonnu Myers or the Muth, full PPR. Yeah, I would be going Godwin versus Mike is definitely a tough one for me. Let me pull up the picks against the spread one more time. Let me pull this up one more time. But yeah, I really do like Chris Godwin against the Falcons. It feels to me too like the Buccaneers are starting to revert more towards their really pass-heavy tendencies like we've seen in the past, which wasn't really the case at the start of the season, especially with all the injuries stacking up for the Buccaneers pass catchers. But they're all mostly back and healthy. Julio Jones, he's a game-time decision again. Guys, don't start Julio Jones. We've been through this so many times with Julio. He didn't look bad when he was playing last week, but the tested out pregame Julio Jones has just gone south so many times that we cannot trust a healthy Julio Jones, which makes me feel even a little bit better about Chris Godwin. He's one of my favorite DraftKings plays this week too, only 5,900 on DraftKings, absolute steal. Hunter Henry is in play. I like Cade Otton, though, more than Hunter Henry, and Cade Otton's available in most leagues. I like Muth, I think, more than both of them, though. I would probably go Muth. And I know that Jonnu Smith is out. That's definitely good for Hunter Henry, Hunter Henry's already been out there almost every single snap. There was actually a question asked to Bill Belichick after one of the games, like, why aren't you getting Hunter Henry involved? Like, why isn't Hunter Henry out there at all? And Bill Belichick was just like, that's actually just straight up false. Like, he is out there. He's out there basically every snap. And you look at the numbers and he's right. I mean, he's been out there over 70% of the snaps in 3 out of 4 games. Last week, he had a season high 83% snap share. But you can't start Hunter Henry with Bailey Zappi. Again, the Pats are going to run it first and second down every single time in this game, especially if they are able to get a lead. By the way, the Pats are favored in that game. Let me talk about the Pats game really quickly here. And this game is just starting, by the way, Packers taking the field. We're on London time this morning. So I hope that you made your start-sit decisions in this game because we're on London time. We talked through all the start-sits in that game. But the Packers are about to take the field. Hopefully we see some A.J. Dillon runs on this first drive. But yeah, this Patriots game, guys, they're favored by 3 points. Starting Bailey Zappi, a 4th-round rookie QB. He looked okay last week. Most people did think he was going to get drafted. I mean, like I can't overstate how bad Bailey Zappi might be. He could be really bad. He is the number 32 ranked QB by Walter this week. For fantasy purposes, obviously nobody thinking about starting Bailey Zappi, but he might throw the ball less than 15 times in this game. On top of that, though, the reason that the Pats are favored, because when I first saw that, I was like, wait, how are the Patriots favored in this game? I know the Lions defense has been really bad, but they're starting Bailey Zappi in this game. And then you look into it, and Dan Campbell, the head coach for the Lions, has never won a road game as a head coach. He's winless. I think he's like 0-9-1. He has one tie, I think, from last season. He's never won a road game. And so it's kind of tough to trust the Lions. I didn't take the Lions against the spread, though. They're plus 3.5. That just seems a little ridiculous to me against Bailey Zappi. But I don't think that the Lions are going to win this game. I actually think the Patriots should win this game against the Lions' abysmal defense. I've got to bring the positivity. I forgot to mention my previous question. Thielen and Elijah Moore was for PPR. Yeah, I still think I'd go Elijah Moore over Thielen. Do I start Sanders or Edmonds and Elijah Moore or McKenzie? Yeah, so we got to see if McKenzie's playing. If McKenzie's playing, I actually like him more than Elijah Moore. And then I would definitely start Sanders over Chase Edmonds. Hey, Sam, Josh Jacobs, Jeff Wilson, or Damian Harris in a full PPR league. Josh Jacobs, guys, I mean, massive week last week for Josh Jacobs. I don't feel terrible about going with him again. All 3 of these guys, though, are definitely playable this week. Wow, big catch for Randall Cobb up the middle. on 3rd and 8 for the Packers. They're into Giants territory or close to it now. I think I would lean Josh Jacobs though against the Chiefs. I like playing players in that game this week. Though Jeff Wilson and Damon Harris arguably better matchups than Josh Jacobs. So this one's really tough, honestly. But full PPR, like the pass catching work for Josh Jacobs has been so encouraging that I think you have to go with him in a PPR league. Jeff Wilson, Damon Harris probably will combine for under 2 catches today. So I do like going with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs back-to-back games with 5 catches. That's what you want to see out of your PPR running backs. Cam Akers, Duvernay, or Gallup. AJ Dillon, solid 7-yard carry there. We're on our way over 55.5 rushing yards for AJ Dillon. I think I would probably go Cam Akers over Gallup this week. Cam Akers, not a horrible spot against the Cowboys. I am excited for Gallup to be back though. Same question with Pierce instead of Harris. Yeah, I would go Harris over Pierce, I think, this week. I think the Jaguars are going to blow the doors off of the Texans, and that's not necessarily good for Dameon Pierce. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. I know there is a Sunday morning game over in London. We're on London time this morning. We've been live for about an hour already. I've been up for about 3.5 hours because I'm on London time. These Sundays when there's London games, got to make sure we get these start sits in before these games start. AJ Dillon, another solid carry. By the way, he's well on his way already to over 55.5 rushing yards. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings. Someone asking for those in the YouTube live. Again, you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position in the YouTube live. A little bit more capabilities in the YouTube live than the TikTok live. So do recommend going there. Link to that is in the TikTok bio. Should I start Khalil Herbert? No, don't start Khalil Herbert. Yes, start Chris Olave over Josh Reynolds. Amon-Ra St. Brown's supposed to be back this week. And Michael Thomas is out again this week. And Jarvis Landry still might be out. We're waiting on word from him. I've got a question here. DJ Moore, David Montgomery. Yeah, I'm going DJ Moore over David Montgomery. I don't feel good about David Montgomery at all. Amon-Ra St. Brown to Christian Kirk. That one's really tough. Christian Kirk's been so safe. I mean, to me, he's one of the safest receivers in all of fantasy right now. I do have my wide receiver rankings up right now, and I do have Christian Kirk in my top 10. I do not have Amon-Ra in my top 10 this week because he is coming off an injury. I still think he's top 15, though. I would go Kirk over Amon-Ra, though. Dobbins or Deontay Johnson? I like J.K. Dobbins a lot this week. There's no Justice Hill. Guys, Justice Hill's out. And Justice Hill's played a lot. He's played like a third of the snaps in the backfield for the Ravens. I think that's huge for J.K. Dobbins, like a massive boost for Dobbins with Justice Hill out, who's also been the most efficient running back for the Ravens. Is CMC playing? Yeah, he's playing. I've seen no reason to be concerned about CMC not playing, especially after he played well and played almost every single snap last week. Why not start Jared Goff? Jared Goff, guys, has, I don't think, ever had a good game against Bill Belichick. You can go back for a long time. Thank you for the goggles. I appreciate that. All the way back to the Super Bowl. Remember the Rams versus the Pats in that Super Bowl? Jared Goff unable to move the ball all the way back then. I have a lot of confidence in Bill Belichick and the Patriots defense to eliminate Jared Goff from this game. So I don't feel great about Goff this week. I think you can find much better options than Jared Goff. I know he's been really good in fantasy. He's actually has top 5 most passing yards in the NFL this season, but I'm not buying into that continuing against the Patriots this week. Hey, Sam, DJ Moore, David Montgomery. Yeah, I'd go DJ Moore again over David Montgomery. I would go Godwin over Dameon Pierce as well. Najee Harris or Jeff Wilson. Yeah, here we are. And this is why I was fully panicked about Najee just after week 1. I mean, Najee Harris, like you still have to start him. I mean, you just have to start him. And it's a really bad spot against the Bills. But you can't be benching Najee Harris if you have Najee Harris, I don't think. Sam, Samuel or Kamara, already down in Matt. You got to go Alvin Kamara. Dude, Alvin Kamara is going to win fantasy matchups this week. Alvin Kamara is in such a good spot against the Seahawks. Seahawks have been so bad against running backs. Actually, this is a good segue into my second prop that I'm giving out on this live stream. Already gave out one of the props, which is in this game right now, which is AJ Dillon over 55.5 rushing yards. Hope you guys all snagged that. But I also like Alvin Kamara over half a touchdown. By the way, we are 54% on the player props on this live stream so far this season. We missed on Melvin Gordon over half a TD on the Thursday night game. We haven't talked at all about the Thursday night game, and I honestly don't even think we should give that Thursday night game any more attention then we already gave it. I mean, let's just move on with our lives. Let's not talk about it at all. We all wasted maybe 4 or 5 hours of our life. I actually found it oddly entertaining. I will say those games are always like weirdly entertaining to me. Those just horrible Thursday night games, a 12-9. I mean, can't believe the Broncos lost though. Absolutely embarrassing loss for the Broncos. They did just so many asinine things at the end of that game. But yeah, I'm taking Alvin Kamara over half a touchdown today. I think like this week's Austin Eckler is going to be Alvin Kamara. Austin Eckler hadn't scored a touchdown before last week. And it was like, well, we know that's not going to be the case because he's on the Chargers and he's very, very good. And Kamara is in sort of a similar situation. Chargers offense not as quite as high powered as the Saints, but Alvin Kamara, no touchdowns this season. He's played only 2 games. And in those 2 games, he's been really bad. He scored under 15 fantasy combined points in PPR leagues this season. For context of for how bad that is for Alvin Kamara has averaged more than 17 points per game every year of his NFL career. 5 straight years, Alvin Kamara has averaged more than 17 fantasy points per game. In this season, in week 5, he's less than 15 total fantasy. It's just not going to stay like that for long. And he's back, and he's supposedly pretty healthy this week. Yeah, I'll pull up the DK lineup in a second. But and think about it too. They held him out. It seemed like they were a little cautious last week, holding Alvin Kamara out, and I'm fine with that. I would rather Alvin Kamara be back fully healthy against the Seahawks this week if I have him in fantasy. So yeah, you got to start Alvin Kamara this week. I think he could go absolutely nuts in fantasy football this week. And I'm starting him in basically all my DraftKings lineups because I really do like Alvin Kamara. Olave or Dobbins, don't bench Olave this week, guys. Do not bench Chris Olave this week. Some key recent news. Let me just catch you up with some key recent news. I think the Packers just hit a field goal. They're up 3-0. David Montgomery is going to play today. I'm not starting David Montgomery, though, in fantasy. I think Khalil Herbert's going to be very involved still. It just makes so much sense for them to continue Khalil Herbert's involvement in the offense to keep David Montgomery healthy. Herbert has been arguably better than what David Montgomery has been in their time this season. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, they're both playing. Both should be starting fantasy, even with Teddy B starting at QB for them. Teddy B also one of the better backup QBs in the NFL. Tyquan Thornton is back for the Patriots today. Hope to see him get some run. He came back pretty fast from a broken collarbone. He suffered in preseason. For those of you who don't know who Tyquan Thornton is, which is probably most of you, he's the rookie wide receiver for the Patriots. Of course, almost destined to fail because he's a rookie wide receiver for the Patriots. Julio Jones, game time decision. Amon-Ra is expected to play. I would be starting him in most situations in fantasy. Brian Robinson is playing this week. He's expected to play about 20 snaps. I think basically all 20 of those snaps are coming directly from Antonio Gibson, which makes me completely panicked about Antonio Gibson. I don't think you can trust him in fantasy this week. And then Malcolm Brown for the Rams, he was activated. Maybe that's a small ding to Cam Akers and to Darrell Henderson. Really, Darrell Henderson, though, he's just almost impossible to trust at this point in fantasy. So I don't think anyone's going to be asking Darrell Henderson start, sit. Questions, Clyde or DK? I'd go DK over Clyde. DK or Godwin? I would go Godwin over DK. Bills defense or Jags defense? Go with the Bills defense, man. We saw it. Kenny Pickett didn't look bad. Like really all three of Kenny Pickett's interceptions last week, they were not really Kenny Pickett's fault. One of them was a Hail Mary. A couple others hit off his receiver's hands. But the Bills defense is good. And Kenny Pickett, I still don't think is very good. So yeah, I do like Kenny playing the Bills defense more than the other defense you had there. Khalil Herbert or Damian Harris? Definitely Damian Harris. I'm not trusting David Montgomery this week, but I'm also not trusting Khalil Herbert very much because I think both guys are going to be splitting the work in not so exciting offense. Is CD going to play? Yeah, CD is going to play. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. If you're watching live on the YouTube live, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. We will be live right up until kickoff today. We do have a Sunday morning game going on in London right now. 3rd and 4 for the Giants is what I'm seeing on my TV screen at the moment. And I think that was 3 straight opportunities for Saquon Barkley in the first drive. I mean, that's not surprising when you look at what they have out there for the Giants, for Daniel Jones to throw the ball to. But 3 and out for the Giants. Pretty bad start. So far, we've been pretty on the money with this game, at least to start. Matthew Friedman, Jamal Williams, or James Robinson. Do not bench James Robinson this week. Let me pull up my running back rankings again, and you'll see these guys are actually back to back in my running back rankings: James Robinson, Jamal Williams, and Jamal Williams, like, he should be started, I think, in most situations, but not over James Robinson. The matchup for James Robinson, he's playing the dead last run defense in the league. The Texans' run defense is so bad, and James Robinson has been really good, averaging 4.5 yards a carry this season. And I think the Jaguars are going to beat the Texans by more than 7 points. And when that happens, we should expect 15 plus carries for James Robinson. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling good about James Robinson this week. Garrett Wilson or Robert Woods. I'd go Garrett over Robert Woods. I would go Curtis Samuel, though, over Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall or Khalil Herbert. Yeah, I'm going Breece Hall over Khalil Herbert. Jared Goff or Derek Carr. Yeah, I'm definitely going Derek Carr over Jared Goff. Najee or Penny. I'm definitely playing Najee over Penny. Don't bench Lamar for Brady. I would still play Lamar over Brady. Brandon Cooks or Garrett Wilson. That one's definitely close. I think I would probably go Garrett Wilson, though, over Brandon Cooks. London or Cooks this week, PPR. Yeah, you can't really be benching Drake Kyle Pitts. RIP Kyle Pitts, by the way. He is out this week, and that's pretty good for Drake London against the Buccaneers, who are probably going to be leading for most of that game. So I do like Drake London a lot this week. He had his worst game of the season last week, only 2 catches, but he still had 7 targets. Like, the floor for Drake London each week, even in an offense that didn't throw the ball very much last week, still 7 targets. I mean, that's pretty encouraging, I think, for Drake London. Hey, Sam, what's going on, Alex? Should I start Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, or Ramondre Stevenson? Or, sorry, Jeff Wilson or Stevenson at RB? And then Olave or St. Yeah, I'm playing Olave over St. Brown. I like St. Brown a lot, but he is coming off an injury, and Olave is leading the league in air yards. He's a really good matchup against the Seahawks, and there's no Michael Thomas, and Jarvis Landry is also questionable. So definitely start Chris Olave this week in essentially all situations. Breece Hall, Jeff Wilson, Stevenson, that one's much tougher. I'm deciding between Jeff Wilson and Stevenson, though, over Breece Hall. I like both of them more than Breece Hall. I honestly think Jeff Wilson's probably the safest guy because he's the only one in this list that isn't splitting the work in the backfield. Really good matchup against the Panthers. I don't think you can go wrong with Jeff Wilson this week. If it's PPR, though, I do think Mondre gets a slight bump. I do appreciate you guys letting me know what the scoring settings are, by the way, for these start-sit questions. Is it points per reception? Is it half points per reception? Is it no points per reception? That does definitely impact the answers to my start-sits. And by the way, if I don't get to your start-sit question, because we have a little over 1,000 people in this live across YouTube and TikTok, so I'm not going to be able to get to every start-sit question. I will get to as many as I can. But if I don't get to yours, the best place to go is the WalterPicks app. In the iOS and Android app store, it's completely free to download. I've spent the last 3 years helping build this app. It uses machine learning to help us make the most optimal start-sit decisions we can. It gives you the projected points for every player every weekend. If you are a premium subscriber, it also gives you boom and bust probabilities for each player each week. So go check that out as well if I don't get to your start-sit question. McLaurin or Montgomery? Yeah, I'm going McLaurin over Montgomery. DK or Pierce? I'd go DK over Pierce. I would play Rashad Penny over Montgomery/Herbert this week because, Rocco, like, which one is it going to be, Montgomery or Herbert, that scores the touchdown for the Bears? It's so tough to know. So I think Rashad Penny's probably a little bit safer. The Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation has been so fascinating in fantasy, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire has actually been one of my most drafted running backs in my best ball leagues. He's like making up for Kyle Pitts being my most drafted tight end in those best ball leagues. But I don't think the efficiency is going to continue for long for CEH. I'm okay playing Jeff Wilson over CEH. I sold Jamal Williams for Lazard and Lazard for Najee. Thought, yeah, Xavier, this is just an absolute dub for you because Jamal Williams, as good as he is, and Jamal Williams is my number 10 ranked running back in fantasy this week. Like, he's very good in fantasy right now, playing behind a top 3 offensive line, and he's seeing considerable touches, and he's even playable when Swift is playing. But when Swift comes back, I mean, like, think about how this trade is going to age when Swift is back. It's going to look pretty egregious, honestly, for who gave up Najee, even though I'm not a huge Najee fan. Sam, what's up? Pick 2, Alvin Kamara. Yeah, all right, we're picking 1 because you have to start Alvin Kamara, bro. You have to start Alvin Kamara this week. He's playing the Seahawks. And I know Kamara's been bad in his first 2 games, but this feels a lot like the Austin Eckler situation last week where Eckler hadn't scored a touchdown yet. But guys, it's Austin Eckler. Like, we know who Alvin Kamara is. Alvin Kamara has averaged more than 17 points per game every year in his career, 5 straight years. So you got to start Alvin Kamara. And then Christian Kirk, Waddle, Godwin need upside. If you're looking for upside, I mean, all 3 of these guys have pretty good upside. Waddle, it definitely has a lot of it. let me actually pull up my rankings here because I think Waddle, Godwin, Kirk are probably pretty close together for me. Let's see. We have I would be Christian Kirk. Yeah. Again, let me pull up the receiver rankings. I would go Christian Kirk. I have Christian Kirk ranked number 8 in my wide receiver rankings this week. Olave or McLaurin. I like both those guys a lot. I still think I like Olave more than McLaurin, though. Again, there's no Michael Thomas. There's no Michael Thomas this week. While they didn't call a face mask there, that seemed like a pretty clear face mask. To me, I think that was Romeo Doubs that kind of missed that play. But the Packers punting, they're up 3-0 in London. Pickens, Boyd, or Gallup start 1. I would probably go Pickens over Gallup, but it's certainly close. Again, guys, we are live on TikTok and on YouTube. On the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. You can see my DraftKings lineups. You can see all my picks against the spread, all 100% free on the YouTube live. Come over to the YouTube live in the TikTok bio. If you are watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers this season. We are like 75% of the way there, which is super exciting. And I do think we're going to get there this season, but we're not going to get there without all of your help. So hit the subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. Really do appreciate that. Chris Godwin or Najee PPR. Yeah, I'd go Godwin over Najee in a PPR league, though I do think Najee is probably going to be close to 20 touches today with Kenny Pickett starting. Top 10 defenses. Yeah, Jack, I don't have the defenses ranked top 10, but I do think the Bills probably the number 1 defense this week. I also really like the 49ers against the Panthers. Some deeper defenses that I love are the Cowboys against the Rams. We've seen the Rams just really struggle, have no offensive line on defense. They have no offensive line. That's very good for the Cowboys defense. I like the Cowboys as a deeper defensive play. Good morning, Sam. Bridgewater or Wentz? Yeah, this one's pretty close. I'd probably go Teddy B, though. Just look at the supporting cast for the two guys. The matchup's pretty good for both guys. But yeah, I think I would probably go Teddy B over Carson Wentz. Again, it's close, though. I think we have Carson Wentz, though. Yeah, we have Carson Wentz 6 spots behind Teddy B in the WalterPicks app. So I do think I would go with Teddy B over Carson Wentz. I mean, the offense isn't going to be that much different with Teddy B. I think they're going to get the ball into Tyreek's hands. They're going to get the ball into Jalen Waddle's hands, and that's going to be good for Teddy Bridgewater. I also think Raheem Mostert, pretty big sleeper this week. Raheem Mostert quietly is the lead back for the Dolphins. That's why Chase Edmonds cannot be started. And Raheem Mostert, I like in some DraftKings lineups, I do have him this week because this is a guy that can rip massive plays any given time he touches the ball. And last week, guys, Raheem Mostert saw like workhorse level usage. 73% snap share for Raheem Mostert. That was his highest of the season. 15 carries. That was the highest of his season. 25 routes run for Raheem Mostert and 3 targets too. I mean, that was by far his most of the season. He the workhorse back for the Dolphins last week. And if that happens again this week against the Jets, I mean, look out, guys, for Raheem Mostert. I think he's a really good sleeper this week. And I do think he's worth out there in some DraftKings FanDuel lineups as well for that reason. Terry McLaurin or Miles Sanders at flex, full PPR league. It's got to be Terry McScorin in a full PPR league. I think McLaurin is going to score his first touchdown of the season. Terry McScorin scoring his first touchdown of the season. And like you look at the air yards for Terry McLaurin and you feel pretty good about it. As bad as he's been, as disappointing as he's been, I guess bad is the wrong word. It's disappointing. So he did score a touchdown back in week 1. So it's not going to be his first TD of the season. It will be his first TD in the last 3 games. Terry McLaurin hasn't had that big blow-up game yet. He has 1 game over 100 yards, but he didn't score a touchdown in that game. But he does have at least 6 targets each of the last 3 games. And again, you look at the air yards, and he ranks 7th in the NFL in air yards. He has the 7th most air yards in the NFL. That's Terry McScorin. I think his ceiling's really, really high for that reason. Kittle or Ertz. Yeah, let me pull up my tight end rankings. The tight end decisions so bleak every week. And I don't have Kittle as a top 5 tight end this week, which feels weird, but he is number 6. I would still play him over Ertz. I still think Kittle has a really high ceiling. The floor is obviously much lower than we would want, though, for George Kittle. But, yeah, I still think the ceiling's really high. I'm not benching Alvin Kamara this week. I refuse to bench Alvin Kamara. I'm not benching him this week. And I would advise you guys all to do the same thing. You want Alvin Kamara in your lineups against the Seahawks. And I like Chris Godwin, but, yes, this one's not that close. Jeff Wilson or Najee in PPR. It's so difficult to bench Najee Harris, who's a first-round pick in basically every single fantasy draft. But I'm okay starting Jeff Wilson over Najee Harris. Jeff Wilson has a really good matchup against the Panthers. Najee Harris is a pretty bad matchup against the Bills. I think the 49ers defense is going to wreak havoc on the Panthers offense too. So yeah, I do not mind playing Jeff Wilson over Najee Harris. Full PPR, Drake London or Curtis Samuel. I would go Drake London over Curtis Samuel. With no Kyle Pitts against the Buccaneers, I mean, Drake London easily could go for 100 yards today, easily could score a touchdown today. Curtis Samuel is more of a safety play. Again, Curtis Samuel, like he's seeing a lot of volume, but most of his touches are coming close to the line of scrimmage. I was saying, we were just talking about Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin has almost 4 times the air yards of Curtis Samuel. I mean, that just shows you so clearly the differences in their roles. I think that was a false start for the Giants, 3rd and 13 now. I don't think they've gotten a first down yet, though I have been pretty focused on the live. Higbee or Kittle? Yeah, I'm benching Kittle for Higbee. I have Higbee as my number 3 tight end. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position, all my picks against the spread, and my DraftKings lineup all on the YouTube live. And you can see right now my tight end rankings scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I have Higbee as my number 3 tight end. It goes Kelsey, Andrews, Higbee. And it's because Tyler Higbee, guys, has the most yards in the NFL. This includes receivers, by the way. Tyler Higbee is the most yards in the NFL without a touchdown. He doesn't have a touchdown this season, and he's still the number 5 tight end in fantasy football. I mean, that is really impressive. I mean, extremely impressive when you really think about how bleak tight ends have been and how much you're just praying for tight ends to fall in the end zone. You don't need Tyler Higbee to fall in the end zone for him to be a top 10 tight end. You don't even need him to fall in the end zone for him to be a top 5 tight end. And then he's going to fall in the end zone eventually, guys. And when he does, he's probably going to be a top 3 tight end that week. That's why I have him ranked as my number 3 tight end in fantasy football this week. I think you pretty much have to start Higbee in all situations. Higbee's in such a good spot. Connor or Brees, full PPR. Yeah, James Conner, man. Can we trust James Conner at all this week? Probably not. James Conner has been a shell of his former self. He's been impossible to trust in fantasy football this season. His best game of the season came back in week 1. In that game, he only had 55 yards. He did score a touchdown. News for James Conner is he has been relatively involved in the receiving game. He has at least 3 targets in all 4 of his games. This season, he's still playing the bulk of the snaps. He's still seeing likely over 10 carries in this game, but he doesn't have this massive upside. Like, he hasn't scored over 20 points in a game this season, and I don't know if we'll see him score over 20 points in a game this season with the lack of explosiveness we've seen from James Conner. So, yeah, I don't think I would start James Conner in that one. I would play Mondre Stevenson this week. And I would start Jamal Williams over Najee. I would start Jeff Wilson over Najee. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, link is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 running backs. This week's just scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And 2 of them are playing right now. That's Christian McCaffrey. Sorry, that's Saquon Barkley and Aaron Jones. But actually, I don't think I had Aaron Jones in the top 10 this week. I did have Jamal Williams in the top 10. Olave or London PPR, you got to start Olave this week, guys. You got to start Chris Olave. Elijah Moore or Travis Etienne. I'd go Elijah Moore over Etienne. It's a good spot for Etienne. Again, the Texans' dead last run defense, but I think that suits James Robinson more than it suits Travis Etienne. I would probably play Etienne over Khalil Herbert, though. I'm like, as much as I'm nervous about David Montgomery, I mean, you cannot start Khalil Herbert with David Montgomery returning. Jeff Wilson or Brees, I'd go Jeff Wilson over Brees. Gibson or Herbert. Yeah, these are 2 guys that, Elijah, you just can't really be starting, but I would go Gibson over Khalil Herbert this week with David Montgomery returning. Guys, there's a chance Khalil Herbert touches the ball less than 10 times in this game, and so you just can't be starting him. Good morning, Sam. How are we doing, Adam? Good morning. It honestly doesn't even feel like morning to me anymore. I know it is morning because I'm on London time today. I was up 3 hours ago prepping for this live stream, making sure we had all the start sits ready for this Giants-Packers game. Pretty easy decisions, honestly, in this Packers-Giants game. But still, we are in London time. Juju, Josh Palmer, Josh Reynolds at flex. Yeah, so Juju is one of these guys that I'm pretty nervous about this week. But in this one, like, I'm okay still going with Juju. And the reason I'm nervous about Juju, he picked up an injury on Saturday. And Saturday is usually the walkthrough day, which is even more concerning when guys pick up injuries. And he's on my must-bench list this week. But, yeah, I'm not starting him. I'm not benching him for Josh Reynolds. Definitely not. With Amon-Ra St. Brown back, you cannot be starting Josh Reynolds, guys. Don't start Goff. Why? So Goff has a really, really bad history against Bill Belichick. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see. Goff has faced Belichick's Patriots 3 times during his career, including the 13-3 performance. They lost. They scored 3 points in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Against the Pats, he has completed 49 passes on 95 attempts, touchdowns, 4 interceptions in those matchups, and he's been sacked 9 times. He's been horrible against Bill. Clearly, Bill has something on Jared Goff, and then on top of that, I don't have faith in this Lions offense against the Patriots passing the ball. I think running the ball they can do really well. I'm pretty nervous though for Jared Goff passing the ball against the Pats, and I think that's part of the reason the Pats are favored in this game. And then again, you look into the numbers, and Dan Campbell, he's never won a road game either. I don't have very much confidence in them being able to scheme well for Jared Goff today. Why Montgomery? It's because Khalil Herbert's been so good in his absence. Khalil Herbert, despite not starting either the first 2 weeks, despite not seeing even more than 12 touches either the first 2 weeks, he's averaging 80 rushing yards a game. That's how good Khalil Herbert's been in his 2 starts. And yeah, I think that with David Montgomery returning from an injury, it just makes so much sense for Khalil Herbert to stay involved. He's been so good. Why would they not try to keep David Montgomery healthy? Should I play Higbee or Hawkinson together, or just one with Devontae Smith at flex? Yeah, bench TJ Hawkinson. Don't play 2 tight ends. We go through this every week. Fantasy football is hard enough, man. Don't make it harder by starting 2 tight ends. Tight ends are so brutal, and I know Hawkinson's coming off a massive game. I mean, huge game for Hawkinson. Best game of his career for TJ Hawkinson. We didn't even know before that week that Hawkinson could have a game like that. 40 points last week for TJ Hawkinson, number 1 tight end. He was probably top 10 fantasy player, period. Top 5 probably last week with 40 points. But yeah, I'm not starting Hawkinson this week over a receiver. I'm just not starting tight ends over receivers. Do I trade Pitts for an early mid-2023 first-round pick? Is that I'm assuming that's dynasty. If that's dynasty, you can't be trading Pitts for that, I don't think. GM Sam, pick 2, James Robinson, Pierce, Cook, or Mixon. Good morning. How we doing? I would not be benching. I don't want to bench James Robinson, but I also don't really want to bench Dalvin Cook or Joe Mixon either. I don't have Joe Mixon in my top 10, though, so I'd probably go James Robinson, Dalvin Cook in this one. Hey, Sam, pick 2, Chubb, Fournette, James Robinson, Dalvin Williams. Yeah, you can't bench Chubb. You have to play Nick Chubb, and then I think you kind of have to play Leonard Fournette also. I think that's who I'd go with. I have all 5 of these running backs, by the way, in my top 10. So good job stacking your running back group. All right, I want to go game by game really quickly through these games. Let me tell you sort of what I'm thinking. Some guys that I like, some guys that I don't like in every single game. Again, you can come to the YouTube live to see my picks against the spread. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen, I'll talk through them as well, though. I have answered a lot of start sits already on this live. I will get back to the start sits very shortly, but do want to just go game by game, talk through what I'm thinking in these games. One of the games I'm very confident about this week is the Jaguars over the Texans. Texans have been one of the worst. Lazard touchdown. I see them that they're in the red zone. You're probably a little bit ahead of me though on this TV. Yeah, one of the games I'm most confident in this week is the Jaguars just dominating the Texans. I love James Robinson. This week I think you need to be starting James Robinson in pretty much all situations. I also have Christian Kirk ranked top 10. Let's get an AJ Dillon touchdown, please. Give the ball to AJ Dillon. Second and goal. But I feel like based on that comment, it's going to be Lazard TD. You guys are ahead. Alan Lazard does get in the end zone. Lazard's looking pretty good from last week to this week. Pretty good sign for Alan Lazard. And honestly, pretty good sign for AJ Dillon. Rest of this game, too, the Packers already up 10. We did take the Packers, by the way, against the spread. So looking good so far, but we don't want to jinx that. Jaguars, 7-point favorites against the Texans. Jaguars have quietly been a playoff team. They've looked like a playoff team this season. The leap that Trevor Lawrence has taken is so dramatic and so sharp from last season. I mean, the Jaguars were so bad last season with Urban Meyer kicking around. And now that he's not kicking around, you really do have to feel pretty good about Trevor Lawrence, who's looked so good this season. They competed against the Eagles last week. They were up 2 touchdowns against the Eagles, only undefeated team left in the NFL. Eagles have looked really good too. They destroyed the Chargers. Obviously, Herbert was dealing with an injury in that game, kind of weird game. They blew out the Colts, 24-0. I mean, that's the type of game we could see for the Jaguars today, though, against the Texans. It could be like a 24-0 performance. And they lost in week 1 against the Commanders. Looking back, really bad loss for them. But they still had 22 points. They've now scored over 20 points in all 4 of their games. I would be shocked if they did score over 20 points against the Texans at home, nonetheless. So I really like the Jaguars covering the 7-point spread in that game. The other game I didn't think made much sense this week was the Commanders. +1 versus the Titans. I think that they're pretty even, and the Commanders are at home, so I'm taking the point with them. Seahawks have proved me wrong this season. Geno Smith, I think I deserve an apology to Geno Smith, but I'm still taking the Saints -5 against the Seahawks today. I think you have to start Alvin Kamara, guys. Alvin Kamara is going to go absolutely nuclear this week. It's so much like the Austin Eckler situation last week. Austin Eckler playing the Texans last week. Austin Eckler hadn't scored a touchdown before last week. Scores 3 TDs. I mean, we could see something similar from Alvin Kamara today against the Seahawks. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season. He has had a horrible season. He's missed 2 games. The other 2 games he's played, he's under 15 total points in those 2 games. I'm definitely confident in Alvin Kamara. Are you confident in Gabe Davis to turn it around? Yeah, so I am actually confident he's going to turn it around, at least from where he has been. I was very anti Gabe Davis before the season. He was on my do not draft list. This season, I didn't draft him in a single league because I thought he was just getting drafted too early for what we've seen from Gabe Davis. But now the pendulum has swung, and I'm now in the camp that thinks Gabriel Davis is very much a buy low candidate right now. And I think, yeah, he will bounce back. He's out there basically every single snap with Josh Allen. That's all you really need to know to trust that he's going to score more than the 2.3 points he had last week and the 6.7 points he had the week before that. I think we're going to see more performances like week 1, where he only had 5 targets, but 88 yards and a TD, finishes as a top 15 receiver back in week 1. I think the ankle is going to improve throughout the season. And then on top of that, Adam, look at all the Bills' injuries for their pass catchers. Dawson Knox is out. Jamison Crowder is out. Jake Kumaro is out. And these guys might not sound like huge pieces, but when they start stacking up like this, Isaiah McKenzie, questionable to play in this game too. Like, just even more confidence that Gabe Davis is going to be out there every single snap. So yeah. Did y'all see Antonio Brown's tweet? Oh man. Oh God. I mean, which one are we talking about? At this point, honestly, man, like the Antonio Brown stuff, it's getting out of control. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's just egregious, man. I don't even want to talk about it. But yeah, you should go check out that tweet. It's absolutely crazy. Dameon Pierce or Josh Jacobs. I would go Josh Jacobs over Dameon Pierce. I mean, like AB, man. Like, you gotta just crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy how much AB is going at Tom Brady when Tom Brady was the only person. He was the only person vouching for AB. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, I would go Josh Jacobs though over Dameon Pierce. Penny or Ayuk, full PPR. I would probably go Penny over Ayuk, even in a full PPR league. The Buccaneers are 10-point favorites. 10-point favorites against the Falcons, and I'm taking them as 10-point favorites. I think the Buccaneers are transitioning more to their pass-heavy approach. Curtis or Deontay Johnson at flex. I would probably go Curtis Samuel over Deontay Johnson. London time, pick 2. Among Us, Higgins, Jamal Williams, Christian Kirk. Yeah, I'd probably go, I want to say the last 2, but I also don't feel great benching T. Higgins. Let me see where my wide receiver rankings are at. Yeah, I still feel like Christian Kirk's just a little bit safer than T. Higgins. But Higgins has been so good. I mean, all these guys have been really, really good this season. In PPR, though, I'm okay going Christian Kirk and Jamal Williams. Among Us is also really he's tough to bench, man. But he is coming off an injury of his own. Hey, Sam, pick 3, please. Kupp, Chase, AJ Brown, Cooks. Among Us, same. You can't bench Cooper Kupp. I mean, we should never see really all 3 of these first can't bench. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings. I think all 3 of these guys are in my top 6 wide receivers. Top 8, I guess. Top 7, excuse me. Yeah, you have to start Cooper Kupp. You have to start Jamar Chase. And you have to start AJ Brown too. Hunt or Johnson at flex. Yeah, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, pretty good spots this week against the Chargers defense, who, again, have been pretty bad against the run this season. Wow, Daniel Jones just took an absolute shot on that one. I don't know. It seems like he's fine. I think he's getting back up. I think it seems like I'm like 2 plays behind all of you on the live, so maybe you guys should be the one telling me what's going on in the game, not the other way around. All right. Let's get back to really quickly. I want to talk about a couple more things. I already talked about the Khalil Shakir play on DraftKings this week, but he's my favorite DraftKings punt this week. He's basically minimum price. Khalil Shakir is a name to know this week. because of all the injuries for the Bills. Again, it's the same reason I like Gabe Davis. Now, I'm playing some Diggs, Gabe Davis, Josh Allen stacks on DraftKings this week, but I'm also playing some Josh Allen, Diggs, Khalil Shakir stacks because Khalil Shakir is basically minimum priced. And Isaiah McKenzie still could be out this week. Even if he's not out, though, McKenzie has not played more than 52% of the snaps in the game this season. Khalil Shakir is going to be stepping into that Jameson Lee Crowder role. And I think he could easily score TD against a pretty weak Steelers defense. Waddle or CeeDee Lamb, yeah, I'd probably lean CeeDee Lamb over Jalen Waddle with Teddy B in the mix. Singletary or Alvin Kamara. Do not bench Alvin Kamara this week. Do not bench him. My player prop today is Alvin Kamara over half a TD. I also had A.J. Dillon over 55.5 rushing yards. But you cannot be benching Alvin Kamara against the Seahawks. Why not Juju? Yeah, so we got a question earlier. Josh Reynolds or Juju? I'm playing Juju in that one. But Juju picked up a hamstring quad injury on Saturday. And he's not playing till the night game. And he's probably going to play. But there's definitely some increased risk there with the injury. Wow, there's a really bad pass there from Daniel Jones on 1st and 19. So the injury for Juju is really the concern. I'm actually higher on Juju than most people rest of season. But the injury for him and when he's playing this week, just so much risk in your fantasy lineup. Why not Antonio Gibson? Because Ryan Robinson's back this week. And he's supposed to see 20 snaps this week. And I think essentially all 20 of those snaps are coming from Antonio Gibson. This is exactly why I didn't want to draft Antonio Gibson most of the offseason. Then Brian Robinson injury happened. He got a gun wounds. He's back this week. And he was supposed to be the starting running back, early down running back for this team. We know J.D. McKissick's still going to be involved in the pass catching work. Why not David Montgomery? Because Khalil Herbert's been so good in his absence, and he's coming off an injury. Why would they not keep Khalil Herbert involved to keep David Montgomery healthy? It just makes so much logical sense. And sometimes assuming logical coaching, especially for teams like the Bears, doesn't end up being the right thing for fantasy. But in this situation, man, Khalil Herbert is averaging over 80 rushing yards a game, despite playing 2 games as the backup. He is so talented. He is so clearly shown that he should be more involved in this offense. And David Montgomery isn't at 100%. He's questionable for this game. He's going to play, but they want to keep him healthy. I think it makes so much sense for Khalil Herbert to play more. And I don't trust Khalil Herbert either, though, because Montgomery's obviously going to be still very involved. Gabe Davis, I'm definitely playing over Khalil Herbert. Gabe Davis, I'm definitely playing over David Montgomery in all formats. Again, I think Gabe Davis has a pretty good chance to bounce back. Steelers, secondary, Cooks, Hollywood, or Curtis Samuel. Thank you. Yeah, it's got to be if you're shooting for the ceiling, it's got to be Hollywood, and if you're shooting for the floor, it's got to be Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel and Terry McScorin very much in play this week with no Jahan Dotson against a pretty weak Titans defense too. So yeah, I like Curtis Samuel probably in that one. Should I start Amon-Ra St. Brown? I do think you should start Amon-Ra St. Brown in most situations. I wouldn't start him over any of these top 10 wide receivers I have scrolling at the bottom of the screen on the YouTube live. Again, the link to that is in the TikTok bio. Hill injured or Jacobs? I would still play Hill over Jacobs, I think. But there's 2 sides to every start sit, man. So I gotta know who's on the other side of this start sit before telling you for sure start Amon-Ra St. Brown. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I'm live every single Sunday morning. I'm live every single Thursday night. And I post daily content on TikTok, weekly content on YouTube. Gabe Davis or Josh Palmer with Keenan Allen being out, going against Diggs. Yeah, go Gabe Davis, Adam. I'm telling you, go Gabe Davis over Josh Palmer. I like going against Diggs with Gabe Davis. I think that could really end up playing into your favor. Hey, Sam, pick 2, Mondre Stevenson, Jeff Wilson, Devin Singletary, Garrett Wilson, PPR. Yeah, so when you really dive into it for Devin Singletary, dude is getting elite usage so far this season. And last week was his most elite usage he's ever had in his career. Guys, Devin Singletary, we were just talking about Raheem Mostert, by the way, seeing workhorse-like usage last week. Raheem Mostert, over 70% snap share, 25 routes run for Mostert. I mean, he is clearly the lead back in this backfield. Definitely a good sleeper this week on DraftKings, FanDuel, and in your fantasy lineups. But Devin Singletary, I mean, similar story on a better offense. 87% snap share for Singletary last week, 11 carries, 25 routes, another 5 targets, another 96 yards. No touchdowns last week, but he has now back-to-back games over 90 yards, back-to-back games with at least 5 targets. He had 11 targets the week before that. And we already talked about all the injuries to the pass catchers. It seems like they trust Devin Singletary just so much more than all these running backs. And it's not a bad matchup against the TJ Wattless Pittsburgh Steelers. So, yeah, Singletary certainly in play. He certainly played this week. He has the second most receiving yards in the NFL at the running back position behind Austin Eckler. But I still don't think I would start him over Jeff Wilson. Again, PPR makes it much tougher, though. It makes it much tougher because Jeff Wilson's not going to catch passes, and Devin Singletary is going to catch passes. Again, we just said over 5 targets each of the last 2 weeks. I still have Jeff Wilson ranked ahead of him, though, this week. I actually have Mondre ranked ahead of him, too, this week because of the matchups for Mondre, for Jeff Wilson. So a long way of saying I think I would go with these first 2 guys over Devin Singletary and Garrett Wilson, despite the elite usage for Devin Singletary. Hey, Sam, flex, T. Higgins, Dalvin Cook, Amari Cooper, or Curtis Samuel full PPR. Yeah, you just can't bench Dalvin Cook, man. You can't be benching Dalvin Cook. I understand being panicked about Dalvin. He's been pretty disappointing so far this season. And it's a little sketchy. He's dealing with his injury, but he's able to play through this injury with a harness. This is a shoulder injury that Dalvin Cook is dealing with. And guys, Dalvin Cook still played 75% of the snaps last week. Alexander Mattison had 4 touches last week. One of those ended up being a touchdown, vultured from Dalvin Cook, but Dalvin Cook had 20 carries, 2 targets last week. I mean, that is pretty elite usage for Dalvin Cook. I think he still has to be in starting lineups. All right, let me pull up my QB rankings. I feel like I haven't had the QB rankings up for a while, and these QB rankings have actually changed a lot week to week, especially in the back half of my top 10 QB rankings, which you can see on the YouTube live. Link to that is in the TikTok bio. Najee or Mondre? I have Mondre ranked ahead of Najee. Anything on Waddle? Not too many thoughts on Waddle. I think Waddle and Tyreek, they're going to be used pretty similarly. I don't think the deep targets will be as much there for them, especially for Tyreek, who's seen more of those deep targets. But the Dolphins are going to scheme touches to Jalen Waddle, to Tyreek Hill. I think both are pretty good starts still in fantasy. Zay Jones or Juju? Yeah, Juju's on my do not start list this week because of the hamstring injury he picked up on Saturday, and he plays in the night game this week, which I think is just really risky. It's just really risky to be trusting Juju in your lineup this week because he might not play. And even if he plays, this is a pretty high risk of re-injury. So I'm for Juju this week. I actually like Juju more than most people, but I'm okay going Zay Jones. Devin Duvernay or Garrett Wilson. I know Duvernay is the top receiver for the Ravens today, but yeah, I'm going Garrett Wilson 1,000%. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash that subscribe button, hit the like button. Really do appreciate that. I'm going to get to as many start sits as I possibly can. Travis Etienne or Josh Palmer. Yeah, I would be going with Josh Palmer over Travis Etienne. I'm not benching James Robinson this week. I'm not benching Alvin Kamara this week. James Robinson playing the dead last run defense in the league. Texans have been the worst run defense in the league. Listen to some of these performances that this defense has allowed. I have it pulled up literally right here for the Texans. I mean, they are the number 1 defense you want to be playing as running back. Jonathan Taylor, week 1, 31 carries, 161 yards for Jonathan Taylor against the Texans, and a touchdown. Plus, he had 4 catches in that game. Javonte Williams, RIP, by the way, 75 yards in his matchup. Khalil Herbert went for 157 yards against this defense. James Robinson going to go nuclear against the Houston Texans. You want James Robinson in your lineup. The other guy you want in your lineup, and this is why I love playing on DraftKings so much, is I get to just play the best players on DraftKings each week. And that's exactly what I'm doing with my DraftKings lineup, which you can see on the YouTube live right now. Again, link to that is in the TikTok bio. If you're watching live on TikTok, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Really do appreciate that. Helps me out so much. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers this season. But yeah, the running backs. Look at the running backs I'm playing on DraftKings this week. Alvin Kamara against the Seahawks. Alvin Kamara, by the way, he's this week's Austin Eckler. Last week, people panicked about Austin Eckler. He hadn't scored a touchdown yet in the season, and he had a great matchup against the Texans last week. 3 TDs for Alvin Kamara, for Austin Eckler. It could be similar for Alvin Kamara this week against the Seahawks. Kamara, no TDs yet this season. Alvin Kamara has averaged over 17 fantasy points per game every year he's been in the league. 5 straight years. This season, he doesn't even have 17 total points heading into week 5. Going to change very soon for Alvin Kamara, like a few hours away soon for Alvin Kamara having a monster day. I think Kamara, James Robinson going to go absolutely nuclear. I do like the Josh Allen, Steph Diggs stack a lot this week as well. Curtis Samuel or Scary Terry? Yeah, I like Scary Terry more than Curtis Samuel. And here's why. It's the air yards, man. They're both going to get a lot of touches with Jahan Dotson out. But when you look at how each guy is being used, Curtis Samuel's getting a lot of scheme touches out of the backfield and very short, so often even behind the line of scrimmage for Curtis Samuel. He has 130 air yards on the season. Meanwhile, Terry McLaurin has over 400 air yards. He's the 7th most air yards in the NFL. He's almost 4 times the air yards of Curtis Samuel. And what does that mean? It means his targets are more valuable than Curtis Samuel. So even though Curtis Samuel's seeing maybe more targets per game than Terry McLaurin, the actual targets that McLaurin's getting are more significantly, almost 4 times as valuable as Curtis Samuel's touches. So yeah, I'm starting Terry McLaurin over Curtis Samuel for sure. And I think McLaurin is in a really good spot without Jahan Dotson this week. Hey, Sam, lots of injuries this week. Yeah, there are a lot of injuries this week. I have them up on the TikTok live, tons of injuries. I'm still waiting on the Jacoby Myers news, but there's a few players we're still waiting on. Jacoby Myers, Jarvis Landry, Isaiah McKenzie, all haven't officially been ruled in or out yet, but all seem like they're trending towards in. Who should I start? Who should I start in flex? PPR, Gerald Everett or Zay Jones. Yeah, you got to go Zay Jones. Again, I hate starting 2 tight ends. Just don't do it to yourself, man. Don't start 2 tight ends. It's just such a brutal thing to do in fantasy. Olave or Among Us, St. Brown. I'd go Olave. I really don't want to be benching Olave this week. As much as I like Alvin Kamara this week, I mean, you can make a similar statement for Chris Olave against the Seahawks too. There's no Michael Thomas. Jarvis Landry's questionable. Olave leads the entire NFL in air yards. They're just going on the rant about Terry McLaurin's air yards. But Chris Olave, meanwhile, is having a massive start to his rookie season. I mean, we have never seen a rookie seen this many air yards to start their season. Guys, Chris Olave, think about this. He leads the league in air yards. He also leads the league in unrealized air yards. He has more unrealized air yards, meaning air yards that didn't turn into catches, than most people have air yards, period. I mean, he leads the league in deep targets, leads the league in deep targets per game. He is 9th in the NFL in receiving yards. I mean, he is a beast, guys. Olave is the real deal. By the way, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson have both ranked top 15 in NFL history in the number of targets they've seen in the first month of their rookie season. I'm going to say that again in case you missed it, because it's pretty incredible to think about. This is all-time NFL rookies. They rank top 15 in targets in the first month of their rookie season. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave commanding targets earlier in their rookie season. And this is really encouraging. And I think the other thing that people are sort of overlooking with these rookie receivers and these rookie players in general, Breece Hall included, is that usually the rookies improve as their rookie season goes on. So the fact that they've gotten off to such a hot start is just so encouraging that these guys could legitimately win fantasy leagues. And yeah, without Michael Thomas, I mean, Chris Olave just has to be in your starting lineup. Start Khalil Herbert, Travis Etienne, or Tyler Algier. Yeah, finally we get a Falcons running back question. We have no Falcons running back questions up to this point. We're almost 2 hours into this live stream. Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley. Who's it going to be? It's probably going to be both guys. And you can't really start either of them against the Bucs. Though I will say, like, this is a really bad matchup for the Falcons because the Falcons have low-key had a really good offensive line this season. They've been able to create running lanes. Cordell Patterson has been running free a lot this season, and we even saw it last week with Algier and Caleb Huntley. But the Buccaneers have such a good run defense, arguably the best run defense in the NFL. So yeah, I don't trust him at all. I would go Travis Etienne over Khalil Herbert, over Tyler Algier. I don't feel good about Khalil Herbert this week with David Montgomery returning. And I love James Robinson because they're playing the Texans. And I mean, guys, Travis Etienne gets to play the Texans too. He doesn't run as much, which is why I like James Robinson much more. But yeah, I would play Etienne in that one. McLaurin or Waddle. I would think I would lean McLaurin over Waddle. Fournette or James Robinson. Yeah, so let me put my running back rankings on the YouTube live again. I have both these guys in my top 10 running back rankings. I think I have Fournette 2 spots ahead of James Robinson. And the reason for that is really, I think the spread for the Bucs. I think they're 10-point favorites in that game. I actually like them against the spread there. I think you got to go Fournette over J-Rob. But again, I like J-Rob so much. I really think he could go nuclear this week. Again, if you guys are watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Guys, we're not even halfway through the live. We're just getting started. I'm just getting warmed up. I was on London time this morning. So for me, it's the afternoon. And I'm ready to go, man. This is going to be a fun week. I have a really good feeling about this week. Debo or Pierce, PPR flex. You don't bench Debo, man. You can't be benching Debo. We got a long one here. Christian Watson, probably his first touch of the game. I've missed a lot of this game. Just focused on this live stream. I got to see. Let's see how many. Let's just look at the stats really quick. In this game so far, A.J. Dillon, 21 rushing yards so far. And I think it's still the first quarter. Early second quarter. Not terrible. Not great for A.J. Dillon. We're going to need him to get in the end zone. All right, let's get to this comment on the YouTube live. Hey, Sam, really need help on this one. Well, I am really here to help you. Clyde, Stevenson, J.K. Dobbins, James Robinson for running back. Got to be James Robinson. I like J.K. Dobbins and Stevenson this week. Obviously, Clyde, we know his ceiling too. Clyde, a top 5 running back in fantasy football right now. I actually think he might be number 2 in fantasy points per game right now at the running back position. But James Robinson is clearly in the best spot this week against the Texans. I would go J-Rob. J.K. Dobbins, by the way, though, very much startable this week. I don't think I've said he's like a must start each of the last couple of weeks, but Justice Hill is out. And this is actually a really big deal for J.K. Dobbins. Justice Hill has seen about a third of the backfield snaps, of the backfield touches for the Ravens. And he's out. And those are likely mostly going to go towards J.K. Dobbins, maybe a few more for Lamar Jackson as well. But I think it's a really big deal. Justice Hill has also been the most efficient running back on the team. So J.K. Dobbins definitely gets a big bump for that. But, yeah, I still think James Robinson is a better start. Zach Wilson or Teddy B because Tua's hurt. Yeah, I think I still like Teddy B in his weapons more than Zach Wilson. Though Zach Wilson is a pretty good matchup, honestly, against the Dolphins. I think both guys are definitely in play this week. But, yeah, I personally like Teddy B more than Zach Wilson. And I just like Tyreek Hill and Waddle more than Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. And then another league, Kittle or Everett. Yeah, I'd play Kittle over Everett. And then Najee and Stevenson. I'm okay going Stevenson over Najee. It's definitely close. But, yeah, Stevenson has a really good matchup against the Lions. So I'm okay going Stevenson. I would go Stevenson over Penny as well. Olave or Godwin. You can't bench Olave. Again, I like Godwin a lot against the Falcons, but you can't bench Olave. You can't bench. Michael Thomas is out. You can make an argument Olave is the top 10 receiver this week. Nico Collins or Kareem Hunt. I'd go Hunt over Nico Collins. Breece or Kareem Hunt. That one's definitely close for sure. Breece Hall had a breakout game last week. I really like Breece Hall, man. I think Breece Hall is going to win fantasy leagues. At least he has a better chance to win fantasy leagues than I think people are still realizing. So, yeah, I think I would go Breece Hall over Kareem Hunt. Yeah, I have Breece Hall ahead of Kareem Hunt. I have Breece Hall ahead of James Conner. I have Breece Hall ahead of Clyde. I have Breece Hall ahead of Rashad Penny. I have Breece Hall ahead of Zeke. I have Breece Hall ahead of David Montgomery this week. So, yeah, I like Breece Hall against the Dolphins a decent amount. Hey, Sam, pick one, please. Josh Palmer, Devin Duvernay, or possibly Juju Smith-Schuster. Yeah, so Juju's on the must-bench list this week, and here's why. He picked up an injury on Saturday. And so many of these must-bench lists, by the way, my must-bench list, I think we're hitting at like a 95% rate on the must-bench list this season. It's been pretty good. And I'm pretty tight with who I put on this must-bench list. Like, I don't want to put anyone on this list that has a chance to, like, have huge weeks. And there are some guys each week that could have huge weeks on this must-bench list. But this week, Juju is one of the names that I'm seeing a lot of people, why Juju? Why Juju? Why Juju? And I'm reading the news basically every hour on the NFL. Like, I'm very up to date on what's going on with all these players. And Juju picks up an injury on Saturday. And that's never a good sign because Saturday is like a walkthrough day. Like, how are you picking up an injury in walkthrough on Saturday? It's a hamstring quad injury. But then on top of that, like, the risk with Juju this week is exponentially higher because of when they play. Because the Chiefs do not play until tomorrow night. And so you're not going to have a backup plan for Juju. You're going to have to play like Sky Moore. You're going to have to pick up Sky Moore in most leagues if Juju's out. Again, he has an extra day to recover, which is good. But yeah, Juju has a lot of risk this week, I think, because of when he plays and because of when he picked up his injury. I'm okay, Ben. And it's not like Juju has been so good that he needs to be started. And I actually like Juju more than most people. But he is dealing with an injury. We've seen a relatively limited ceiling for him. Like, the targets have been there. Juju 8+ targets. I think he's exactly 8 targets in 3 of his 4 games, which is pretty good in a Mahomes-led offense. Like, he's going to score TDs this season. I think he's going to be better than he has been. But this week, I don't think is the week to be trusting Juju with the hamstring injury. So, yeah, I'm okay going Josh Palmer over Juju. I'm okay going Duvernay over Juju. I would go Josh Palmer, though, over Duvernay. Again, I'm just not this huge Devin Duvernay fan. I think Duvernay is wildly overrated at this point with how he started the season. And I know he's the top receiver with Bateman out, but I still think I like Josh Palmer with Herbert more. Another TD for the Packers that looks like a tight end, not Robert Tonyan tight end. And, oh, God, that 1-yard carry for A.J. Dillon would have been very nice on that play. But, yeah, the Packers are cooking, guys. The Packers are up, I think that's 17-0. Now, we did take the Packers against the spread, so you'd love to see that as a good start against the spread this week. By the way, if you want to see all my picks against the spread, come to the YouTube Live. Link to that is in the TikTok bio. Why say Jared Goff? Because Jared Goff has 2 total touchdowns in 4 games against the Pats, against Bill Belichick. I think he's played 4 career games against Bill Belichick. He has 2 total touchdowns, 4 total interceptions, only 500 yards. That's about 120 yards, 150 yards a game. Like, Goff has been horrible against Bill Belichick. And basically every single time Bill Belichick goes up against Jared Goff, he forces Goff to win the game. And he takes away the running game. It's going to be tough for the Pats to do that against the Lions' offensive line. Will be a really interesting one. This is probably the best Jared Goff offense that the Bill Belichick has faced. But yeah, I'm just nervous about Goff against Bill. Honestly, that's what it is. Goff versus Bill Belichick is a matchup I'm not willing to bet on. Is Waddle and Hill playing? Yeah, both guys are playing. Both guys are playing. CEH or Jamal Williams? I would go Jamal Williams over CEH this week. Jamar Chase or Lenny Fournette? Last question. I got you, Lord Dingle. I would go Jamar Chase over Lenny Fournette. I think you got to start Jamar Chase always. Start Singletary, Zeke, or Robert Woods at flex. Yeah, I'd go Singletary. Reed in this one. Robert Woods definitely has some legs this week with Treylon Burks out. He's on IR actually with turf toe, so he's out for the next 4 games. So Robert Woods, the clear wide receiver 1 for the Titans. I think Kyle Phillips, interesting. More so sleeper this week and the weeks without Treylon Burks. But yeah, I think Singletary. We're just going through it with Singletary, who I still have ranked maybe a little too low. But he's seeing, workhorse level usage, similar to Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert, Devin Singletary. These are the 2 guys that they're workhorses in the NFL right now, and people just don't realize it. Devin Singletary, the 5th most targets at the running back position this season. He has the 2nd most receiving yards. And guess what? Who's run the most routes among all running backs? It's been Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary played 87% of the snaps for the Bills last week. He ran 25 routes, 11 carries, 96 yards. Back-to-back games now over 90 yards. For Devin Singletary, he's seen his snap percentage increase each of the last 3 weeks. He is really the focal point in this backfield. But we still know Josh Allen's going to steal goal line carries. We still know Josh Allen. By the way, I think Josh Allen has been a part of every single Bills touchdown this season. And that could easily continue. But yeah, I'm still playing, I think, Singletary over Zeke. Zeke is in a tough matchup this week for sure. Seeing a question about sick Tony Pollard or Madison. Jace, I actually have this exact same start-sit decision. I already had to make this start-sit decision this morning because I go live basically right up till kickoff. And I actually went back and forth on this one. I read the report about Tony Pollard. He's dealing with an illness. He's going to play. And then you look at last week for Alexander Madison, and Madison had 14 points last week. He scored a touchdown on a good catch. We know Madison's extremely talented. Honestly, like Tony Pollard, Madison, just both 2 of the most talented backups in the league. It's like Madison, Pollard, and Khalil Herbert. Like all 3 of these guys could be starters on a lot of teams, but they aren't starters on their own team. Last week, Madison played 29% of the snaps, but he only had 3 carries. He only had 1 catch. Like, we can't start that. We can't start a guy that only had 4 touches last week. So yeah, you got to start Pollard. And it's a horrible matchup for Pollard. Maybe the dead last or worst possible matchup for Pollard against the Rams. But you can't start Madison. He had 4 touches last week. I think you have to start Tony Pollard. And that's exactly what I'm doing in my league. I actually put Madison in the lineup at one point this morning. And then I went back and thought about it, saw the touches for Madison and said, no, we got to start Tony Pollard over Alexander Madison. Etienne or Monty. I'm okay going Etienne over Monty. Why not Juju? Because Juju's dealing with an injury and he plays on Monday night. So there's just so much risk with Juju playing on Monday night, and he's questionable. Fournette or Cook, rest of season, I would go Dalvin Cook, rest of season. Cooks or Samuel and flex. I actually like Samuel more than Cooks. With Jahan Dotson out, I really do think the floor for Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin is just really, really high this week. Wow, huge play for Saquon Barkley up the middle of the field. Didn't see if that was a catch or a run for Saquon, but the first big play, I think, for the Giants offense in this game. Let me pull up the stats again for this game. Let's see what the score is. Saquon Barkley, yeah, must have been a carry. Saquon Barkley, 6 carries, 55 yards now in this game. Daniel Jones, 45 passing yards, though, so brutal for Daniel Jones. So far in this game, A.J. Dillon, 4 carries, 21 yards. Aaron Jones, 6 carries, 24 yards. Not great on the ground so far. Aaron Rodgers, 113 yards, 2 TDs so far. He threw 1 to Lazard, and he threw 1 to Mercedes. Right now, though, Randall Cobb actually leads the team in receiving. Move your head. We are live on TikTok and YouTube right now, guys. On the YouTube Live, you get way more info. You get my top 10 rankings, every single position. You get my picks against the spread, every single game. You get my DraftKings lineup on the YouTube Live as well. Kittle or Everett? Yeah, I'm going Kittle. Lucas over Gerald Everett. By the way, again, I've shouted this out on the Thursday Night Live. I'm live every Thursday night. but I got to shout this one out again because I think this could be the last game we see with Matt Rule as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers right now, they are on pace to run the fewest plays in an NFL season ever. I mean, ever. Like NFL history ever. I mean, just horrible pace and horrible job just staying on the field for the Panthers offense. And guys, they're up against the 49ers defense, one of the best defenses in the league so far this season. It's bleak out there, man, for the Panthers. I really like the 49ers defense this week. Really like the Jeff Wilson this week as well. I think this if this game's ugly, and it could be ugly for the Panthers offense. I mean, we could see a lot of sacks in this game. It could be the end of Matt Rule's 3-year tenure, by the way, for the Carolina Panthers. Dan Campbell, by the way, has never won a road game as head coach. He's never won a road game. This does factor into my do not start Jared Goff thing, too, because Jared Goff, he's top 5 in the league in passing yards. I actually think he's 4th in the NFL in passing yards. He might even be 3rd. I think it goes like Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, one more person, and then Jared Goff. I posted a video about it, actually, this week. Again, if you want to come to the YouTube Live, link to that's in the TikTok bio. You just get way more info, top 10 rankings every position, picks against the spread. And I can pull up comments on the YouTube Live, too, just a little bit better viewing experience. And you're like 2 presses of your finger away if you're on the TikTok Live. It's right in the TikTok bio. But the Patriots are favored. With Bailey Zappi starting at quarterback, they are favored in this game. 3-point favorites. 3.5, actually, this morning I saw. 3.5-point favorites. The Lions are underdogs in New England because Dan Campbell's never won a road game. He has one tie. His best road performance was a tie last season. I forget who they tied last season, but that's definitely a big reason why the Pats are favored. A big reason why I'm not feeling great about Goff. It is because Goff has played so bad against Bill Belichick in all 4 times that they played each other. He's averaging under 200 yards per game. He's averaging more interceptions than touchdowns. I know this offense is really good. Probably the best offensive line Goff has ever played with. Maybe going back all the way to the Rams days. But, yeah, I don't feel great about Goff today. I know he's been really good this season. I don't think this is the week to be trusting Jared Goff, though. I do think you got to start Amon-Ra in a lot of situations. But I don't think I'm starting him over Drake London. Drake London without Kyle Pitts. Drake London still saw 7 targets last week. It was a disappointing game. He only had 2 catches. But 7 targets in his worst games is a good sign for Drake London. I think the Bucs are going to lead pretty heavily in this game, and that's going to be good for Drake London, who the Falcons want to run the ball. But, guys, this is like the worst possible matchup for the Falcons for what they want to do. The Falcons have been pretty good running the ball this season. They want to throw the ball as little as possible. But against the Bucs run defense and against the Bucs offense, who is starting to become more and more pass-heavy, it's going to be tough for the Falcons not to throw the ball in this game. No Kyle Pitts. I think that's really good news for Drake London. All right, let's pull up some comments on the YouTube Live, get to some comments on the TikTok Live. What about Duvernay? Yeah, Duvernay is playable. He's the top receiver for the Ravens this week with no Rashad Bateman. Jamal Williams or Dameon Pierce. I play Jamal Williams over Dameon Pierce. Hawkinson or Higbee? I'm going Higbee over Hawkinson, and I know Hawkinson's coming off a monster game. 40-point game for Hawkinson. But, guys, Tyler Higbee is the number 5 tight end in fantasy football this season, and he hasn't even scored a touchdown. Tyler Higbee has the most yards in the NFL without a touchdown. I mean, that's pretty insane. Would you start Amon-Ra if he's active? Yeah, Matt, definitely. I mean, I think he is active. I think he's going to be active. It's not officially active, but it all sounds like it's trending towards that way. Excuse me. Packers are dominating in this game. It seems like the Giants are finally starting to put a drive together, but absolute dominant performance so far for the Packers. Mixon or Jamal Williams? I have Jamal ranked ahead of Mixon. I don't feel great about it, but the offensive line for the Lions has just been so good. Chubb or Garrett Wilson or Kamara and Kirk for DK. Yeah, I want Kamara, dude. In my DraftKings lineups, I have Kamara in all of them. And I've already learned this lesson in weeks past. Like, don't put one guy in all of your DraftKings lineups. And sometimes I just can't help myself in some of these spots because Alvin Kamara could really go nuclear today. I have Alvin Kamara as a top 5 running back today. The Seahawks have been really, really bad, guys, against running backs. Let me pull this up. Let me pull up the numbers for the Seahawks against running backs. And Alvin Kamara, there's no Michael Thomas today. Jarvis Landry might be out. Week 1, Javonte Williams, 20 points against the Seahawks. Week 2, Jeff Wilson, 12 points against the Seahawks. And Kyle Juszczyk also scored 6 points. He had a TD in that game. Cordell Patterson, 22 points against the Seahawks. And last week, Jamal Williams, 24 points against the Seahawks. Like, they haven't stopped anyone. They haven't stopped a single running back, really, this entire season. So I think Kamara's floor is like 15 points. And his ceiling is like 40-plus points. I mean, the ceiling for Kamara is astronomically high. I think you have to start Alvin Kamara. I know he's been bad this season, but we know who Alvin Kamara is. We know what he can do. And in this matchup, I think we got to start him. Amon-Ra or Christian Kirk? Yeah, Christian Kirk's just so safe, man. I'm personally going Christian Kirk over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Teddy B or Kirk Cousins? That one's definitely tough. I think I actually have Teddy B ranked ahead of Kirk Cousins. 3rd and 9. That was a huge completion to Jerry Slayton here. Looks like the Giants could get on the board. Sorry, I was saying 17-0. It's 17-3. I would go Kirk Cousins. I think over Teddy B. I would go Kirk Cousins. But again, I think Teddy B does have a pretty good ceiling this week. And I think the Dolphins offense, what I'm picturing for the Dolphins offense is essentially the exact same offense with Tua, except much worse and much less deep passing. So basically take out their deep passing game, which has been a big part of their offense, and move that more to intermediate short passes towards Jalen Waddle, towards Tyreek Hill. I think they're going to really dumb down the offense for Teddy B. I think he's one of the best backup QBs in the league, but I think that he's going to still be scheming touches. I think there's going to be a lot of scheme touches to Jalen Waddle, to Tyreek Hill. Goff or Geno? Yeah, Geno Smith, man, he's really proved me wrong this season. I mean, Geno Smith was, I think, the number 1 quarterback last week in fantasy football. Number 2 QB last week in fantasy football, 32 points for Geno Smith. He was playing the Lions, though, and he's not going to get to play the Lions every week. He's not playing the Lions this week. He's playing the Saints. But I don't want to start Goff this week again. Goff has horrible track record against Bill Belichick. He has twice as many interceptions as touchdowns. Against Bill Belichick, he's averaging under 200 yards per game. Against Bill Belichick, I mean, Dan Campbell, head coach for the Lions, never won a road game in his head coaching career. I'm feeling pretty bad about Jared Goff this week, even with Among Us St. Brown back, and I still would start Among Us St. Brown in most situations because he's going to be healthy and playing. What's up, my man? What's going on, Tad? Godwin, Amon-Ra, Olave start 2. Yeah, so I'm not benching Olave this week, so let's lock him into the lineup immediately. For similar reasons as Kamara, the Seahawks haven't been very good against receivers either. Again, last week, they let up 42 points to the Lions. I don't think the Saints will put up 42 points this week, but they could easily put up 30-plus points this week. And the Seahawks have been just so bad defensively this season. And Michael Thomas is out, and Jarvis Landry's questionable. So there's so many things going in Olave's way that I think you've got to start Olave. Then I would probably go Godwin over Amon-Ra this week. Let's see how Amon-Ra looks coming off the injury. But yeah, in moving forward, like rest of season, I would probably go these first 2 guys over Olave. But this week, yeah, I'm okay going Olave and Godwin. Hey, Sam, you're the GoPro. Thanks, man. Najee, Dameon Pierce, or Stevenson. Yeah, I would probably play Stevenson over Dameon Pierce. It's never easy benching your first-round pick in fantasy football in week 5, but I think that's what we need to do with Najee for Damien Harris and Stevenson this week against the Lions. Jared or Schultz. I actually think we have Everett probably ranked ahead of Schultz. I still have faith in Schultz. I think he was a pretty good buy low candidate coming off last week, but yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay going Gerald Everett. With no Keenan Allen, I'm okay going Gerald Everett over Dalton Schultz. Let me pull up my tight end rankings actually again really quickly. I don't think Dalton Schultz is on there. I do think Gerald Everett is on there. Again, you can see my top 10 rankings, every position on the YouTube live. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio. And it can answer a lot of the start take questions I'm seeing, but not being able to answer just by looking right at the top 10 rankings. And yeah, I do have Gerald Everett ranked in my top 10. I actually think Walter in the WalterPicks app, our AI algorithm that powers the WalterPicks app, has Gerald Everett as the top 6 play this week. And then in a different league, Lockett or Clyde or Stevenson in the flex. Yeah, man, this one's really tough because Clyde has been so good. Honestly, it's between Lockett and Clyde, I think, for me. And Lockett's been really good too. I'm okay going Lockett, honestly, in this one. I think Lockett has a really, really high ceiling. Lockett has at least 8 targets in each of the last 2 games. He hasn't had less than 13 points each of the last 3 weeks. I mean, the floor for Lockett has also been like much higher than we would have expected. Sam, should I start Kareem Hunt or Jalen Waddle? Wow, a goal line carry, not for Saquon Barkley, for Matt Breida. Yeah, I would go Waddle, I think, over Hunt. What about Josh Reynolds? I don't think Josh Reynolds is in play this week at all. I would not be starting Josh Reynolds. I've seen a lot of Josh Reynolds questions, and I guess that's because he did good last week without Amon-Ra St. Brown in the lineup. But we pulled up the numbers for Josh Reynolds. Yeah, he's had 3 straight good games, not just last week. 3 straight games over 12 points. But again, I don't feel great about Goff this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown is supposed to be back. I would not be trusting Josh Reynolds this week. CEH or Mondre, yeah, this one's just so close because CEH has been so much better than Mondre this season. And what is going on Is that tight end around touchdown for the Giants? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Daniel Bellinger, I think that's rookie tight end's first touchdown, or at least first rushing touchdown. I believe that was a rush. I caught the back half of that play. But Giants just scored a touchdown, first touchdown of the game. It's very funny. I almost forgot what scoring touchdowns was like in NFL games after Thursday night. But we do have some touchdowns in this game, which is always good to see. That teams can still score touchdowns in the NFL. Hey Sam, Damien Harris or Josh Jacobs? Yeah, Josh Jacobs is basically impossible to bench with his usage. If this is a PPR league, I think it's got to be Damien Harris. Rashad or Tony Pollard. Definitely, I would be benching Pollard where possible this week. He is dealing with an illness, and he is in a really bad matchup. Let me pull up on the YouTube live, too. I have this up on TikTok. But the guys that I think you just have to bench this week, David Montgomery, I think you have to bench him. He is likely going to be splitting touches with Khalil Herbert. Anyone in this Bears offense that's splitting touches is going to be tough to trust. Both David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, I think, are really talented, but just can't be trusted. Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson's supposed to see about 20 snaps, not touches, 20 snaps in this game, and I think those are all going to come directly from Antonio Gibson. That is not good for Antonio Gibson, who's already losing all the pass catching work to J.D. McKissic. And guys, what if these 20 snaps? What if these are the goal line snaps? All of a sudden, Antonio Gibson has no ceiling if he's losing all the pass catching work and all the goal line snaps. Chase Edmonds is not at all trustworthy in fantasy right now. Raheem Mostert seeing workhorse level usage, over 70% snap share, over 25 routes run for Raheem Mostert last week. I mean, you got to be starting Raheem Mostert. You got to be benching Chase Edmonds. Chase Claypool can't be started. George Pickens looks like the favorite target for Kenny Pickett, which makes sense because they got a lot of reps together in preseason and in training camp on the second team together. Juju can't be trusted. He picked up a hamstring injury, a quad injury on yesterday, and he plays tomorrow night. So there's so much risk that he doesn't play, or if he's not 100%, you almost have no backup plan. You might have to pick up Sky Moore on the waiver wire if Juju can't go, and he's probably going to score close to 0 points. Cole Kmet, we don't even need to go into that one. Hunter Henry, I've seen some Hunter Henry questions because Jonnu Smith is out. Like these people digging deep into fantasy, they're seeing Jonnu Smith is out and Hunter Henry's in. He's probably going to play close to 100% of the snaps. And so, you want to force Hunter Henry in there in these bleak tight end situations. But guys, you can't start Hunter Henry with Bailey Zappi starting. You just can't do it. I know it's a good matchup against the Lions, but we don't have any faith in Bailey Zappi, giving Hunter Henry any sort of ceiling. Hunter Henry could prove me wrong. I hope he does. I'm a Pats fan, but I think this is going to be extremely run-heavy game. Extremely run-heavy game. Like Bailey Zappi could throw the ball fewer than 15 times. He could complete fewer than 10 passes in this game, and the Patriots could still win. Mostert, Edmonds, it's got to be Mostert. Mostert is so clearly ahead of Edmonds right now on the depth chart. Packers look like they're going to get a 2-minute drill, minute and 15 seconds left to end the second quarter. They're up 17-10. They're no longer covering the 8-point spread, which I did take the Packers against the spread in this one. Last but not least, I'm benching Ayuk. Haven't talked much about this Ayuk decision, but Ayuk is just kind of an afterthought right now in this offense. He's been out there basically every snap, but the 49ers clearly want to be a really run-heavy team with Jimmy G like they were last season, and Deebo Samuel is just going to be the focal point of the offense, and any given week, George Kittle could out-target Brandon Ayuk as well. And then you look at the matchup this week against the Panthers, and the Panthers secondary has actually been pretty good this season. And I think the 49ers are going to destroy the Panthers in this game defensively. So that could lead to a lot of run-heavy game script for the 49ers. So, I don't feel great about Brandon Ayuk this week. Last but not least, Greg Dortch. He's complete dust now with Rondo Moore back. So, we can't trust Greg Dortch. Greg Dortch, I think, played less than a third of the snaps last week in Rondo Moore's first game back. James Conner or Jeff Wilson? I go Jeff Wilson, 100% over James Conner. Sam, can you pull up your wide receiver rankings? I got you, Matt. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings on the YouTube Live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, link to the YouTube Live is in the TikTok bio. Mondre or Drake London in flex. This one's closed. If it's a PPR league, I'm okay going with Drake London. I do like Mondre against the Lions a lot, but I also really like Drake London against the Bucs. And I think the Falcons are going to be behind in that game, and I don't think the Falcons are going to be able to run very effectively in this game against the Bucs front seven. So I do like Drake London a decent amount this week. Olave or Stevenson, I'm not benching Olave this week. I don't think I've told a single person to bench Olave this week. He leads the NFL in air yards. There's no Michael Thomas, and he has a great matchup I mean, there's not too much to put against Chris Olave, other than maybe Andy Dalton starting. But even with Andy Dalton last week, Chris Olave did fine in what was really, for the most part, a pretty abysmal performance from Andy Dalton. Hey, Sam, Kittle or Everett? I have Everett ranked ahead of Kittle. We have Everett ranked ahead of Kittle in the WalterPicks app. I have Kittle ranked ahead of Everett, I think, in my tight end rankings on this live stream. So you got to ask yourself, like, how much are you looking for floor versus ceiling? Because Everett actually has a pretty good floor for tight ends. With Keenan Allen out again this week, Everett's probably going to go over 10 points. Kittle, though, has a significantly higher ceiling than Gerald Everett still, but his floor is arguably lower at this point. Again, like I was just saying, too, the 49ers defense is probably going to completely dominate the Panthers offense in this game. And that could be a really run-heavy game script, which might not be very good for George Kittle. So if you want to lock in the points, Braden, there's few tight ends you can be confident are locking in points outside of like the top three guys, Higbee, Goddard, and then honestly, Everett might be the next highest floor. But Kittle definitely has a higher ceiling. So it's a floor-ceiling decision there. Personally, though, I'd be shooting for the ceiling. I'd go with George Kittle. Sanders or J-Rob? Yeah, you can't bench James Robinson. You really can't bench him this week. Singletary or Ramondre Stevenson? Yeah, that one's super close. I'm okay going with Singletary in that one. Again, he's seen pretty elite usage so far at the running back position. I'm definitely not benching James Robinson, though. What's up, Sam? Vikings or Jags defense? D. Smith or Cooks? Half PPR, thank you, as always. I appreciate you tuning in. Jared, I do like the Vikings defense this week against the Bears. I also like the Jaguars defense. Saxonville Jaguars, they have been incredibly good at forcing sacks this season. I think the Jaguars beat the Texans, too, by more than 7 points. I honestly think I like the Jags defense more than the Vikings defense. But both are good options. And then Devontae Smith versus Brandon Cooks. I like Devontae Smith a lot this week against the Cardinals. Cardinals defense has been so leaky in the past game. I think Jalen Hurts could throw for over 300 yards today. Brees or London at flex? Yeah, I like Drake London more than Brees at flex this week, especially if that's a PPR league. Start one, James Robinson. I'll pull that one up next. Olave or St. Brown? I'm playing Olave or St. Brown. James Robinson, Jeff Wilson, Mondre, J.K. Dobbins. I would probably go with James Robinson. In this one, again, let me pull my running back rankings on the YouTube Live. And yeah, I don't have Jeff Wilson in my top 10. He's like right outside the top 10. I do have James Robinson in my top 10. Again, we went through it, but the Texans haven't stopped a single running back this season. Not a single one. And James Robinson averaging 4.5 yards a carry this season. He's been great. I think that's going to continue in this game. And again, I think the Jaguars win this game by more than 7 points. Let's pull up any latest news. By the way, Weatherman Sam, I part-time as a weatherman on this live stream every Sunday morning. No weather to be concerned about today. We have 4 dome games. And then the worst weather game today is actually the Bills-Steelers game. Bills were in one of the worst weather games a few weeks ago, but the weather's fine. It's not going to be any precipitation in any games. No rain on our television screens today. At least that's what the weather report is saying. There's going to be up to 17 miles an hour of wind in the Bills game, but that's not enough for me to be concerned. So no weather to be concerned about today. I'm told Bucs wide receiver Julio Jones will not play today against his former team. Well, that's really sad, man. I mean, this was this would have been a pretty cool revenge game for Julio Jones playing against the Falcons. It would have been weird to see Julio Jones playing against the Falcons. And we talked about this earlier in the stream. I mean, anytime Julio Jones is testing it out pregame, we cannot trust him in fantasy football. We've just seen it happen. We've just seen the story so many times. We've seen the story just way too many times with Julio. And then Russell Gage is going to play. So the Bucs will have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Gage playing. I think they will be pretty pass-heavy in this game against the Atlanta Falcons. Velus Jones went in on offense today. I'm excited for that. I think that Velus Jones could be pretty good for the Bears. He's their rookie receiver who hasn't played yet this season because he got hurt before the season. Mind-blowing stat on the broadcast in this Packers game. Aaron Rodgers has thrown 502 TD passes in his career. Mercedes Lewis is the only former first-round pick to ever catch a touchdown pass from Rodgers. Every other touchdown Rodgers has thrown has been to someone outside the first round. That's actually insane. Let me say this again in case you didn't hear it on the broadcast again. Mercedes Lewis is the only player that Rodgers has thrown a TD to that was drafted in the first round. He's thrown 502 touchdowns, and only Mercedes Lewis is the person drafted in the first round, and is like 35-year-old Mercedes. Nonetheless, I don't even think that counts as like a first round player. Sit one, Olave. Yeah, don't sit Olave. Don't sit Olave. I missed the rest of the question, but don't sit Olave. Definitely don't sit him. Michael Thomas is out. Amon-Ra or Hollywood. Yeah, I'm okay benching Hollywood for Amon-Ra. I'm okay playing Amon-Ra and Chris Olave in that one. It sounds like Amon-Ra St. Brown, though. He is playing this week. Packers hit a field goal at the end of the half. They're up 20-10. They are covering the spread now, but still obviously a half to go. Hopefully A.J. Dillon, he's about halfway to his rushing prop now. He's got 21 yards, only 4 carries in the first half for A.J. Dillon, but you got to assume there's going to be more. He's averaging 5.2 yards a carry, and they're up 10 points. So hopefully a better half ahead for A.J. Dillon. Really need that for a lot of my fantasy teams. Please, man, Hunt, Penny. Yeah, I would probably play Hunt against the Chargers over Penny against the Saints. Godwin, Kirk, or CD Lamb. CD's been really good, man, but Christian so safe, guys. Christian Kirk is one of the safest receivers in all of fantasy. There's no way around it. Just go look at the numbers for Christian Kirk. His worst game this season was last week, and he still scored 8 points. He still had 9 targets. So I really, and that was a pretty bad weather game as well. I really like Christian Kirk. This week, I could really dominate this game and could be really run heavy, but I still think Christian Kirk is pretty much a must-start player every single week. CD Lamb, though, obviously he's tough to bench. I could see a case for CD Lamb over Christian Kirk, especially if you think about the game scripts. The Cowboys are 5.5-point underdogs. The Jaguars are 7-point favorites. And if both those games go as expected, then honestly, I think I changed my mind on that one. I think I would go CD Lamb over Christian Kirk. I think Lamb at least has a higher ceiling. But again, Kirk's floor is just so safe. I think he's one of the safest receivers in all fantasy. Jacoby Myers, Josh Palmer, or Gallup at flex. Yeah, so Jacoby Myers, he seems like a truly questionable for this game. We don't know he's going to play. We don't know if Jacoby Myers is even going to play in this game. And then on top of that, Bailey Zappi's playing. So, yeah, don't start Jacoby Myers. Josh Palmer versus Gallup, I think, is a tough one. And that one's actually pretty close. But without Keenan Allen in the lineup, I'm okay going Josh Palmer over Michael Gallup. And I think that I think we actually have Josh Palmer 6 spots ahead of Michael Gallup in our projections this week. Answer. Question. Charlie. Juju Pickens or Elijah Moore? Yeah, bench Juju in this one for sure. And again, I'm nervous about Juju because he picked up an injury on Saturday. And a Saturday injury is not good when you're playing on Monday night. It's a quad hamstring injury. So there's just so much risk with Juju. And again, he's probably going to play, but there's just so much risk with when that game is for fantasy. Because if Juju doesn't play, you're just pretty much dust. You're going to have to add Sky Moore probably or Scantling off the waiver wire. Scantling's available, but he's not available in most leagues that I'm in. And Sky Moore is probably going to score close to 0 points, and Juju might not play. And even if Juju plays, has Juju been that good that we need to start him? No, he hasn't. And I'm actually one of the biggest Juju fans for the rest of the season. I think he's still being underrated. But with this injury, we got to bench Juju. I think this week, I'm okay going Pickens or Elijah Moore. I actually think Elijah Moore's matchup is much better than George Pickens' matchup against the Bills. Elijah Moore against the Dolphins. Pickens, though, probably will get more targets than Elijah Moore, so it's certainly close. Personally, though, I think I would side with Elijah Moore over George Pickens, and I also still think Elijah Moore is being one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL right now. Taysom Hill or Mike Gesicki? Oh, God, man. Yeah, I'd go Taysom Hill in this one against the Seahawks. Hopefully he gets a few carries against a bad Seahawks run defense. Montgomery or Mostert? I'm going Mostert over Montgomery 100%. Again, I don't want anything to do with Montgomery this week because I think Khalil Herbert is going to be very involved. I pulled this comment up. Who are we starting at Bears running back? Yeah, neither. I don't want to start either. At least one of them I think is going to bust. And both these guys are really talented, obviously. That's why I think they're both going to be involved. David Montgomery, he's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Guys, Khalil Herbert has been incredible this season. I mean, he is extremely talented. And as good as David Montgomery has been, 4.5 yards a carry, Khalil Herbert, 6.1 yards per carry this season. That ranks 6th best in the NFL. He's been really, really good, guys. And Mostert is seeing workhorse level volume right now. He's a workhorse running back in the NFL right now. One of the few workhorse running backs. Those are the running backs we want to be starting in fantasy. These guys that we just know are going to see big volume. And the Jets run defense, I think, is actually pretty underrated. I think that's the strength of the Jets defense. But at the same time, guys, Mostert played 73% of the snaps last week, 15 carries, and he ran 25 routes, and he had 3 targets, 80 yards, no TDs. But we know Mostert can break big ones, And if he's going to play this much and he's going to be this involved in the pass catching game, I think you've got to be starting Mostert. I think he's a really, really good sleeper this week. I just hate seeing Edmonds take the TDs. Yeah, so let's go over Chase Edmonds and look at the role for Chase Edmonds so far in the past couple of weeks with Raheem Mostert getting this big role. And Mostert played 73% of the snaps, and basically all the other snaps went to Edmonds, about 26% of the snaps. He had 5 carries, and he scored the touchdown. But the carries for Edmonds, I actually don't even think came in the red zone. I think he had a catch for a touchdown. But yeah, Mostert's definitely a better play than Edmonds, and Mostert's going to be scoring touchdowns sooner rather than later, I think, given this usage. CD or Olave, I really don't want to bench Olave. I think CD's a little bit safer than Olave because of how good we know CeeDee Lamb just is. And we've seen it for over a year now from CeeDee Lamb, but I'm not benching Chris Olave this week. Again, he leads the league in air yards. He has a really good matchup against the Seahawks, even better than the matchup for the Cowboys against the Rams. And there's no Michael Thomas this week, by the way. Good report from Michael Thomas just came out from Adam Schefter. Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas. He's already ruled out for today's game against the Seahawks due to a foot injury, but he is likely to be able to return for next week's game against the Bengals. I mean, this is the first positive thing we've heard about Michael Thomas in weeks. So, I mean, good sign if you have Michael Thomas that he could play next week, which is good because, I mean, the dude has missed a year and a half of football really recently. So the fact that he's going to be able to come back next week is definitely a good sign, though that's not official. That is what Adam Schefter is speculating, and speculation from Adam Schefter usually does end up coming through. Gibson or Travis Etienne. Yeah, I'm benching Gibson this week with Brian Robinson returning. So Brian Robinson is supposed to see 20 snaps. 20 snaps today. That's not that many. But what if those are the goal line snaps? And I would expect basically all those snaps to come directly from Antonio Gibson. Brian Robinson's skill set is an early down grinder. He's going to be an early down, like one of these bigger running backs that can grind out yards. He's more like an AJ Dillon than he is like a Tony Pollard type of play. Maybe those are just two random comparisons that didn't help the analysis with Brian Robinson. But Brian Robinson, 6'2", 224 pounds. He's one of these bigger running backs. He was a decent receiver in college, but I don't know how much he's going to be used as a receiver in the NFL. I think basically of the 20 snaps that Brian Robinson is going to play, probably at least 15 of them would have gone to Antonio Gibson. That's why I really don't trust Antonio Gibson this week, and why I would be making other plans than Antonio Gibson. Similar with David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert. Both guys are going to be playing this today. I think both guys are going to more or less split the snaps. I wouldn't start Herbert instead of Montgomery. I'm saying that comment in TikTok. But I don't trust either of them because, again, Montgomery is coming off an injury. He was questionable for today. He is an ankle injury, but he is going to play. Or at least they were optimistic he was going to play. Yeah, I don't think he's officially ruled in yet, but he's going to play this week. I'm pretty confident to say that. There's like 90% chance he plays this week. But Khalil Herbert's been so good in his absence. Khalil Herbert averaging top 10 in the NFL, 6.1 yards per carry this season. Montgomery's at 4.5 yards per carry. And we just saw Montgomery get hurt. He's coming back from that injury. Why would they rush him back and not play Khalil Herbert at all in his first game back? It just would make no sense. Khalil Herbert's been even better than Montgomery was. So I think that they're going to be close to a 50-50 split, or at least that's very possible. So I think both guys just have so much risk this week because of that. It's not like this is a high-powered Bears offense that we can trust to sustain two running backs. Alvin Kamara thoughts. Yeah, there's very few running backs I like that more than Alvin Kamara this week. I would even use the word love with Alvin Kamara this week. If you come to the YouTube live, the link is right in the TikTok bio, by the way. You can see a lot more info. My top 10 rankings, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, QBs, all on the YouTube live, completely free. And my running back rankings are on the screen right now. And Alvin Kamara is my number 4 running back. Also on the screen right now on YouTube, again, link is right in the TikTok bio, is my DraftKings lineup. And in my DraftKings lineup, I'm rocking with Alvin Kamara this week, just like I rocked with Austin Eckler last week. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season. Eckler hadn't scored a touchdown yet before last week. He scored 3 TDs last week against a horrible Texans run defense. This week, Kamara gets a horrible Seahawks run. He's back. And they waited an extra week to bring Alvin Kamara back, which gives me even more confidence that he's close to full health. And we just know what Alvin Kamara is. We've seen it for 5 years. Over 5 years straight, he has averaged over 17 fantasy points per game. This season, he doesn't even have 17 total fantasy points, and we're in week 5. I mean, it's been a horrible season for him so far. My worst team in fantasy has Alvin Kamara. I'm sure all of you Alvin Kamara owners out there are in tough spots right now. But I think Alvin Kamara is going to going to start to earn people's trust back again, starting this week with a massive game against the Seattle Seahawks. I also really like James Robinson this week too. What do you think about St. Brown on the Lions? Yeah, I think he can be started for sure. He is coming off an injury. I don't trust basically anyone else other than Jamal Williams, though, in that offense today. Olave or Jalen Waddle, I'd go Olave over Jalen Waddle. Again, I absolutely love Olave. This week, I like Olave and Kamara a lot. I think at least one of them, but probably both, are going to have really good days. See a lot of volume today. Hey, Sam, Curtis Samuel or Amon Ra, PPR. Looking for floor, and also Kittle or Everett, PPR. I'm leaning towards Everett. Yeah, if you're looking for floor, go Curtis Samuel, go Gerald Everett. I mean, you're just locking in. You're locking in some pretty good touches. And Jahan Dotson's out this week. Keenan Allen out this week. I mean, that helps both those guys max a ton, like an absolute ton. Breece Hall or Amari Cooper at flex. I actually think I would go Breece Hall over Amari Cooper. If it's a PPR league, I still think I would do this because I think the Browns are going to run a lot against the Chargers. It's the clear weakness for the Chargers defense again. And if that's the case, I don't know how much work Amari Cooper gets today against the Chargers. Najee or Amari Cooper at flex, yeah, I think I would go Najee in that one as well. Jeff Wilson, Breece Hall, or Dobbins. I think I'd go Jeff Wilson, then Dobbins, then Breece Hall. Guys, Dobbins gets a pretty big bump today because Justice Hill, not today, actually tonight. They play tonight, right? I think that's the night game. And then tomorrow's game is the Chiefs-Raiders game, if I recall correctly. Yeah, Bengals-Ravens tonight. No Rashad Bateman tonight. No Justice Hill tonight. The two most efficient members of the Ravens offense after Mark Andrews, obviously, it's been Justice Hill and it's been Rashad Bateman. I mean, that's why I'm taking the Bengals plus 3.5 tonight. Actually, they might have been plus 3. I think it was plus 3.5. Actually, what I saw. Let me pull my picks against the spread again on the YouTube live. Link to that again is in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. But yeah, the Ravens are in a tough spot tonight. Duvernay is definitely startable, but I don't have very much confidence in him in this game. But yeah, I would say Dobbins gets a pretty decent bump. Justice Hill's been playing about a third of the snaps for the Ravens, and he's been their most efficient running back. I think almost all of that work from Justice Hill is going to be going to J.K. Dobbins, and Dobbins has looked decent in his first few games back from his injury. But no, I'm not playing him over Jamal Williams, Juan. I'm definitely playing Jamal Williams over J.K. Dobbins. I have Jamal Williams as my number 10 running back in fantasy this week. Jeff Wilson, Breece Hall, Dobbins. Yeah, I'm playing Jeff Wilson over both these guys. Again, part of the reason for this, Niners defense is in such a good spot this week against the Panthers. I think this could be the last game for Matt Rule. I think it could be the last game for Matt Rule today with the 49ers. Just it's such a tough matchup for the Panthers offense. The Panthers are on pace to have the least plays ever in a season. And I don't think that's going to stay for long, but I mean, pretty crazy to think about. Hey, Sam, Debo, St. Brown, A.J. Brown start too. Yeah, it's got to be Debo and A.J. Brown with St. Brown coming off an injury, but good job getting an absolute stacked group of receivers. Happy Sunday, Sam. DK or Higgins in a PPR league. Yeah, personally, I'd go Higgins in this one over DK Metcalf. I know Metcalf is coming off a really, really good game, but I think the matchup versus the Saints is worse than the matchup versus the Ravens. Hey, Sam, PPR, Josh Reynolds or Garrett Wilson. Got to be Garrett Wilson, man. It's got to be Garrett Wilson. Nice photo, by the way. I think that's Bill Belichick in that photo, who Bill Belichick getting us so much respect from Vegas this week as a 3.5-point favorite with Bailey Zappi starting as his quarterback. I mean, the best coach of all time, getting the respect he deserves. Jared Goff has been horrible against Bill Belichick in his career. He has twice as many interceptions as touchdowns against Bill Belichick. You guys remember the Super Bowl? I think that was, 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago when he was on the Rams. And he scored 3 points in the Super Bowl. And that was one of the games against Bill Belichick. I think he's played Bill Belichick 4 times. He's averaging under 200 yards a game. I don't trust Josh Reynolds at all. I know he's had 3 straight pretty good games, but I don't trust Josh Reynolds. And I think Garrett Wilson has a massive ceiling against the Dolphins. So I'm definitely starting Garrett Wilson over Josh Reynolds. Should I start Hill? I'm assuming you mean Tyreek Hill. And yes, if you're talking about Tyreek Hill, yes. If you're talking about Taysom Hill, probably not. I mean, probably not. I told one person to start Taysom Hill over Mike Gesicki. But that's what we're dealing with Taysom Hill. Hey, Sam, with St. Brown coming back, do you still play him over Olave? Yeah, I'm okay benching St. Brown for Olave. And St. Brown's really tough to bench, man. He's been so good for so long. I mean, we saw the stretch to start the season, and he did have a down game in week 3, but he also got hurt in that game. And he still had 9 targets, 6 catches. So, the floor for him is 15 points. The ceiling we know is really high, but the Patriots, again, have been really good against Bill Belichick's been really good against Jared Goff. And the spot for Olave can't be ignored in this analysis. Like, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. When we know he's fully healthy, he's going to be my top 10 wide receiver rankings every single week. But with Michael Thomas out this week, and again, apparently Michael Thomas coming back next week, so that doesn't factor into this decision, though it does kind of make me want to start Olave even more in this game without Michael Thomas. But they're playing the Sox. Olave leads the league in air yards. I feel better about Olave than St. Brown this week. I'm okay starting Olave over St. Brown. Also, like, let's make sure Olave is really fully healthy, too. It's great to have a guy like Olave that you can start and save save another week till we can really trust Amon-Ra. Ramondre Stevenson or Dobbins? Yeah, I think I would lean Mondre over Dobbins. You won me money 2 weeks ago. DraftKings, please, sir. Yeah. Someone said in a TikTok comment this week, too, that the DraftKings lineup cashed last week. I guess it depends where you played it. Didn't cash in everywhere for me because we did miss pretty big with the Josh Allen stack last week. But I'm going back to the Josh Allen stack this week. And we did hit on Austin Eckler in the DraftKings lineup last week. But I do like the Josh Allen stack again. The Steelers defense has not been very good this season. I just feel like the Bills pass catchers, because of the injuries that they've had on offense, that it's getting so concentrated. We know who the passes are going to go to for the Bills. It's going to be Steph Diggs. It's going to be It's going to be Gabriel Davis. And if Isaiah McKenzie plays, which we don't even know he's playing yet, it's going to be him. And then it's going to be Khalil Shakir and Devin Singletary. And Khalil Shakir is minimum priced essentially on DraftKings. He's $3,200 on DraftKings. He's the rookie slot receiver for the Bills. And the reason I feel great about starting him is twofold. First of all, even if McKenzie plays, McKenzie has not played more than 53% of the snaps in a game this season. So I think Khalil Shakir is going to take that Jamison Crowder role. And if he scores a touchdown, he's already returned value in our lineups. Plus, with that Josh Allen stack, we know Josh Allen will be a popular play, even as the top-priced QB. I like differentiating. I think Shakir is going to be probably sub 10% owned. Rondale Moore in the Dallas Goedert mini stack. I like that too. Rondale Moore, I think, is going to be the number 2 receiver for the Cardinals today in a game they're probably going to get crushed by the Eagles. I like Dallas Goedert on the slate. There's no Travis Kelce on the slate. There's no Mark Andrews on the slate. I think Goddard's the safest tight end on the slate, who also has a really high ceiling. And then going with Godwin, I think he'll be pretty popular on DraftKings this week, but he's priced at $5,900. He's just way too underpriced compared to where Mike Evans is priced. And then I like the Cowboys defense as well against the Rams. We've seen what the Rams offense looks like in prime time, and we know the Cowboys defense can force a lot of turnovers, force a lot of sacks. CEH or Godwin? Thanks, Sam. Yeah, I'd go Godwin over CEH. Logan Thomas is out. Let's get this. Logan Thomas is out. Yep, following a pregame test. Good shout on the YouTube live. Logan Thomas is that gives Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel an even bigger bump than before with Logan Thomas out. Not like a huge deal, but definitely gives him a slight bump. Hopefully get Logan Thomas out of your lineups. He's not playing. If McKenzie concussion is out today, guys, here's the receivers available for the Bills. It's Steph Diggs, Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir, Isaiah Hodgins, and Tanner Gentry. I'm assuming nobody has heard of Isaiah Hodgins and Tanner Gentry because I've never heard of them. And that's saying something because I look at this stuff literally all day. And I'm pretty familiar with every team's depth chart. Never heard of either of these guys. Tanner Gentry was the name. Undrafted receiver back in 2017. He has played 4 total games in his career, and those all came back in 2017. So basically a practice squad level receiver who's not going to play at all. Stevenson, Hall, Akers, Amari Cooper, or Brandon Cooks. Pick 2, half PPR. Yeah, I'd go Stevenson and Hall. I think in this one, I would just lock in the running backs in this situation. I think you can consider Amari Cooper too. I would not consider Akers though. In this one, Lions wide receivers. Yeah, Amon-Ra is the only receiver you can trust for the Lions this week. Player prop of the day, by the way, Alvin Kamara over half a touchdown. Second half has begun in this London game. We were on London time this morning. I do not have defense rankings on the YouTube live, but I think the 2 top defenses this week, probably the Bills and the 49ers. The Bills against the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, and the 49ers against Baker Mayfield and the Panthers. Again, I think the Panthers, this could be the last game ever for Matt Rule as a head coach in the NFL. The Panthers are on pace to run the fewest plays ever in NFL history. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy stuff for the Panthers and how bad they've been. An injured Waddle or Drake London? Falcons without Pitts and Patterson. Yeah, I like Drake London a lot this week. I'm okay playing London over Waddle. I still think Waddle's probably a slight bit better. But if you're nervous about the injury, then yeah, play Drake London. He's not dealing with any injuries, and he's clearly going to see volume today against the Bucs. And it's going to be so hard. On top of the injuries to Patterson and Pitts, I think even more so helping Drake London today is the matchup and how good the Bucs defense is against the run, because that's been the clear focal point for the Falcons offense. They've been opening up pretty wide running lanes with their offensive line, but that's not going to be the case, I don't think, against the Bucs. That's even better news for Drake London. Godwin or Cooks? Yeah, I would lean towards Godwin over Cook this week. I have had these picks up against the spread on the live for a while. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings again on the live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position, all my picks against the spread, my DraftKings lineup, all completely free on the YouTube live. I will talk through it as well for the TikTok live, but it's a little easier just to consume the information on the YouTube live. And you can still watch it right on your phone. You're like 2 presses of your finger away. CMC, Pierce, Jamal Williams. Yeah, I would play CMC and Jamal Williams for sure over Pierce. Obviously, you're playing CMC. Cooks or Pickens. Yeah, so Pickens is really interesting one because it's not a good matchup against the Bills. The Bills have been pretty good against receivers this season. I think that was a pretty nice catch there by David Sills. I think that number 13, David Sills. Daniel Jones getting rocked again. Yeah, I would play Godwin over Cooks. Garrett Wilson or Juju. Yeah, I'm playing Garrett Wilson over Juju 100%. Again, I'm nervous about Juju because he plays in the Monday night game and he's dealing with a hamstring quad injury. So there's so much risk there for fantasy if he doesn't go on the Monday night. Is Montgomery for sure go? Yeah, he's like 90% playing. They said they were optimistic he was going to play though. So it's not 100%. It's not a for sure thing Montgomery plays. But even if he plays, you can't start him because Khalil Herbert's been so good that he's going to be involved. So I'm not trusting Dave Montgomery this week. I definitely want to see how that backfield shakes out once he's back. Is Waddle out? No, Waddle's playing. All right, back to this question in the YouTube live. Juju, Deontay Johnson, Jacoby Myers. I got to go Deontay Johnson here. I don't trust any of the pass catchers for the Patriots. Guys, again, I think that with Bailey Zappi start, let's talk a tiny bit more about this Pats game. I know I'm a Pats fan, so I usually talk a little bit more about the Pats game than other games, but Bailey Zappi is a guy that I'm excited about. I would much rather watch Bailey Zappi than Brian Hoyer. I feel bad for the Hoyer injury, but man, I can't stand watching Brian Hoyer be in the NFL for the Patriots still. Zappi completed 66% of his passes last week. He only attempted 15 passes though. And we could see something even less than that today, where the Patriots were losing or in a close game against the Packers, and they still only threw the ball 15 times. Like first and second down, I think the Pats are going to be running almost every single time, and I think it's going to be even more effective against the Lions than it was against the Packers. So we could see Bailey Zappi complete fewer than 10 passes today. So you can't start Jacoby Myers. You really can't be starting Devontae Parker, though I do think he has the highest ceiling of the group. You can't start Hunter Henry, even though Jonnu Smith is out. You really can only start Damon Harrison and Rondre Stevenson, and both guys are really good today, I think. But none of the pass catchers can be started. And by the way, the Pats are favored, despite Bailey Zappi starting. And part of that reason is because Dan Campbell has never won a road game as head coach, and because Jared Goff has twice as many interceptions as touchdowns in his 4 career games against Bill Belichick. Hey, Sam, good morning. 2 questions, full PPR. Cooks or London, and Singletary or Dobbins. Also, do we have DraftKings today? I got you with the DraftKings lineup stack. That's coming up in a second. I'm actually loving my DraftKings lineup today. I'll explain why. But yeah, I would go London over Cooks, and I would think I would go London over Singletary. Sorry, there's 2 different questions here. Yeah, I'd go London over Cooks, and Singletary versus Dobbins is super close for me today. If this is PPR, I think I'd go Singletary. If it's non-PPR, though, I think I would go Dobbins. I think Dobbins gets a big bump with Justice Hill out. Justice Hill played about a third of the snaps, and he has been the most efficient running back for the Ravens so far this season. Here's the DraftKings lineup I pulled up on the YouTube live. Again, link to that is right in the TikTok bio. But I'm going with the Josh Allen, Steph Diggs stack yet again this week. It's only a matter of time, guys, till this Josh Allen, Steph Diggs stack wins someone $1 million on DraftKings. And why not this week against a really bad Steelers secondary, the Steelers defense so far this season? I'll pull up the numbers right here. The Steelers defense has ranked, let's see where they are here. They ranked 15th, middle of the pack against quarterbacks. Every single quarterback that's played them has at least 15 points. Jacoby Brissett had 18 points against them last week. Zach Wilson had 18 points. Mac Jones, he had the worst game against the Steelers. He still had 250 yards and a touchdown in that game. They played nobody. They haven't played anyone even close to Josh Allen other than week 1 against Joe Burrow, who had 338 yards and 2 TDs in that game. So yeah, I really like Josh Allen this week against the Steelers. I think this is going to be a blow-up spot for the Bills offense, and I think Josh Allen is the one to do it. And also, the reason I like the Josh Allen stack even more this week is the concentration of targets for the Bills with all these injuries. Dawson Knox is out. Jamison Crowder is out. Jake Kumaro is out. Isaiah McKenzie is questionable. Still no report on whether or not he's in or out, though I do think we'll probably get that pretty soon. But yeah, with all those injuries, it's definitely really tough to see Gabe Davis coming off the field. And even if Isaiah McKenzie plays, I think Khalil Shakir is going to play a lot today. He's the rookie slot receiver for the Bills. He looked pretty good, got a lot of good reports in preseason and training camp. And I think he is a great stack with Josh Allen at basically minimum price on DraftKings. Hey, Sam, I needed massive help. J.K. Dobbins or Adam Thielen for my flex spot. Yeah, I'd go Dobbins over Thielen. Should I sell Swift, Madison, Tyler Algier for Breece Hall, Dameon Pierce? No, do not do that. Do not sell Swift that low. Swift is still so good. Streamable QB2s this week. Yeah, it's got to be Teddy B, man. Teddy B is the most streamable QB of them all, I think, this week. Basically, like, I expect like 80% of what Tua's been doing, I think Teddy could do. Geno or Wentz. Yeah, I would probably lean Wentz over Geno, but man, I've been probably too down on Geno this whole season, man. I feel like I deserved to give Geno an apology, but yeah, I still think I like Carson Wentz against the Titans more than I like Geno against the Saints. I think the matchup for Wentz is much better. Another good stack potentially, by the way, on DraftKings, another concentrated group of receivers with Logan Thomas out, Jahan Dotson out. It's going to be Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel all day for the Commanders today. Full PPR, Monty or DK. If Monty plays, got to be DK. Monty plays. Monty's probably going to play. That's what it seems like it's trending towards. But if Monty plays, I still think Khalil Herbert's going to be very, very involved. Packers have the ball. They're up by 7 points. I think the Giants just got a field goal on that drive. I think this is the first drive of the game, of the second half, for them. Still no reports yet out. It probably will come in about 40 minutes about who's in and who's officially out for these 1 o'clock games. James Conner or Najee Harris or Stevenson, pick 2. Yeah, I think I would probably go Najee and Stevenson. James Conner is just way too tough to trust at this point. Jameson Williams value when he's back. Love this question. Love the non-start sits on Stanley's Labs because we deal with so many start sits. On this live, I get to so many start sits. I probably got to 1,000 already. Probably going to get to another 500 before this live stream ends when we get to the rapid fire section of this live at the end. But Jameson Williams is a guy that needs to be rostered in 100% of leagues. And I talked about this. Shanna Martin, I will get to your question in just a second. I want to just talk about Jameson Williams for a second. But Jameson Williams, I talked about the rookie wide receivers after the first few weeks and how impressive the start for these rookie receivers are. This could be one of the best rookie wide receiver classes of all time. And the crazy thing is we haven't even seen Jameson Williams play yet. And Jameson Williams would have been the number 1 receiver taken in this class had he not torn his ACL in the national championship game. So Jameson Williams, I think, he was the only player, him and Michael Gallup, the only 2 players I drafted on all of my teams. Because I was reaching a couple of rounds ahead of ADP for both of them and just stashing them on IR, especially leagues I had IR slots, which is almost all of my leagues. And Jameson Williams, yeah, he's on the IR slot in all of my teams because I care more about the fantasy playoffs than I do any time of year because that's when ultimately you win your fantasy leagues. And that's when likely Jameson Williams is going to be back and playing fully healthy. So, yeah, with what we've seen from the Lions offense so far, too, and how bad the defense is, I think Jameson Williams absolutely could win leagues. I don't think his value is like anything crazy. Like you can't trade. You're not giving away much in a trade for Jameson Williams. But, yeah, I think Jameson Williams can be very good, and he's going to potentially win fantasy leagues. And he's basically was free to get in fantasy leagues, too. So, I think that he was basically a free square in fantasy drafts. All right, Shanna. Devin Duvernay, Devontae Smith, or Drake London. I would go Drake London for sure over Duvernay and definitely over Devontae Smith as well. And then Khalil Herbert or Rex Burkhead. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, Khalil versus Rex, man. That one's definitely tough. And I do think the Jaguars decimate the Texans today. They're 7-point favorites. I think they beat them by more than 7 points. That should bode well for Rex Burkhead, but it's kind of tough to trust Rex, who is clearly behind Dameon Pierce in the pecking order. He does get more of the pass catching work. He does have at least 5 targets in three of his four games. But what's the ceiling for Rex? I think the ceilings for Khalil Herbert still probably higher. So, yeah, Shannon, I would go Khalil and Drake London in this one. And thank you for tuning in. Hey, Sam, PPR, KJ Osborne, Juju at the wide receiver spot. I was actually looking into the numbers for Osborne the other day because Osborne was one of these guys that people were hyping up a little bit in best ball drafts as a guy that could take a leap for a more pass-heavy Vikings offense this season. And so far, it hasn't happened. He's been under 5 points in 3 out of the 4 games this season. He had one good game. That was week 3. And guess who they were playing? The Lions. And if you guys are sensing the trend here, you want to be playing the Lions in fantasy football. And that's why I like Mondre and Damian Harris this week. But yeah, I would honestly probably hold out hope for Juju on this one, Dylan. And I would be ready with a backup option just in case Juju doesn't go. Because again, Juju is dealing with a hamstring quad injury that he picked up yesterday, and he plays tomorrow night. Godwin or Curtis Samuel? Yeah, I'd go Godwin over Curtis Samuel, though. Curtis Samuel and we love to see this in the live. Keep me updated on the AJ Dillon 11-yard run. Love to hear that. But yeah, Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin definitely playable this week. I really like Terry McLaurin this week. I think Terry McLaurin scores his first touchdown since week 1. Terry McLaurin, number 9 in air yards this season. Actually, I think he's number 7 in air yards this season. So yeah, I like Terry McLaurin a lot. But I like Curtis Samuel a lot too because there's no Jahan Dotson and there's no Logan Thomas this week either. Khalil or Monty. So if Monty plays, I like Monty more than Khalil, but I'm nervous about both of them because I think both will be involved in an offense that's just not going to score very many points. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Andrew. Might be a dumb question, but Juju or Higbee at flex? Oh, God, man. Like, I actually feel like Higbee projects better than Juju. Again, Higbee in the NFL, this includes receivers and running backs. There's not a single player with more receiving yards without a touchdown than Tyler Higbee. But I hate starting 2 tight ends, man. I just hate doing it. Ayuk or Josh Reynolds or Zay Jones or Jarvis PPR. Yeah, this one I feel like is Ayuk, then Zay Jones, then Josh Reynolds, then Jarvis. We don't know if Jarvis is officially playing yet or not, though. And if he is playing, if Jarvis is playing, he's very much in play, though, with this one. So definitely monitor the Jarvis situation, especially in PPR leagues. There's no Michael Thomas this week. But we have not gotten the official report on whether Jarvis is in or out. The games that are later today, the Panthers and Rams, no real injuries to keep track of there. Cardinals, Seahawks. Sorry, that's next week. My bad. I'm looking at the next week games. The 49ers and Panthers, they play at 4 o'clock today. No injuries to keep track of there. Eagles, Cardinals, they play at 4:25. Rondo Moore is supposed to play. I think he's officially in. And Cowboys, Rams, no injuries really there. So we should get all the injuries we need to know about. Mainly, that is Isaiah McKenzie and Jarvis Landry, that we have yet to get an official status update on these 2 guys. And again, we should get that very soon, probably in the next 30 minutes. We will get these official reports. Usually they come out about 30 minutes from now. St. Brown or Josh Reynolds? Can I start both? No, don't start both. Definitely start St. Brown. Don't start Josh Reynolds. Or Mondre or Brees? I like Mondre more than Brees this week. Pickens or Cooper? Yeah, I'd go Cooper over Pickens. Hey, Sam, I need a flex PPR, Devontae Parker, DJ Moore, Travis Etienne, Tyler Algier. Yeah, I'd go DJ Moore. I know DJ Moore's been bad. I know the 49ers defense is much better than the Panthers offense, but yeah, I think you got to go DJ Moore. You can't trust Devontae Parker with Bailey Zappi starting, and you can't trust Tyler Algier against the Bucs. So I would go DJ Moore, Travis Etienne. Etienne is in a good spot against the Texans. But DJ Moore, I think, is the better play in PPR. Olave, Curtis Samuel, Mondre Stevenson. It's got to be Olave, 100%. And then if this is a PPR, I think Curtis Samuel is probably better play than Stevenson. If it's not, though, Stevenson 100% against the Lions. Again, the Lions have not been able to stop a single running back really this season. Should I accept Najee and Mixon for JT and D-Hop? I'd prefer the Najee Mixon side of this trade, depending on what you need. I don't know which side you're getting. It seems like you're getting the JT D-Hop side. And honestly, that's not terrible, assuming JT comes back next week. But yeah, I feel like Najee and Mixon's a lot to give up for JT D-Hop. I know D-Hop's coming back really soon, though, right? He was out 6 weeks, I think it was. So he's coming back soon. It's a pretty fair trade. You are upgrading. You are getting the best player in the trade, assuming JT's back very soon. But high ankle sprains sometimes do take up to 4 weeks. And if that happens, this could be really backfire on you. Hey, Sam. Jared Goff or Matt Stafford, also Tom Brady or Carr. Love the content, man. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate the positivity. We don't have enough positivity in this world. And guess what? Both positivity and negativity, extremely contagious. Extremely contagious, both of them. So I appreciate spreading some positivity in the world. I would go Stafford over Goff, and I would go Brady over Carr, but I really like Derek Carr this week too. Let me pull up my QB rankings one more time. I actually think both those guys are in my QB rankings. Sorry, I've been on the wide receiver rankings for a while here. You can see my QB rankings now scrolling at the bottom of the screen of the YouTube Live. Again, link to the YouTube Live right in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. Darnell, Mooney, or Cam Akers, I'd probably go with Darnell over Akers. And yeah, I Brady ranked 2 spots ahead of Derek Carr. So I'd go Brady. I'm sensing, and the numbers are showing this too, that the Buccaneers are starting to get more and more pass heavy, like they want to be, like they have been over the last 2 years under Bruce Arians. each of the last 4 weeks, Tom Brady has thrown more passing attempts than the previous week. We probably won't see that this week because he threw 52 times last week against the Chiefs in a game that they were losing the entire time. But I do think that he's going to throw potentially more than 40 times today against the Falcons with Chris Godwin back, with Mike Evans back, with Russell Gage back. I think it's going to be a really pass-heavy game. So I do like Tom Brady this week. Hey, Sam, should I start Garrett Wilson or Brandon Cooks at flex? You're a great creator, man. Keep up the grind. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I would go Garrett Wilson over Brandon Cooks. I think Wilson has a really high ceiling this week against the Dolphins. I was saying it earlier in the stream. In the first month of their rookie seasons, both Garrett Wilson and they ranked top 15 all time in NFL history in just pure targets that they've seen in the first month of their rookie season. And that's a big deal, man, because you got to earn these targets as rookies. I know the Jets threw like an asinine amount of times to start the season. They were on track to like break passing attempt records with Joe Flacco, which was absolutely ridiculous. But Garrett Wilson was commanding a lot of those targets. I think his ceiling's really high against the Dolphins. There's definitely some uncertainty with the Jets pass catcher still. Like I still think Elijah Moore is underrated and will do pretty well. And Corey Davis had a great week last week, and he is certainly ceiling too. He'll be very involved on this offense as well. But I still think Garrett Wilson's the alpha receiver on this offense, and I trust his ceiling against the Dolphins, who have not had a very good secondary so far this season. I'm definitely starting Drake London, though, over Corey Davis. I'm starting Drake London over Devontae Smith as well. Even though this is a pretty good matchup for Devontae Smith, it's been a pretty leaky pass defense for the Cardinals this season. But Drake London, guys, no Kyle Pitts, no Cordero Patterson. Arguably, their two best weapons on offense outside of Drake London are out. And they're playing the Buccaneers, who I just said I think are going to be more pass heavy in this game. And we know that the Buccaneers are also so good at stopping the run. So the Falcons are going to have to throw more than usual in this game, I think. And that's good news for Drake London. Devin Duvernay or Josh Palmer, PPR. I feel like I've thrown so much shade at Devin Duvernay on these lives. And 16-man sleepers. Cade Otton is probably my favorite sleeper this week, at tight end at least. I also do like Khalil Shakir as a sleeper this week for the Bills. But going back to this Devin Duvernay, Josh Palmer question, Duvernay is definitely in play this week. He is the top receiver for the Ravens tonight against the Bengals. Rashad Bateman's out. Very nervous, by the way, about the Rashad Bateman foot injury. I said it right after that game, and for some reason the Ravens just get away without talking about their injuries, like more so than other NFL teams. Like, nobody even knew Rashad Bateman was hurt till like halfway through the week. But yeah, Bateman's out. Foot injury looked pretty bad potentially. He missed the fourth quarter last week, but I still don't think Duvernay has like must start potential. I think Josh Palmer's better with Keenan Allen out. I trust Josh Palmer with Justin Herbert a little bit more than Duvernay with Lamar Jackson. Fournette or J-Rob? Yeah, so I have Fournette ranked ahead of J-Rob this week. The question you got to ask yourself, though, is like the floor ceiling conversation, because the ceiling for J-Rob is just astronomically high. He could be the number one running back in fantasy this week. That is his ceiling. He is playing the Texans, who are the dead last run defense in the NFL to start the season. They have stopped nobody on the ground. The Jaguars are 7-point favorites in this game. But the reason I have Fournette ranked ahead of James Robinson is, Fournette's so safe. He's seeing incredible usage. Even with Rachaad White stealing some goal line carries last week and being relatively more involved than he had been previously, Leonard Fournette ranks number 5 in opportunity share this year. He has most snaps in the NFL. He has top 5, in routes run, and he's seen the 10th most carries in the league. Like, his usage has been elite. He still saw a dip last week, though. He only had 3 carries last week, but again, they were losing that entire game. And this week, that's just not going to be the case against the Falcons. They're massive favorites against the Falcons. I'll pull up my picks against the spread as well, which the spreads themselves are very good ways to see how game script is likely going to go in these games. And then my picks against the spread are how you can see I think these games are going to go in comparison to the spread. Among Us is active. McKenzie inactive, which is massive news for me because I have Khalil Shakir in all of my DraftKings lineups this week. Jarvis Landry is out. All right, so we got the news coming in today, guys. This is huge. Huge news, actually. Isaiah McKenzie is inactive today, so get Isaiah McKenzie out of your lineups. But get Khalil Shakir into your DraftKings lineups, every single one of them. He is 3,200 on DraftKings today. There's no Isaiah McKenzie. There's no Jamison Crowder. There's no Jake Kumaro. There's no Dawson Knox. They're missing 4 of their usual pass catchers. And not that Jake Kumaro is like a usual pass catcher, but in this situation with all these injuries, he would be. So again, Isaiah McKenzie, inactive. Jarvis Landry, out. Even better for Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara. Officially active. Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery's active. Tyreek Hill's active. Jalen Waddle's active. Amon-Ra St. Brown's active. Josh Reynolds active. Zay Jones active. Jacoby Myers is active again. Don't start Jacoby Myers, though. I know I have him as out above me in TikTok. He is playing. I didn't know he had a good chance to play, but with Bailey Zappi starting, don't start Jacoby Myers. Josh Palmer is also active, officially inactive. Julio Jones is out. Logan Thomas is out. Mac Jones is out. We knew he was going to be out. Isaiah McKenzie out. Xavier Howard out. That's pretty good, by the way, for Garrett Wilson and for Elijah Moore this week against the Dolphins. Elijah Moore definitely have really, really high ceilings. I think with Jarvis out too, Chris Olave definitely needs to be started. I mean, again, he leads the league in air yards. The Seahawks have not been good, but Alvin Kamara is probably going to be the focal point of the Saints attack today. I think you got to start Alvin Kamara in every single DraftKings lineup as well. Jeff Wilson, Mondre, and Dobbins start 2. I would probably go with, if this is PPR, I'd probably go with these first 2. If it's not PPR, I'd strongly consider Dobbins over Mondre, but the matchup's really good for Mondre this week. Should I play Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, or Khalil Herbert? I like McLaurin more than Curtis Samuel, and I definitely like him more than Khalil Herbert. Jamal Williams or Olave? Yeah, if this is PPR, I'm okay going with Olave over Jamal. Is it risky to start Rondale Moore and Shakir over Juju and Reynolds? How much risk are we talking about here, Matt? It's not like Juju and Reynolds are going to blow up in fantasy this week. I'm okay going with both those guys over Juju and Reynolds, honestly. And again, Khalil Shakir, all of a sudden, he is the sleeper this week. I'm glad I already have him in all my DraftKings lineups. Hopefully people aren't so quick to react to this news because these games start in a little over an hour. But with McKenzie out, guys, Khalil Shakir is probably going to be out there every single snap. Basically every single snap. Same thing with Gabe Davis. Same thing with Steph Diggs. Like at least 2 of these 3 guys are probably going to have monster days attached to Josh Allen. Garrett Wilson or Curtis Samuel in a non-PPR league. In a non-PPR league, Curtis Samuel gets a huge downgrade. Huge downgrade. Because, again, we were talking about the usage for Samuel versus Terry McLaurin, and it's completely different. Curtis Samuel's out-targeting Terry McLaurin, but I still much prefer Terry McLaurin in fantasy because the type of targets McLaurin is getting are more valuable. McLaurin has over 400 air yards this season. Terry McLaurin ranks as the 7th most air yards in the NFL. Curtis Samuel, meanwhile, he doesn't even have 150 air yards this season. What does that mean? Well, if you're watching the games, Curtis Samuel's touches, they're coming out of the backfield, and they're coming close to the line of scrimmage. Terry McLaurin's touches, they're coming deep down the field. So, he has more upside. And it's a similar thing with Garrett Wilson. Why I would go Garrett Wilson over Curtis Samuel in a non-PPR league. Bro, Dubs is playing right now, LMAO. So someone asked a question about Romeo Dubs. We were on London time this morning, and that game's literally almost over. I think we're heading close towards the 4th quarter. A.J. Dillon, another disappointing game so far. Let's see how many yards he's up to. I did see someone say he had an 11-yard carry at some point in this quarter. A.J. Dillon's up to 32. Yeah, he had 1 carry. Another 11 yards. He's averaging 6.4 yards per carry. I mean, come on, man. Give A.J. Dillon the ball a little bit more. He's 32 rushing yards in this game. We need about 23 more rushing yards prop in this game. I did want to get to this comment. Hey, Sam, best app 2022. I saw Amon-Ra or Jamal Williams. PPR question, by the way. I'd go Jamal over Amon-Ra. I feel better about the running offense for the Lions than the passing offense for the Lions today. Tal, I appreciate this, man. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to check it out. Definitely start Tom Brady over Goff. Just saw that one in the TikTok live. But yeah, the WalterPicks app is the best place to go for your start-sit decisions. It's the best place to go for DraftKings and FanDuel advice, player prop, insights. It helps you with every decision you have to make in your fantasy league. It's also 100% completely free to download and try out. There are premium features in the app that do cost money. You can do as many start-sit comparisons. You can analyze as many trades as you want for free on the WalterPicks app. So if I don't get to start-sit on this live, and I won't be able to get to all of them, best place to go is the WalterPicks app, which I have myself helped build over the last 3 years. All right, start 3, running backs in PPR. I see Derrick Henry's in this question, so really we're starting 2 here. You're starting Derrick Henry. Yeah, you got to sit one of Jamal Williams and Joe Mixon, in my opinion. You got to start James Robinson. And honestly, I think you can start Jamal. I'm okay benching Joe Mixon in this one. I have Jamal still as a top 10 running back this week. Good morning, Sam. Goddard or Hawkinson, full PPR. I like Goddard more than Hawkinson this week. Let me pull up my tight end rankings. I know Hawkinson's coming off. It's just a colossally monster game, 40-point game. This could be one of the best tight end games of the season across all tight ends. But yeah, I still like Hawkinson. I still like Goddard more than Hawkinson this week. I think it's a really good matchup against the Cardinals, who have been the worst defense against tight ends this season. All right, with Logan Thomas out, do I pick up Cole Kmet or pick up Will Dissly? William, I wouldn't do either of those. I would go pick up Cade Otton, who's playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, rookie tight end for the Buccaneers, because guess who else is out? It is the starting tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's out. So yeah, I'm starting Cade Otton this week as a deep sleeper. I like him more than Will Dissly. I like him more than Cole Kmet. I know Kmet, like we can't start Kmet. Leave Kmet on the waiver wire everywhere. Pick two: Amon-Ra, Curtis Samuel, Jamal Williams, PPR. Yeah, I'd go Curtis and Jamal over Amon-Ra this week again. I could easily eat my words with the Amon-Ra sits this week, but he is coming off an injury, and I do think it's going to be more of a run heavy approach for the Lions in this game. Trade Mixon and Olave for Kirk and Swift. Don't hate it. I think it's pretty fair. I like Kirk and Olave a lot. I think they're pretty comparable. And then Swift and Mixon, I'd rather have Swift rest of season than Mixon. And then have Saquon, Kamara, MT, Tyreek. Yeah, I like it. Been watching for a while. Love the app. Keep it up. Thanks, Joseph. Yeah, I would do that trade. I think it's pretty fair. Khalil Herbert, Lockett, McLaurin, or Garrett Wilson in flex. Yeah, go McLaurin. Again, happy PR. I think McLaurin, mixed scoring, has a really, really high ceiling. Why not start David Montgomery? It's because he's coming off an injury, and Khalil Herbert has been so good in his absence that I think there's almost definitely going to be some sort of split in the touches in that backfield. So yeah, I don't feel good at all about Khalil Herbert or David Montgomery because, again, I think they're going to more or less split the touches in that backfield in a game that, like, how many points are the Bears going to score, guys? We know this Bears offense is abysmal. Like, if they only score 20 points in a game or less, how many points can these running backs score? Not very many. I think at least one of Herbert or Montgomery is going to be complete bust, and I think it's a complete coin flip. That's going to be that scores the touchdown if either of them even do. So yeah, I don't feel great about David Montgomery this week. So again, let's just run through the news really quickly one more time, because there were actually some big injuries that just dropped. Some really big injury news that we all need to be aware of. Because honestly, as the season goes on, just being aware of the injury news and how bad and how this affects players each week is like the biggest advantage basically you can get in fantasy football. So first of all, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's playing today. He definitely should be started in a lot of situations, but I like Jamal Williams more than him. And I'm generally nervous about Goff this week because Goff has twice as many interceptions as he does touchdowns in his 4 games against the Pats, against Bill Belichick. And he is averaging under 200 passing yards a game against Bill Belichick as well. I know this offense is really good because the offensive line is really good, but the Pats defense is good. They're not great. They're good. I think they can really be tough for Jared Goff, though, today. I think Jamal Williams, though, is still very, very startable. Saquon Barkley just went to the locker room in his questionable return. It's a shoulder injury. He took a big hit. I didn't see the hit because I've been very focused on this live, but I mean, rough to see that from Saquon. Hopefully he's okay. Christian Watson, questionable return as well. Jarvis Landry, inactive today. Start Chris Olave, guys. Start Alvin Kamara. Isaiah McKenzie, inactive today. That is an absolutely massive injury because there's already so many injuries for these Bills pass catchers. Dawson Knox is out. Jake Kumerow is out. And usually I wouldn't mention Jake Kumerow, but it matters because Jamison Crowder is also out. And Isaiah McKenzie now. So 4 of the top 7 pass catchers, top 8 pass catchers for the Bills are out. What does that mean? It means Khalil Shakir is very much startable in fantasy because he's probably going to be close to an every down slot role for the Bills today. That's their rookie wide receiver that they drafted this season. Let me tell you a little bit about Khalil Shakir if you don't know much about him. He was getting rave reviews all through training camp and through the preseason. He was a 5th-round pick out of Boise State, very fast, 85th percentile speed. He had a 95th percentile college target share. So he went to Boise State, not the best college, but he saw almost a third of his college's targets when he was playing. So, I mean, obviously that's huge. Khalil Shakir, he has played in 2 games this season. He played about a third of the snaps, a fourth of the snaps in those 2 games. He hasn't run more than 10 routes in a game, though, this season. He does have 2 catches, 23 yards. That's it. But, yeah, he's going to get a lot of run this week. I think he's going to be close to 67% snap share or above for Khalil Shakir. So he's definitely in play. And at minimum price on DraftKings, too. I mean, he's definitely startable. But I'm not starting over Amari Cooper. I'm not starting over Jeff Wilson. I appreciate you throwing Khalil Shakir into these questions, but yeah, we're not like forcing Khalil Shakir to our lineups by any means. I honestly think he's more of a DraftKings FanDuel play than like a rest of season first week play. I think he's a better play like on DraftKings than this week in your fantasy leagues because of the price. Again, the price matters a lot on DraftKings. I would probably go Jeff Wilson over Mark Cooper, over Robert Woods, and definitely over Khalil Shakir. Gabe Davis or Stevenson. Yeah, I really like Gabe Davis this week. Again, I like Gabe Davis a lot because of all these injuries for the Bills and because I think like he's already been out there every snap for the Bills. It's only a matter of time till Gabe Davis has a much bigger day attached to Josh Allen. Again, guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube, and you get a little bit more info on the YouTube live. There's a little bit more that you can see just scrolling on the screen. You can see my top 10 rankings every position. You can see my picks against the spread every single game. You can see my DraftKings lineup right on the screen. You can also see my favorite player prop of the game of the day right on the screen, and that's Alvin Kamara. Over half a TD. We had Austin Eckler over half a TD last week. James Robinson or Jeff Wilson? Yeah, I like J-Rob more than Jeff Wilson this week. J-Rob's in such a good spot against this Texans run defense. Don't start Juju. Yeah, so Juju's dealing with a hamstring injury, quad injury that he picked up yesterday in practice, and he plays tomorrow night. So much risk for fantasy because he plays tomorrow night, so there's not going to be so much options to pivot to if he doesn't play. Garrett Wilson or Amari Cooper. I honestly like Garrett Wilson a little bit more than Amari Cooper. DJ Moore or Jacoby Myers. Yeah, definitely DJ Moore. And why don't I like Jacoby Myers? Because Bailey Zappe's playing today, guys. And Bailey Zappe might complete less than 10 passes today. Very much possible. Very much possible. Because the Patriots are going to run a lot against this bad Lions run defense. And if they get a lead, and they're supposed to get a lead because they're at home and they're 3.5-point favorites in this game, then definitely it's possible for Jacoby Myers to really do nothing. Kamara or Jeff Wilson, also Godwin or Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I would go definitely Alvin Kamara. We need to start Alvin Kamara, guys. We need to start Alvin Kamara. There's no Jarvis Landry. There's no Michael Thomas. The Seahawks run defense has been horrible. Alvin Kamara is back. They waited an extra week so he could be more healthy when he returns. I think he's going to have a monster day. Godwin or Garrett Wilson, I like Godwin more than Garrett Wilson. I like Olave more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's no Jarvis. There's no Michael Thomas, guys. I mean, it's huge. What happened to Saquon? Apparently, he got hit really hard, and it's a shoulder injury for Saquon. He's questionable to return. Questionable to return. And I don't even know who's number 23 in. It's not Matt Breida in right now for the Giants, but they are marching. And you guys are ahead of me, I think, in this game if you're watching. I would definitely play Deontay over Khalil Shakir. Again, I like Khalil Shakir as like a deep sleeper. He's a deep sleeper. But he's realistically probably going to be third or fourth on the Bills in targets and snaps today for the pass catchers. Singletary or Garrett Wilson, I like Garrett Wilson more than Singletary. Is Breida worth a pickup if Saquon is out? Yeah, 100%. He's worth a pickup. But we were saying it before the game, guys. Like, if Saquon's hurt, this might be the least talented offensive group ever we've seen in the NFL. And there's been some really lackluster talent, but from bottom to top, and the Giants, meanwhile, they're marching and they might score against the Packers. But like, look who is out there right now. It's Myrak, Daniel Bellinger, David Sills, Richie James. I mean, just straight backup, even practice squad level guys. Darius Slayton, Matt Breida. I don't even know who the second running back is that's in right now. I'm sure I know of him, but I don't know who it is because, I mean, like, it's just brutal. Absolutely ridiculous depth for the Giants and how many injuries they're dealing with. It's really bad. I mean, come on. We're not starting TJ Hawkinson over Kamara. Definitely start Kamara over TJ Hawkinson. I would start Elijah Moore over Scantling, though I do think Scantling's kind of an interesting play this week against the Raiders on Monday Night Football, especially with a Juju injury. That's why I would definitely play Lockett over Juju. Montgomery or Khalil Herbert. I lean Montgomery over Khalil Herbert, but it's definitely close, and it's tough. It's really tough to know. I would play Kamara over Williams, 100%. Kamara's my number 4 running back this week. Again, come to the YouTube Live. I'm going to pull up my DraftKings lineup one more time. And guys, my DraftKings lineup, which I haven't changed since this live started, it's on the screen right now in the YouTube Live. I'm going to read through it for people in the TikTok Live. But you can click the YouTube Live right in the TikTok bio, too, if you want to come just see it on the YouTube Live. But yeah, I'm going with Josh Allen, stacked with Stephon Diggs and Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir is basically minimum price on DraftKings. He's only $3,200. And because I'm going down to Khalil Shakir, I'm able to pay up for Alvin Kamara against the Seahawks and James Robinson against the Texans. And then I'm going with a mini stack between Rondo Moore and Dallas Goedert. And then last but not least, I'm getting Chris Godwin in there, who's up against the Falcons, I think, at way too low of a price compared to where Mike Evans is at. Again, if we knew before the season Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, both fully healthy, Godwin might have picked before Mike Evans in PPR formats, and that's exactly what DraftKings is. And then I'm going with the Cowboys defense against the Rams. I mean, we've seen both these teams enough to know that the Cowboys defense is going to be tough for the Rams offensive line. So I do feel good about taking the Cowboys defense in this game. Hey, Sam, Gerald Everett or Mooney. I hate starting 2 tight ends, man. I still think Everett's probably better, though, than Mooney. RB3 is Gary Brightwell. I mean, just brutal, man. I can't believe they're about to score. It's a commercial for me right now. Again, I think you guys are like a couple minutes ahead of of me on this game because my TV's like slightly behind almost all the time. But let me tell you a little about Gary Brightwell, who's the running back in the red zone right now for the Giants. Gary Brightwell, he has 25th percentile speed, extremely slow. He was a 6th round draft pick back last year. He has played in he actually played in a decent amount of games last year, 13 games played, but he had 1 rushing attempt last year and 1 catch last year. I think he's a special teams player. I'm assuming that he played in that many games and saw that little touches. I'm assuming he plays on special teams. Though I don't know where he plays on special teams because he's extremely slow. So yeah, I mean this guy's horrible by all measurables. He also in college averaged 4.4 yards per carry, which ranks in the 11th percentile. This guy's no speed, has shown nothing in college, and has been a special teamer in the NFL his entire career. So yeah, I mean, Matt Braid is the guy to add. Love the app, but do you get a running back sleeper for a 16-man half PPR league? Yeah, so running back sleepers, there's always very few of them out there. I do think that running back is the toughest place to find sleepers, but I don't hate one of the Seahawks running backs after Rashad Penny this week. Kenneth Walker was questionable this week. I don't know if he's playing or not, but if he's out, then let me actually pull this up really quickly. I actually think this is probably the best running back sleeper I got for you this week, and it's pretty ugly, but it's probably DJ Dallas. I think Travis Homer, he's on the IR. Kenneth Walker is questionable to play. We don't know if he's playing or not yet, I don't think. And then DJ Dallas, he has a game at least where he's seen some touches. I don't know. He's pretty much dust too. I actually don't like that. Looking more into this, I don't know if Kenneth Walker's out or in yet either. I think the actives and inactives did come out though, but I haven't seen anything about Kenneth Walker yet. I'm starting Tony Pollard. Yeah, I don't love it. Not a good matchup for Tony Pollard this week. Trade Pittman and MT for Miles Sanders and Kirk. Half PPR. No, I wouldn't do that one. I like Pittman more than I'm trashing Gary Brightwell right as he scores the touchdown and ties the game for the Giants. I guess he's capable of some goal line touches. Gary Brightwell proved me wrong right on the stream. We might got an OT game here. We got the Packers about to be in a tie game, 20-20 against the Giants, even though Saquon's hurt. Trey Pittman and MT. Yeah, I don't think I would do that. Elway Brightwell TD. Don't hate on the goat. Yeah, hilarious timing for me to be ripping Gary Brightwell again, who has 25th percentile speed, percentile yards per carry in college, and has been a special teamer his entire career. What's up, Sam? Cooks or Gabe Davis? Got to be Gabe Davis. There's so many injuries for the Bills pass catchers. Not named Gabe Davis, not named Steph Diggs, not named Khalil Shakir. Everyone else is basically out. Everybody. We got basically everyone out for the Bills. So yeah, you got to start Gabe Davis this week, I think. Yeah, that was a really impressive drive, guys, by the Giants. Honestly, like again, before this game, I was saying, what is this Giants offense without Saquon? I mean, it's horrible, just pure talent wise. And they just marched down the field and the Packers tie up the game. Terry or London, thank you, half PPR. Yeah, I like McLaurin. I think a tiny bit more than London, but it's close. Definitely close. I like both these guys a lot. I would definitely play Brees all over Khalil Herbert. Again, I'm nervous about Dave Montgomery. I'm nervous about Khalil Herbert. Why not Goff? Let me run through the Goff thing one more time. Jared Goff has played the Patriots. He's played Bill Belichick 4 times in his career. He has twice as many interceptions as touchdowns in those games. He's averaging under 200 yards per game in those games. And his head coach in this game has never won a road game before. So the defense is really bad. Obviously, that's the big issue for the Lions. But it's not like the Pats defense is horrible. I think they're a good, not great defense. But I do think Bill Belichick just historically is really good against Jared Goff. I'm nervous for Jared Goff in this game. I do think Amon-Ra, since he's playing, definitely lifts Goff a little bit. And I do think Amon-Ra is startable for sure. But I'm not starting any of the other pass catchers. Williams, I think he can still have a really good game against the Pats with his offensive line. But yeah, I don't feel great about Goff this week. Tyler Lockett or Devin Duvernay? PPR. I'm definitely going Lockett over Duvernay. I think Singletary versus Mondre is a super tough one. If this is PPR, they both catch a lot of passes. Doesn't change that much. I mean, with all the injuries though to the Bills pass catchers, it could end up helping Singletary a little bit too. I'm okay going Singletary over Mondre, but Mondre does have a really good matchup this week. Terry or London? I like Terry more than London this week. Wilson, Pollard, Edmonds, Herbert. I would definitely go with Jeff Wilson. And then I don't want to start Khalil Herbert with David Montgomery returning. I'd probably go Pollard in this one again. I don't feel great about Pollard this week, though. Zeke or Olave, half PPR. Got to be Olave. There's no Michael Thomas. There's no Jarvis Landry this week, and he's playing the Seahawks. Do you start Kamara? Yes, he's my number 4 running back this week. Not only do you start Kamara, like you have to start him. It's not even a decision, really. Alvin Kamara there's a reason he was getting picked in the first 2 rounds in every fantasy draft, despite suspension concerns all offseason. And it's because he's averaged over 17 fantasy points per game in 5 straight years in the league. And this year, he doesn't even have 17 total fantasy points. But Alvin Kamara is a must start. Olave or MT rest of season. Honestly, this one's tough, but I think Olave. I think Olave has a more valuable role in this offense. Again, just look at the air yards. And this is what we were saying before the season too, that Olave does bring something to this offense that Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry do not bring, because Olave can run the entire route tree, including the deep routes that Michael Thomas historically doesn't run very much. He's more of the intermediate route type of guy. MT could easily still score more TDs than him, but yeah, I think I would lean towards Olave over MT, especially, with the injury stacking up for MT, though supposedly he is going to be back next week. We're about an hour away from kickoff, about 30 minutes left in this live stream. We are getting close to the end of the game here in London too. 2020, the Packers have the ball, 10 minutes left. Not looking good for the A.J. Dillon rushing prop given the score of this game right now. Lamb or J-Rob, I'd go J-Rob over Lamb this week. Again, James Robinson against the Texans has blow-up potential. I would play CD over DK Metcalf at my flex as well. Hey, Sam, should I play Higbee or Kittle? I have Higbee ranked ahead of Kittle. Let me pull up my tight end rankings. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, you can see my top 10 tight end rankings and my top 10 wide receiver rankings and my top 10 running back rankings and my top 10 quarterback rankings all on the YouTube live that you can't see on the TikTok live. Answers a lot of questions just right there for you that I can't get to. And the link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio. But yeah, I have Higbee ranked number 3 this week. Higbee leads the NFL in receiving yards without a touchdown. I'm seeing a CMC question. Start CMC. Start Olave. Start CMC. Let's go game by game really quickly. Let's just go game by game. I feel like it's that point in the stream. We're going to go game by game, and I'm just going to tell you the guys I think you really need to be starting in all of these games. The Lions plus 3.5 versus the Patriots. I'm taking the Lions plus 3.5, by the way, but I do think the Patriots win. I'm starting Jamal Williams. You can definitely start Amon-Ra. I'm not starting Jared Goff. I'm not starting Josh Reynolds. And you can obviously start TJ Hawkinson in a lot of situations, but not all situations. For the Patriots, only 2 players I'm starting, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson. Don't start anybody else. Jaguars -7 versus the Texans. Start James Robinson, Texans last in the league in run defense. Start Christian Kirk. He's one of the safest receivers in all of fantasy football. He had his worst game last week. He still had a solid 7 or 9 targets in that game. On the other side of the ball in that game for the Texans, Dameon Pierce can be started, but again, this is not probably going to be a very good game script for him, so I don't love him. He hasn't caught very many passes this season. We also have Brandon Cooks. He is startable, but I don't think he's a must start in this game. Obviously, you're not starting Davis Mills, really anyone else on that offense. Buccaneers -10 versus the Falcons. Start Mike Evans. Start Chris Godwin. Cade Otton is probably my favorite sleeper tight end. This week, I really do like Cade Otton as a sleeper. I don't know what just happened in this Packers game, but it didn't look good for the Packers. Packers are really, really looking like they're blowing this one. I don't know if that was like almost a good play or a really bad play. I'm seeing the replay now. And wow, a muffed punt that goes out of bounds. Really missed opportunity there for the Packers. Going back to these games and who I think you need to start, who you cannot start in these games. So again, the Bucs, they're playing the Falcons. The only player you need to play on the Falcons is Drake London. That's it. End of list. Kyle Pitts is out. Cordero Patterson is out. This is not a good game for the running attack for the Falcons. I don't trust Tyler Algier in this game, and I don't trust their other back in this game either. The Bills -14 versus the Steelers. Start Stephon Diggs. Start Josh Allen. Start Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis is a huge bounce back spot in this game. I also like Khalil Shakir as a deep sleeper in this game as well. Chargers -2 versus for the Steelers, by the way. I think you kind of need to be starting Najee Harris still in a tough matchup against the Bills, and I think Deontay Johnson's the most trustworthy receiver for the Steelers still. Then it's George Pickens, then it's Chase Claypool. In that order is how I trust them. You can definitely start Muth in some spots too. It did look like Kenny Pickett trusted Muth a decent amount in that one. The next game, why not Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas is not playing. He's just not playing. He's out with a foot injury. So that's an easy one to explain. Najee or Deontay. Honestly, Deontay is probably a little bit safer. They're 14-point underdogs, but Najee could easily get a lot of pass catches in this game too. The next game, Vikings versus the Bears. Start Jay Jefferson. Start Dalvin Cook. A lot of people panicking about Dalvin Cook. Don't panic about Dalvin Cook. For the Bears, there's not a single player you need to start. For the Bears, I'm not going to lie. The Bears have one of the sketchiest offenses in the NFL. The offensive line is absolutely atrocious. Justin Fields deserves some blame too. He has not been at all improved from last season. And David Montgomery's returning in this game. We don't know how the backfield is going to shake out with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert was a beast in the absence of David Montgomery, just like he was in his limited touches behind David Montgomery before David Montgomery got hurt. Khalil Herbert, top 10 in the league, actually top 5 in the league in yards per carry, 6.1 yards per carry for Khalil Herbert so far this season. He had some pretty good matchups in there, so that definitely helps that. But I think it's going to be close to a 50-50 backfield with Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery, which means I don't trust either of them in this game because it's the Bears. How many touchdowns do we realistically think the Bears can score in this game? So, yeah, I don't feel good about Herbert or Montgomery. If you make me choose one, I'm going with Montgomery. Should I panic with Barkley? Let's wait and see what the injury is for Barkley before we start panicking. Yeah, you can be nervous. He did just hurt his shoulder. Doesn't look like he's going to come back in this game. But we just don't know anything about the injury yet. So, yeah, you can be panicked, but, let's wait till we do anything with that panic. The Jets versus the Dolphins. I do like Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, pretty tall in this game. I think the Dolphins defense has been pretty bad this season. I also still think you start Waddle and you start Tyreek. The other running back that low-key has been a workhorse, though, the last 2 weeks is Raheem Mostert. I know Ed stole the touchdown last week, but it's Raheem Mostert that you want to be starting in your fantasy lineups right now. Raheem Mostert saw over 70% of the snaps last week. He saw 25 routes to 3 targets, which is the most he's ever had, I think, in any game in his career. He has not been a very good pass catcher in his career, not been used that much in that part of the game, but he has been in the last couple of weeks. So I like Raheem Mostert a lot in that game as well. I do think Teddy B is a pretty good streaming quarterback too if you are at need of a quarterback. I like Teddy Bridgewater more than Jared Goff this week, for example. The Chargers versus the Browns. Obviously, you're starting Eckler, you're starting Mike Will, you're starting Gerald Everett. For the Browns, start Hunt, start Chubb, start Amari Cooper. In most situations, this is a good spot for Chubb and Hunt, more so than it is for Amari Cooper, because the Chargers' run defense is the clear weakness of that defense. And by the way, whoever just said, are we panicking about Saquon Barkley? He's literally already back out there. His shoulder looks fine. He just had a huge catch and some yards after the catch there for Saquon. So, yeah, Saquon's fine. Saquon back and eating, Samuel. Yeah, so huge. I mean, massive to see Saquon Barkley back out there. And all of a sudden, the Giants are in a position to take the lead in this game. Really, really tough showing right now for the Packers after almost losing to Bailey Zappi. Kirk or London TD. I like London TD more. Dameon Pierce, Brees, Jeff Wilson, pick one. Yeah, I like Jeff Wilson the most. So going to that 49ers game against the Panthers, obviously, you got to start Jeff Wilson. He has seen a really good volume behind a 49ers offense that clearly wants to be run heavy, and they're going to be able against the Panthers, who the Panthers are on pace to run the least plays ever in a season in the NFL. That's how bad their offense has been. Obviously, you're starting CMC. DJ Moore is more of a deeper start, but no one else you can start on the Panthers. And then for the 49ers, start Debo. Start Jeff Wilson. Start Kittle in most situations still. I still think he has a really high ceiling, though the floor is definitely admittedly low. And Ayuka, the bazooka, I don't really trust that much in this game this week. But yeah, I do like Jeff Wilson a lot. I think he's going to see close to 17 carries, maybe even close to 20 carries against the Panthers with how good the 49ers defense is probably going to do against this Panthers offense. Boyd or Reynolds? I like Boyd more than Reynolds. I like Godwin more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like James Robinson more than Jeff Wilson as much as I like Jeff Wilson. All right, I need 2 running backs in the flex. CEH, Eckler, Puce, J-Rob, Myers, Lockett. Myers is healthy. I know Myers is healthy, but don't start Myers with Bailey Zappi playing. I would definitely play Eckler, and I would definitely play J-Rob. And then for the flex, I'd probably go Lockett. I think I would go J-Rob, Eckler, and Lockett in that one. Amon-Ra is playing. Start him or Godwin. I still think I like Godwin more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. This week, Saquon getting the direct QB snap, and he is not in. Down at the 1. Again, I'm like a minute maybe behind you guys in this game. Pick 2, Olave, Pierce, Sanders, and Godwin. Yeah, it's got to be Olave and Godwin. This one, Dobbins or Montgomery. 100% Dobbins over Montgomery this week. Again, Khalil Herbert's going to be involved Montgomery or London, I would go London over Montgomery. I'm telling a lot of people to bench Montgomery this weekend. That could end up being a mistake. Montgomery's been really good when he's played, but Khalil Herbert's been even better when he's played. So how could they possibly just phase Khalil Herbert out of this offense with Montgomery coming back from an injury? I think it's going to be both guys involved in this game. I like Stevenson a little bit more than Pierce, to be totally honest with you. Pick 2, full PPR, Godwin, Amari Kirk, Chase. Yeah, you got to go Chase for sure. And then I would go Christian Kirk after that. I think I would go Chase and Kirk. Again, let me pull up my top 10 receiver rankings, and you'll see Christian Kirk is in there. And he's ahead of some pretty elite receivers, because that's how safe I think Christian Kirk is in fantasy. A legal formation for the Giants, by the way, on their last play. Really bad error there. And Daniel Jones is able to get it down to the 5-yard line. Going to be 3rd and goal at the 5. Tie game 2020 for the Giants. Another flag, though, on that play. So we'll see what comes from that. Start 3. Thielen, Cooper, Garrett Wilson, and London. Yeah, I would bench Thielen in this one. Again, the Bears-Vikings game could be really low scoring with how bad the Bears offense is and how good the Bears defense is, dude. The Bears defense is way better than the Bears offense. James Conner, Curtis Samuel, Drake London, pick 2. Yeah, bench James Conner. He's been really tough to trust in fantasy so far this season. Amari Cooper or Juju, full PPR, 5-point, 100-yard bonus. Got to be Cooper then. I appreciate the scoring settings, Luke, because that actually does definitely change the analysis here. But on top of that, even without the bonus, which Cooper definitely has a better chance at than Juju. Juju's also has a hamstring injury, a quad injury that he picked up yesterday, and he plays tomorrow night, which makes it super risky for fantasy. I don't know what the penalty was because I don't have the sound on, but 1st and goal now for the Giants, and Saquon's taking another QB snap. And here we go. Saquon takes the direct snap in for a touchdown. Yeah, we should not have been panicked about Saquon. He's fine. He's back in. And the Giants are up by a touchdown against the Packers. Packers all of a sudden looking like a shell of themselves in this game. They almost lost to Bailey Zappi last week. Really, they should have lost to Bailey Zappi last week if Bill Belichick just goes for it on 4th down, and then they might lose to the Giants this week. Pretty bad for the Packers. Pretty good for the Giants, who might move to 4-1. Right now, they're in position to move to 4-1. Wow, they'll still be behind the Eagles in the NFC East, but still, they're very much in the hunt still. Corey Davis, Gallup, or Duvernay. Yeah, this one's really tough, man. Like all 3 of these guys are definitely deeper plays. Let me actually see where we have these guys in our rankings, because I'm curious. I have a feeling it is. Yeah, it's Michael Gallup that we have ahead of these other 3 guys. I would Gallup in this one. It's in Khalil Shakir or Rondale Moore. Yeah, this one's really interesting because Rondale Moore is also questionable this week, and he one of the later games. Yeah, he plays at 4:25 today. I do think he's going to play though. A little bit safer than Khalil Shakir, though. I do think this one's like relatively close. I think Khalil Shakir is going to play about 2/3 of the snaps for the Bills today. No Isaiah McKenzie, no Dawson Knox, no Jamison Crowder, no Jake Kumara. Enter Khalil Shakir, the rookie wide receiver, 4th-round pick, I believe, out of Boise State. He was very good at Boise State. He's very fast. He got a lot of good reports out of training camp and preseason. I think he's going to play a ton. So, yeah, I'm okay going Shakir, but I think Rondale Moore is definitely safer, given what we have seen from Moore and his usage last week. Hey, Sam, should I bench Juju in case he doesn't play? If so, Jeff Wilson or Curtis Samuel? Yeah, I'm playing Jeff Wilson and Curtis Samuel over Juju, even without the injury this week. But with the injury, yeah, you got to bench Juju. Man, he picked up a hamstring quad injury yesterday, and he plays tomorrow night. And you know if Kamara is playing, yeah, Kamara is playing. Yeah, I would play Jeff Wilson, by the way, over Curtis Samuel. If it's a PPR league, it's much closer, but still, I think Jeff Wilson's really safe this week. Edmonds, Henderson, or Rashad White, full PPR. Oh, God, man. Yeah, you can't start Edmonds, I don't think, and you really can't start Henderson either. I think, honestly, Rashad White might be the move here. Higgins or Curtis Samuel. It got to be Higgins over Curtis Samuel. Mostert, Etienne or Samuel, full PPR. Yeah, full PPR got to be Samuel. I think Samuel over, and Rodgers sails it out of bounds, throwing to just below average receivers that he has to work with here. It's almost like losing Devontae Adams was bad for Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I would definitely play Mostert over Travis Etienne, but I don't think in a full PPR league I'm playing him over Curtis Samuel. Trade CD for Kamara. I actually love that. Yeah, and this is going to be the week you wanted to trade for Kamara before, because this could be a monster week for Alvin Kamara this week, guys, against a bad Seahawks defense. Khalil Herbert or David Montgomery? Yeah, so I lean David Montgomery, but it's anyone's best guess here, and I don't like either of them today because I think it's going to be close to a 50-50 split, and it's just so hard to know which of these guys is going to be the one that scores one of the few touchdowns that the Bears could score today. Like the ceiling's capped, the floor is capped. Saquon Barkley is him. Yeah, Saquon, definitely a case to be the number one running back rest of season. We're building out our rest of season rankings now. Hopefully going to launch those this week or next week in the WalterPicks app. But yeah, Saquon's going to be in the top 3 for sure, and he could be number 1. Sanders, Pierce, and Godwin or Olave. I would lean towards Sanders over Pierce. I would lean Olave over Godwin. London or Kirk, standard, yeah, go London. Oh, in most situations, but not over Christian Kirk. I don't think I'd play him. A huge catch, by the way, there for Robert Tonyan, keeping the Packers drive alive. But yeah, Christian Kirk this week. Let me pull my wide receiver rankings again. You'll see Christian Kirk's in those top 10 again. If you're on the YouTube live, hit that subscribe button. If you're on the TikTok live, come to the YouTube live. You can see my top 10 rankings every position. I'm seeing a Higbee and Hurts question, which would be answered just by seeing my top 10 tight ends on the YouTube live, and it's Higbee over Hurts, 100%. Thoughts on Alvin Kamara? Yeah, I have Alvin Kamara in all of my DraftKings lineups this week because I think he is this week's Austin Eckler. Like last week, Austin Eckler, he was going into that week, no touchdowns yet, but a great matchup against the Texans. What does he do? He scores 3 TDs, was a top 3 running back that week or last week. And I think Kamara is going to be a top 3 running back likely this week against the Seahawks. I have him ranked number 4. The only running backs I have again ahead of Alvin Kamara this week: CMC, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. End of list. I mean, it's just crazy. Saquon at number 2, by the way, he did just score a touchdown. He's looking great this season, man. He might be the number 1 running back in fantasy football this year. James Robinson or Josh Jacobs. It's tough to bench Josh Jacobs after he did last week and how many targets he's seeing. But James Robinson against the Texans, I'm not willing to bench him. I'm not willing to bench him. I have James Robinson. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, link is right in the TikTok bio. But if you come to the YouTube live and you see my running back rankings, which are on the screen right now, James Robinson's in there, man, right at number 9. Right after these elite running backs is James Robinson against the Texans. I apologize for asking again because I don't remember what you said. Yeah, I would go Higbee over Juju, but I just don't feel good about it at all. Juju or Carter or Hunt or ETN. Yeah, I'd go Hunt over all these guys. It's a pretty good matchup for Hunt against the Chargers. A.J. Dillon getting a 2-yard carry. Absolutely not what we needed from A.J. Dillon there. Excited that he got a carry at least in this game situation, but hopefully he stays out there and is able to get some fantasy points for some squads that I have out there. Renfro or Duvernay? I like Renfro more than Duvernay. Renfro is back. I feel this is the first Renfro question I've seen. But yeah, Renfro is back this week. And he's playing the Chiefs. So yeah, really good spot for Renfro. And I know Duvernay is the top receiver for the Ravens this week with Bateman out. But yeah, I'd like Renfro for sure more than Duvernay. Connor or Zeke? I would lean Zeke over Connor. Disley or Conklin? I like Conklin more than Disley. Raheem or Brees? This one's close. They're playing each other. PPR, I think you maybe can give it to Brees, but I like Raheem, his usage more than Brees' usage. Again, Raheem's seeing workhorse usage, like top end usage. He's seeing over 70% of the snaps. He's also seeing targets. He had 25 routes last week for Raheem Mostert, which is the most he's seen in his career. So yeah, I like Raheem Mostert. I think a tiny bit more than Brees. And also I think the Dolphins should lead in that game. Hey, Sam, pick 3 full PPR. Hunt, Elijah Moore, Deontay, Woods, Pickens. Excuse me, I think I'm allergic to A.J. Dillon missing his prop. Pick 3 full PPR. Hunt, Elijah Moore, Deontay, Woods, Pickens. Yeah, I think I would go with Deontay and Elijah Moore and Hunt. I think I would bench Woods and Pickens, even though they should see some decent usage today. I don't like their matchups all that much. Amon-Ra or Waddle. Yeah, both these guys coming off injuries. But I think I like Amon-Ra just a tiny bit more. Let me pull up the rankings again. Yeah, I do like Amon-Ra a little bit more than Waddle. Should I start Tony Pollard at flex? I don't feel great about Tony Pollard. Let me pull up the guys that I think are must benches against this week. I don't feel good about David Montgomery because I think he's going to be splitting the work. I think he's going to be splitting the work with terrible drop there by Lazard. Devontae Adams does not drop that. I think David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, going to be close to a 50-50 split. Good luck guessing which one of these guys is going to score one of the few touchdowns for the Bears. Antonio Gibson. Brian Robinson is back this week. He's going to see around 20 snaps this week, they said. And those are probably all going to come directly from Antonio Gibson, lowering his ceiling and floor tremendously, especially if those are the snaps at the goal line. Tony Pollard, he's dealing with an illness, but that's not really what I care about. He's playing, so I think he's fine. But the Rams are not a good matchup for Tony Pollard. Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert is the clear lead back. If Edmonds doesn't score a touchdown, he's probably going under 6 fantasy points today. Chase Claypool cannot be started. He's the clear third receiver, maybe even fourth receiver after Pat Fryermuth on this offense, and he's seeing not very high-value targets. Juju, he had a quad injury yesterday. He's questionable tomorrow night. He cannot be trusted playing on a Monday night. Cole Kmet. I mean, we don't need to talk about Cole Kmet. Hunter Henry. Bailey Zappi starting. I know Johnny was out. I know it's a good matchup against the Lions, but don't start Hunter Henry with Bailey Zappi starting. I think Bailey Zappi could complete less than 10 passes today. Jared Goff has a horrible track record against Bill Belichick. I know he's been great this season. He's top 5 in passing yards this season, but he has twice as many interceptions as TDs against Bill Belichick in their 4 games. This is probably the best offensive line he's had against Bill Belichick. Maybe the Rams' offensive line was better back when he scored only 3 points in that Super Bowl. But yeah, I don't feel great about Goff today. I don't feel great about Ayuk today either because with Jimmy G starting, it's been a very run-heavy attack, and it's been very Debo-focused. I think Brandon Ayuk's floor is really low on a weekly basis, especially in a game where they should crush Panthers defensively. And then Greg Dortch, I mean, he should be on waiver wires now with Rondale Moore back. He barely played last week. Hawk or Goddard. I like Goddard more than Hawk. Hey, Sam, Everett or Muth. I like Everett more than Muth. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again. I do think Everett's on there. I do not think Muth is on there. But I do think Muth is startable in a lot of spots. It did look like Kenny Pickett trusted him a decent amount. Guys, we're heading into the 2-minute warning in the London game. We've been on London time this morning. I've been up since 5:30 a.m. So I've been up for almost 7 hours preparing for the stream, doing the stream. We're almost 4 hours into this live stream because we were on London time this morning. We're live on TikTok and YouTube, guys. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. Really does help me out a ton. I really do appreciate that. It takes you 2 seconds. And I post daily content on TikTok. It's going to help you guys win your fantasy leagues. I'm seeing Kamar or Pierce question like that is a layup. You got to make your layups in fantasy football and in basketball. And I like Kamar way more than Pierce today, 100%. On the YouTube live, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Thank you so much for tuning into the YouTube stream. I'm trying to hit to 10,000 YouTube subscribers this season, and we're getting kind of close, guys. We are over 75% of the way there to 10K YouTube subscribers. Bro, Stevenson or ETN? Bro, it's got to be Stevenson. I know ETN's playing the Texans. That's a good spot, but it's a better spot for James Robinson than it is ETN. And Mondre's actually played over half the snaps for the Pats over the last few weeks. He's seen less carries than Damon Harris. That probably will be the case again today, but I still think Mondre has a really good chance at a TD and a lot of yards today. London or Olave? I like Olave more than Drake. London. All right, guys. We're getting towards the witching hour. The real witching hour. I know if you watch Red Zone, we got the witching hour in like the fourth quarter of the early window games, but this is the real witching hour where wins become losses and losses become wins in your fantasy leagues, because this is where the start-sit decisions are made in this next 10 minutes. So we're going to do our best to get to as many of these start-sits over the next 10 minutes. Again, really do appreciate you guys hitting the follow button, hitting the subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. Takes you 2 seconds. Again, I think Goff is a must bench because he has historically done horrible against Bill Belichick. Double the amount of interceptions as TDs against Bill Belichick. Has under 200 yards per game. It's not a horrible spot for him. I know the offensive line's been good. Amon-Ra's back, but the Patriots secondary isn't terrible. I think the run defense is worse than their pass defense. So it won't shock me if this is a really run-heavy game from both sides. And it won't shock me if Goff throws more interceptions than touchdowns in this game. I think Goff is a little bit of a trap this week with how good he's been playing in the matchup against Bill Belichick. Montgomery or Herbert. I like Montgomery more than Herbert, but I don't trust either. Juju or Gallup, dude? I would go Gallup over Juju. I think Juju is really risky right now in fantasy because he plays tomorrow night and he's with a quad injury yesterday. And because he plays tomorrow night, if he does end up being out, you got basically nowhere to go. You're going to be playing like Mac Hollins or like Sky Moore, like whoever's available for scraps on the waiver wire if Juju ends up being out. So yeah, I would definitely take what you have ahead of Juju if you have something. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. The YouTube live is a little bit easier to digest the information because you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. You can see my DraftKings lineup. You can see all my picks against the spread, and I can pull your comment up on the screen like this on the screen, which makes it a little easier to answer too. And when we do the rapid fire section of this live, coming up in just a few minutes, That's only going to be on YouTube because I can pull up the comments faster. So come over to the YouTube Live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts. Yeah, you can't bench Jalen Hurts. As good as Justin Herbert is, you cannot bench Jalen Hurts. There's only 3 QBs I've ranked ahead of Hurts, and it's Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. I have Herbert ranked right after Jalen Hurts, so it's not like a crazy question. But yeah, don't bench Jalen Hurts. What's your DK lineup? Yeah, let me pull up the DK lineup again. Honestly, it's looking like tremendously better, even though it'll probably be a little more chalky now because Isaiah McKenzie's out. But I had this lineup before McKenzie was even out because McKenzie already, like, he never really plays more than half the snaps as is. So I thought Khalil Shakir, who's really the key to this lineup, stacked with Josh Allen and Steph Diggs, was still a good play because I thought he was going to play about half the slot snaps with McKenzie in, but McKenzie's out. And that means Shakir could play 2/3, maybe even more of the snaps for the Bills as 14-point favorites. The thing about the Bills, too, and why I love playing them on DraftKings is they're 14-point favorites today. And most teams, when they're 14-point favorites, it's like, all right, so we got to play these running backs, and who knows how much they're going to throw the ball. With the Bills, that's not the case at all, man. They could be up 3 scores. They're going to keep throwing the ball with Josh Allen. They're going to keep putting the ball in Josh Allen's hands. That's why he's so good to play on DraftKings. There's no game script that's bad for Josh Allen. He still could score 4 touchdowns, even though he's up 2 touchdowns already. Like, it's not like they're just going to all of a sudden become super run heavy. And I'm starting Kamara and James Robinson in this lineup, both really good matchups. I have Kamara locked into all of my lineups. I play 20 entries on DraftKings and the $3 entry, 20 entry max contest every week, and that's my lineup, my favorite lineup this week. Almost a turnover for the Packers, about to be 4th and 2 for the Packers. How low is the line for Goff? Do I bench him? For Teddy, yeah, I'd like Teddy more than Goff this week. I actually think that's a decent one to be doing. We have Teddy B actually as a top 10 quarterback play this week on the WalterPicks app. I think he's probably close to like top 15. But yeah, Jared Goff, I would definitely play Teddy B over Jared Goff this week. I don't feel like it's that tough of a decision, even though it might feel like it based on how the two have played up to this point. Josh Jacobs or Raheem Mostert, full PPR. Yeah, so full PPR, this makes this one much tougher and makes me think you got to go with Josh Jacobs based on the usage he's seeing. I mean, he's seeing true workhorse usage. 4th and 2, Giants win. Let's go. And it wasn't an A.J. Dillon carry. I mean, maybe just when you have A.J. Dillon against the Giants and you only need 2 yards, you just give the ball to A.J. Dillon. Not what the Packers do. Packers get stopped on 4th and 1. Giants going to win this game. Giants cover the spread. They beat the Packers straight up in this game in London. Horrible loss for the Packers, who the Giants also didn't have Saquon for an extended period during this game. He does come back and score the game-winning touchdown, though. So shout out Saquon. He is him for sure. But yeah, really tough loss for the Packers. Huge win for the Giants. Giants moved to 4 and 1. Packers moved to 3 and 2. CD or Godwin half PPR. Yeah, I like CD a little bit more than Godwin, but definitely close. I like both guys a lot. Curtis Samuel or Jamal Williams. I lean towards Jamal. Jimmy G or Goff. Yeah, I'd still go Goff, I think, over Jimmy G. I don't love Jimmy G. Juju or Duvernay. I'd go Duvernay over Juju because of the injury. For Juju, I think he's just way too risky to have in your starting lineups. Any tight end sleepers? Yes. Cade Otton is the tight end sleeper this week. There is no Cameron Brate for the Buccaneers in this game. Cade Otton stepped in after that injury last week. He played 2/3 of the snaps for the Bucs. He was their leading tight end receiver, and Cade Otton's a really good receiver, guys. He's a rookie tight end. Usually I don't like banking on rookie tight ends, but he is the best receiving tight end they have in this game, and I think that the Buccaneers could throw a lot. So Cade Otton's my favorite sleeper tight end this week. Khalil Shakir is my favorite sleeper receiver this week, and Teddy B is my favorite sleeper quarterback this week, and there's no sleeper tight ends. Maybe Taysom Hill. But tight ends are just so brutal. Full PPR, Goddard or Higbee. Yeah, so I have Higbee, I think, one spot ahead of Goddard. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again on the YouTube Live. Again, link to that's right in the TikTok bio. But yeah, I have Higbee ranked 3rd and Goddard ranked 4th. And the reason I have Higbee ranked 3rd is Higbee is the number 5 tight end in fantasy football right now, and he hasn't even scored a touchdown. He has the most receiving yards in the NFL without a TD, and that's a good thing for Higbee because that's going to change sooner rather than later. Waddle or Marquise Brown, that one's really tough. Waddle coming off an injury. Brown actually, I think a little bit this week too, though. I think I would probably go Waddle against the Jets rather than Brown against the Eagles. DJ Moore, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick. Yeah, I would go DJ Moore. Again, Antonio Gibson cannot be trusted. Just straight up can't be trusted. this week because of Brian Robinson playing likely around 20 snaps, they said. Will Higgins play? Yeah, Higgins is going to play. But yeah, those Brian Robinson snaps probably going straight. Wait. Is that real? It's 3rd and 13. Did they just like throw the, what happened? I see like a bad smirk there from Daniel Jones. Again, I'm behind. I assumed the game was over though because they didn't get it. What happened here? That was a weird. I guess they took a long time for the kneel there. So they're going to kneel it a lot of times. And yeah, they're going to get it back barely. They're barely going to get back. This game's over. They're going to have the ball with like 10 seconds left. K-Dot or Dalton Schultz. Yeah, I like Schultz more than K-Dot. And Josh Jacobs or St. Brown. I don't think you can bench Josh Jacobs after last week. Montgomery or Penny. I like Penny more than Montgomery. Again, I think Montgomery and I think that Khalil Herbert are really risky. Why not Chase Edmonds? Because it's been Raheem Mostert's backfield. Mostert played 73% of the snaps last week, and he ran more routes than Chase Edmonds too. Edmonds ended up scoring the touchdown, but he's playing way less than Raheem Mostert. And the fact that he ran – so last week, Raheem Mostert played 3 times the amount of snaps and ran over twice the amount of routes as Chase Edmonds. Edmonds ended up catching a touchdown to save his day, but yeah, it's definitely Mostert over Edmonds at this point, and Edmonds just can't be trusted right now in fantasy. Zay Jones or Elijah Moore, definitely Elijah Moore for me over Zay Jones. Eagles defense or Jags defense. This one's close, man, because the Cardinals, I still feel like their offense should be better, but they've been really bad. But obviously the Texans defense offense is really bad too. I actually think I like the Jags against the Texans more than the Eagles against the Cardinals. Like we're talking Kyler Murray versus Davis Mills here. Woods or Moore. We get a question like this every single week. I'm going to assume you mean Elijah Moore, but there are so many Moores. There's Rondo Moore. There's DJ Moore. There's Elijah Moore. There's more Moores that I'm not even naming. There's at least 5 Moores in the NFL. Again, I'm assuming you mean Elijah Moore, and I would play Elijah Moore. I actually think I would play all the Moores. I would play over Woods except for Rondo Moore. I don't think I'd play Rondo Moore over Robert Woods, but I would play all the other Moores. Yeah, first names. We need first names, man. We need first names. We need first names out here, especially with the Moores. There's so many Moores. There's also Sky Moore. Are we talking about Sky Moore here? There's another Moore that I didn't mention. Hawkinson or Everett. I would play Hawkinson over Everett. I like Everett. Obviously, though Hawkinson after what he did last week, I think kind of has to be played over Everett. Otten or Njoku. Yeah, I like Njoku more than Otten. Otten is like the only guy that I'm playing like in really deep leagues. Like I'm okay playing Otten over Taysom Hill, for example. What are your favorite prop bets? Yeah, so my favorite prop bet today, and we are at 54% this season on the props. It's Alvin Kamara over half a TD. I like all the Alvin Kamara props last week. I said this about Austin Eckler last week. The odds aren't great on this one, but it's a lot, guys. Alvin Kamara scoring today against the Seahawks. There's no Michael Thomas. There's no Jarvis Landry. It's going to be Olave and Alvin Kamara, a lot of them today for the Saints. And the Seahawks defense has not stopped a single person this entire season. All right, we're going to go rapid fire with the start sits for a few more minutes, and then we will be wrapping up the live stream. Ooh, it looks like a bloody something for Daniel Jones. I think there's maybe one play left in this game for the Packers against the Giants, though I see Daniel Jones smiling on the sidelines, as he should be for this win. All right, thoughts on Nico Collins? Yeah, Nico Collins has honestly been a little disappointing to me this season because I thought he had somewhat of a ceiling. He had his best game of the season last week, though, 82 yards, but only in 5 targets. He only has 1 game over 5 targets this season. He's definitely not like a trustworthy guy. But I do still think he has sleeper appeal each week. Please, Sam, Dobbins or Zeke. I would go Dobbins over Zeke this week, and I would go Terry over Gabe Davis, even though I like Davis more than most people. I would play Taysom Hill over Mike Gesicki. I want nothing to do with Michael Gesicki. Burrow or Brady. Let me pull up my QB rankings again, but I think it's got to be Burrow over Brady this week. I actually have Brady 1 spot ahead of Burrow. I have Brady 1 spot ahead of Burrow, but I do like Burrow a lot against this Ravens secondary. But yeah, Brady against the Falcons is also pretty enticing with Mike Evans and Godwin back, so I guess I'd go Brady. Sam, you showed my comment and didn't answer. LOL, my bad. I tend to do that sometimes. Mike Will or Drake London, PPR. Yeah, with no Keenan and no Kyle Pitts and no Cordell Patterson, like this one all of a sudden is definitely really tough. But personally, I think I would go Mike Williams ahead of Drake London. Let me actually see where's London here. We have them back to back in the WalterPicks app rankings. We have Mike Williams projected for 15.7 points and Drake London projected for 15.8 points. And when it comes down to that, like look at the matchups. And honestly, when you look at the matchups, I feel like Drake London gets the edge. Actually, I think I'd go Drake London over Mike Will. Extremely close. And it doesn't get closer than this between those two guys. All right, Garrett Wilson, Woods, Mostert. I would go in PPR. I'd probably go Garrett Wilson, then Mostert, then Woods. Good luck to everyone in your leagues today. Shout out everybody for tuning into this live. 100%. Garrett Wilson, Woods, Mostert. Yeah, again, I'd go Wilson, then Mostert. Zam, Zeke or Mostert? Yeah, I would go Mostert over Zeke. Hi, Sam. Monty or Pierce / Najee? Definitely not Monty. I would probably say Najee, then Pierce, then Monty. Again, we just don't know what this backfield's going to look like for Khalil Herbert. Full PPR, Brees or Curtis Samuel. I'd go Samuel over Brees with no Jahan Dotson, with no Logan Thomas today. For the Commanders, Jamal Williams or Curtis Samuel. Yeah, that one's closer. I would probably go Jamal over Curtis Samuel. Jamal's seen really elite usage for the Lions and behind a really good offensive line. Jamal Williams is like the guy I trust the most on lines today is Jamal Williams. Hey, Sam, start 2 full flex PPR, London, D. Monty, Herbert, Mostert. Yeah, put Monty and Herbert on your bench. Let's see how it looks this week with both of them active. And start London and Mostert. I think both guys are still really good starts there. So, yeah, I would start London and Mostert 100%. In that situation, Kirk or London standard. I'd go Kirk over London in standard. I'd go Kirk over London in all scoring formats. Come on. We're playing Brady over Geno. I know Geno's been good, but we're definitely playing Brady over Geno. Will Jamal Williams be used heavily when Swift is back? No, it's going to be what he was like when Swift was in before, which we already saw. And like he still was pretty used. He still had some good weeks in fantasy, but he was seeing more like 11, 12 carries than like 20, 19 carries. So yeah, no, I think he's going to be closer to like a third or like it's going to be like a third or like 40%, 30 to 40% of the snaps for Jamal Williams with Swift healthy. Without Swift healthy, last week he played 60% of the snaps, 19 carries, 3 targets. I mean, really elite usage. He's 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games now too. Guys, that's my time. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really do appreciate you guys tuning into these lives. I'll be back live as always on Sunday mornings, Thursday nights, and I'll be posting daily content on TikTok. Make sure you follow for that. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If I didn't get to your start sit, I do see some start sits still out there. Did my best to get to as many as I could. Go to the WalterPicks app. It's in the YouTube description. It's in the TikTok bio. It's completely free to download. You can do as many start sit comparisons as you want. I would play Jamal over Mark Cooper or Liam. That's what I would do, bruh. But I do think, like, if I didn't get your start sit, go to the WalterPicks app. It's going to help you probably even more than I could have helped you on this live stream. Guys, good luck this Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. I'll be back very soon.